Hey, what's up? It's cute what if this side. Today we will be seeing, what if Deku becomes alien hero? Now before we move ahead with the fic, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for future what ifs like this. The hero team wins. The students saw Lucy and Uraraka floating in the air outside the building with Lucy's arm stretched and touching the bomb as Ada exiting the building. While on another screen, Izuku standing next to an unconcise Bakugo while the watch was on the red got it. Lucy shouted as she grabs Uraraka and reverted herself to the ground. RR release. Achako said with difficulty as gravity returned to them and the two girls landed on the ground. Ada showed up and saw that weapon was in the hero's hands and knew that he lost. I lost, Ada said with his head lowered to the ground. We did. MHH Uraraka was speaking lazily before her stomach turned into knots and she threw up onto the street, similarly like before the students in the monitoring room was stunned at what just transpired. Wow, what a weird way for this to finish. Both teams suffered big from this while one of them stands completely fine. Kaminari said as they watched as Lucy and Ada comforted Uraraka who was still trying to stop herself from vomiting while Izuku still stood over Bakugo. What's the old saying? The strongest last the longest. Takoyami said this class is intense. Isui said before they felt a huge wind gush blow as they saw All Might not in the room anymore at the building. All Might was watching the med bots carry Bakugo away. As they spoke, he turned around and saw Izuku looking at the watch in deep thought. I'll break that watch of yours and if I can't break it, I'll take it from you. Izuku remembered the words Bakugo said to him before he left him in that trap. I wanted to put you in your place. Bakugo shouted at the face made out of goo. My place. And that's where? Izuku asked, confused. Under my feet. Bakugo said what? You heard me. Under my feet. You're Quirk-S and that makes you useless. Just because you got some watch that turns you into freaks, you think that you're hot. I don't think so. So, it's make job to remain you that you are useless. You were always useless and that you'll always be useless, Deku. Is that what you think I am, Kakin? A useless nobody that you can bully on as much as you want. Izuku said as his fist started to shake as anger started to build up. A useless, defenseless Deku. Izuku was really getting mad until he felt a hand on his shoulder. Are you alright, young Midoriya? All Might asked his successor as he saw the shaking fist. Why yeah. I'm fine. Izuku said good. We need to go and show your results. Remember to take this experience and use it in the future, young Midoriya. All Might said yes sir. Izuku said as the two started to walk out of the building at the monitoring room. Midoriya, that was awesome. Midoriya, man, you guys okay? How are you not die? The rest of the team were walking into the monitoring room and were bombarded with questions from the rest of the class. As soon as they entered the room, All Might resumed the class without Bakugo who was in the nurse's office getting his arm treated. Uraraka was drinking a water bottle to get the fluids back in her body after the backlash of her quirk stopped. Ada had an orange juice box to get the fuel he used back as well, and Izuku and Lucy were in the room. All Might looked at the screen and begun to discuss the breakdown of despite the results and what we just witnessed, the MVP of the test is a tie between young Ada and young Midoriya. All Might yelled. The class didn't look too surprised about Izuku from being called the MVP, expect the boy himself, but some were surprised at Ada being MVP as well. I understand Midoriya, but how'd Ada get MVP as well? Isui asked the pro MHHH, valid question. Did I choose those two instead of one? Who has a guess? All Might asked. Sir, I can tell you why. Momo raised her hand at the request. Go right ahead, young Yaoyorozu. All Might said let's talk about the villains first. When Bakugo left Ada as the two had a huge advantage in this test, it left Ada to defend the bomb all by himself. I will say that the plan to clean out the room out for anything was smart as it left Uraraka with nothing to use with her quirk. Bakugo clearly let a personal grudge he has against to cloud his judgment, but that allowed Midoriya in turn to predict that Bakugo would come after him first, and only in this test. That allowed Midoriya to make a plan to counter him, like making that trap of crystals. Midoriya used his quirk well throughout the test, from trapping Bakugo with the crystals, to changing into that orange dog to track the weapon down and into that green goo to absorb the explosion that Bakugo used, and to capturing Bakugo and put him out of the test was smart. While I'm there, I'd say that the attack was probably the most dangerous thing to do, as if the weapon was real, it'd kill not just them but everyone in the city block. Now to the hero team. Lucy and Uraraka worked well together as their plan to make Lucy disgust herself into Bakugo and trick Ada into thinking it was him in the attempt to calm the weapon was smart, but I saw that Lucy said something that caused Ada to be cautious and aware that it was them. They used their quirks well in the fight and combined them into calm the weapon in the end was well, but it was a risk as well. Out of all of them, I'd say that Ada and Midoriya were the best. They used their quirks well, made plans in case their foes were onto them, and were focused on their roles in it. Momo said as the students looked at her in a state of stunned shock from her report of the results. Ada was crying happy tears and saluting. Izuku's face looking like a real tomato from the praise and embarrassment from Momo's report as he was blushing and steaming was in the air with it coming off his head. This girl really does have a good eye. All Might thought while in a similar state of stunned shock. Yes, cough, yes, ... Well, you overlooked a few things. Young Ada could have relaxed a little bit while young Midoriya could have flew up there and dropped the surprise attack on the villains in the test. But, otherwise, you nailed it, All Might said with giving praise to Momo after cough to cover up the high-pitched tone of his voice before speaking. While everyone was trying to process what she said, Izuku was in a different train of thought as he heard something from All Might. I could have used someone who can fly and finish the test faster. One should always start with basics to develop depth of learning and devote themselves wholeheartedly. That's the only way that you can become a top hero, Momo said while her hands were on her hips. Momoye Urazu. Like she said to Izuku on the day they met, she's one of the 4 students who got into UA High through recommendations. Now then. Time to blow this joint. Let's move on to the next match. Think of what you saw, think on what to do and what not to do in your turn, All Might said. Izuku was looking at the watch and the words that Bakugo said kept playing on repeat in his head. He known the guy hated him but he never knew as to why. Izuku kept thinking about until he felt a hand on his shoulder. He looked over and saw Momo looking at him with a slight concern on her face. Oh, hey Momo. What's up? Izuku asked. You looked out of it a bit. Are you okay? Momo asked. She thought that the blast did do damage to Izuku. No, I am fine. I'm just think on something. Izuku said. Oh, okay. Look Izuku, can I talk to you after school? Momo asked. Okay. About what? Izuku asked, confused. Something important. Momo only said, "Ooh, sure." Izuku said. Momo nodded and went back to the class. Izuku followed her as Mina came to him. Midori, that was so cool what you did, Mina said with a smile. Me. Cool, Izuku thought, feeling a bit better from her words. Thanks Mina, Izuku said with a little blush. No problem, Mina said. Alright, it's Team B versus Team I now. Teams go and get ready. All Might said. Yes sir, the 4 students said as they went to a new building to use for their test outside. Battle Building B. Team B will be the heroes and Team I will be the villains, All Might said thought the speaker system as the teams got ready. Inside the building, the guy with the tail was stretching his body for the fight ahead before a pair of floating gloves and shoes approached him. Hey, Ajiro. Hagakure called him as Ajiro turns to the gloves. Let's get serious. I'm gonna take off all my clothes and totally disappear, Hagakure said as she started to take off his gloves and shoes. Yeah, totally. Cool, Ajiro calmly said. He was calm on the outside but on the inside. Hagakure is using her quirk to our advantage but it's kinda weird to know that there a girl standing right by me. What am I supposed to do here? Ajiro thought. Hagakure noticed the look on his face and covered herself with her clothes. Ew. Please don't look. It's embarrassing, Hagakure said. What's the difference? Ajiro asked. Look alive kids. Show us you're the embodiment of good or evil. Let's go. All Might signaled the start of the test. Shoji lifted his arms and the tentacles on his arms as the tips of them morphed into ears. Mizo Shoji. Quirk, dupli arms. He can replicate different body parts on the tips of his tentacles. Although it's super strange, one of his tentacles changed from an ear and into a mouth as his teammate walked into the building. One's in the north side on the 4th floor, and I think the other is on the same level somewhere. Both are barefoot. I bet the invisible one plans to sneak up on us and surprise us, Shoji said as his teammate continued to walk in. For your own safety, go outside. I believe that our opponents intend to fight on a defensive battle, this kid said. He lifted his right hand and frost started to appear from it. Shoji sees this and runs outside as this kid places his hand on the wall of the building and ice started to appear from it. On the floor, his right foot started to have ice as it coursed throughout the hall. But we already won, he said as the ice rapidly expanded through the whole building, freezing it. On the ground, 2 footprints were seen. Oh. My feet are, Hagakure said. Ajiro was trying to break out of his trap as his own feet were in the ice as well. His quirk is insane, Ajiro said while trying to break out. He heard footsteps coming towards him as Todoroki walked into the room and was walking to the bomb. Ajiro got into a stance. Pry yourself up if you want, but it'll be to fight me with no skin on the bottom of your feet, Todoroki said as he passed Ajiro who couldn't do anything. At the monitoring room, All Might and the students were holding themselves while shivering from the sudden temperature drop. His SS stopped them WWW without damaging the WWW weapon or his teammate. Take note of his technique, SS students, All Might said while shivering. Whoa, he's strong, Kirishima said, and off for the display for power from the duo hair kid. Yeah, him, Midoriya and Bakugo are powerhouses, Kaminari said. Izuku was watching the duo-haired kid and was in deep thought. He's obviously trained his whole life to have that much control on his quirk. I wonder how strong he really is, Izuku thought. Back at the building, the dupe-haired kid touched the weapon with his left arm, calming the weapon. The hero team wins. Oh, wait through the sound system, declaring the victors. The duo-haired kid narrowed his one visible eye and steam erupted from his left hand. Hate too, Ajiro said. He felt the rise in temperature as the ice melted in rapid speed and the whole building felt like a sauna. Oh, Hagakure said as the puddle from the ice that trapped her melted and was boiling her feet. Back in the weapon room, Ajiro looked around and saw water dripping. It's not your fault. Ajiro turned around and saw the duo-haired kid looking at him. We're just playing on different levels, Shoto Todoroki, another of the 4, admitted to UA. Through recommendations, quirk, half cold, hell hot, He can freeze things with his right side while burn up the charts with his left. The range of his abilities is currently unknown. Todoroki was walking out the building with Shoji looking at him as he passes. At the monitoring room, holy, that guy is kind of intimidating. He got in on a recommendation, so he must be good. The students were in awe at the power that Todoroki did as they voiced their comments to him. It's not just because he's powerful. He knows what he was doing. The students turned around and saw Izuku looking down onto a notebook and a pen in his hand while writing. He obviously did training to get enough control to use his quirk without freezing the next building when he did that. His style looks a bit loose, as if he prefers to use his right side, which from observing is something linked to an ice quirk, while his left side is possibly a fire or high temperature quirk, which he doesn't show, but it's there since the left side, his body is covered in ice. So that means that his body is not used to high heat from his quirk. But the right side could cool it down, and vice versa with the ice half acts up. He obviously had his costume designed to withstand temperature changes from himself and mutter. The class watched as Izuku was in his own world as he scribbled at fast speeds that would make XLR8 look slow. Lucy sighed and walked to Izuku and bopped him in headu. Izuku looked around. The bop broke him out of his world and brought him back to reality. You were muttering, Izzy. I thought you grew out of it. But it seems that it's grown bigger than the last time I saw it. Lucy said, wait, Midoriya, did you come up with that crazy theory from the top of your head? Kaminari asked, bewildered from what he just heard. Why yeah, it's a habit of mine to analyze quirks and heroes. I'm trying to break out of it, Izuku said while rubbing his head. From the bop, wait, you knew that the villain team were going to lose. Uraraka said, I thought on it, but I wasn't such if Todoroki was going to freeze the whole building or not and give Shoji a chance to help. But I guess I was right and wrong in the same time. Izuku said, excellent analyzing their young Midoriya. On the fly analyzing skills is good for a pro when they're in battle against a villain or assisting another hero. All Might said with a hidden tone of pride in his voice. Guess that fanboy mind really does come in handy in this job. All Might thought. Now on to the next fight. Time skip, 3 hours later afternoon. It was the end of school. The rest of the lesson went by pretty quick, which gave Izuku the chance to analyze his classmates' quirks as they fought. He was amazed by the power and prowess. He provided a quick prediction to see who he thought would win the match, and 88% of his predictions were correct, but one was wrong. When Aoyama freaked out when Mina accidentally burned 2 holes on his cape when she was sliding on the ground with her quirk. The poor boy refused to continue the match until he fixed the cape, which costed them the match. Mina was a bit mad at the loss, but Izuku did comfort her when she returned. Now they were back in their homeroom as the art teacher finished their lesson. Some packed and rushed out the room to head home fast while some stayed to talk. Izuku was packing his things. He noticed a large group of his classmates surrounding his desk, which consisted of a black-haired kid with large elbows, one kid with spiky red hair, a tall and buck kid with brown hair and thick lips, and a blonde-haired kid with a lightning strike streak on his hair, and a girl who had green hair like him, but it was in a darker shade than his hair. I'm Hantashiro. Nice to meet ya. The elbow kid introduced himself. Ajiru Kirishima. And dude, that diamond form for yours was so manly. The red-haired kid introduced himself. Name's Rikido Sato. At your service. The tall kid said, name's Denki Kaminari and I'm a ladies' man. The blonde kid said, trying to act smooth, I'm Tsuyu Asui, but call me Tsu. We've actually met before. The green-haired girl said, really? Izuku asked, trying to remember where has he met her before, but she did look familiar. I was under those rocks in the entrance exam. Tsu said as Izuku's eye shot open at the memory. Wait, I remember now. You and Uraraka tried to give your point to me. Wow, sorry I haven't noticed you until now. Thank you for that. Izuku said with a bow. It's the least I can do. Tsu said with her tongue out a bit. But if you saw closely, you could see a bit of red on her cheeks. Wait, you saved her in the entrance exam? Kirishima asked. Why yes. Izuku answered quietly. That's ... so ... MENLY. Bro, you've been a hero even before being here. Kirishima said. Izuku was taken back from the compliment. He has never been complimented by someone except his mom before, thanks to his former status as quirkless. He felt ... joy from it. Thanks. Izuku said. So Midoriya ... dude. You got to tell us those forms that you transform into. I want to know what they do. Kaminari said. Izuku thought about and shrugged his shoulders. If he got info on their quirks, it's only fair if he gave some to them. He went into his big yellow bag and took out a notebook. This was the notebook that All Might gave to him to help him record the forms or aliens in the watch. He did change it as it had the green hourglass drawn on it. Izuku opened it to a page and showed it to the group. It was a well-drawn picture of Diamond Head. I call this one Diamond Head. I'm pretty such you know why. He laughed as the others laughed along with him. Basically, he's a walking, living crystal life form. He can produce and manipulate his crystals just like Todoroki can. I'm a tank since my body is made of the stuff, but the ones that come off me is slightly weaker, so they can break given if the attack has enough force. But, if they still on my body, they're nearly indestructible. Izuku said, wow, that's impressive. Kirishima said, impressed by the alien's ability question. You said nearly indestructible. So, are you saying that you can still break in that form? Kaminari asked Willow. Either way is that if I was hit with enough force then ... Yup. Izuku said, oh, what about that fast one? Sato asked, oh, you mean XLR8? Izuku said as he turns a few pages to XRL8's page accelerate. What kind of name is that? Zero asked, no, not accelerate. XLR8. Izuku spelled out the speedy alien's name. Oh. Anyway, he's the fastest one I've got on my list so far. And not just psychically, I can think faster, react faster, and process emotions faster. I don't know the full speed of him, but the last time I did, I clocked in at 500 miles per hour. Izuku said the group's jaws dropped at the speed the alien had. Even Ada's dropped when he went to the group to insert himself into the conversation and paled. Mina's eyes went wide at the speed. She knew that the alien species was fast, but she never knew that they were this fast. Achako and Lucy were right behind her when they heard what Izuku said. Dude, that's fast as hell. Sato said, yeah, it is. Kaminari said, what about that flaming man of yours? Takoyami asked from his seat as he listened to conversation. Oh, Heat Blast. Izuku said as Heat Blast's page came, wow, that's a good picture of him. Mina said as she saw the drawing of the alien. Thanks. Anyway, he's a walking star. He can produce fire and heat things up to boiling temperatures. I don't know how hot I can go when I'm him, but I think very hot. He's actually the first one I ever transformed into. Izuku said, wow. The group said. Over time, Izuku explained the ones he transformed into to them. He didn't tell them the ones he hasn't until as he's saving them of later. Over time, they were satisfied with his answers. He said his goodbyes and him and Lucy were walking out at the school. He had Bakugo on his mind. He went to check on him, but he disappeared when the final bell rang from what recovery girl told him. He did feel bad of decking Kaken, but a part of him felt like he deserved it. After that stunt he tried to pull on he and the others was wrong. Lucy looked at Izuku and saw the expression on his face. Hey, Izzy. She said. Izuku was brought back to reality when he heard Lucy's voice. Huh? You say something? Izuku asked. You looked out of it a bit. Are you okay? Lucy asked. No, I am fine. I'm just thinking on something. Izuku said, oh, okay. Lucy said as she saw someone at the gate. Why do you ask? Izuku asked Lucy. Cause you got someone waiting for you. Lucy said while pointing to the gate. Izuku looked and saw that Momo was standing at the gate, looking at the sunset and in deep thought. I'll leave you guys alone. Catch up when you're done, Lucy said, leaving an internally panicking Izuku. Lucy walks past Momo, who notices her. If she's walking out, then that means, Momo thought. She looks behind her and sees Izuku slowly walking out the school, and was sweating a bit. He reaches her and stands right in front of her. Hey Momo. Izuku greeted, nervously. Hello Izuku. Momo greeted back in a normal tone. The two stood there in awkward silence. Look Momo, if this is Izuku was speaking, but he was cut off when Momo suddenly grabbed him, and smooched him onto her body, and held him tightly, which caused him to stiffen. Momo. Izuku said, but he felt shaking. He felt Momo shake. I thought that you were killed. When I saw that green flash and then the explosion and the green liquid all over the room. I thought that you killed by Bakugo. I've never been more terrified in my life until then. Momo weakly cried out. Izuku's eyes went wide. I know that we're working together to become heroes, and just when I thought we were getting closer to that dream, seeing you run into that blast and seeing you were blown up like that, I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. She stuttered. She never does that. Izuku thought in shock. He could tell that the poor girl was struggling to hold back her tears. Izuku's natural nervousness faded away, and being the kind-hearted and overworried boy that he is, he embraced her and stroked her back, and he knew he had to say something to keep this previous girl from crying. Momo. I'm not going to die. Not now, not ever. If things look bleak like and that I'm in a bad stop, just like they were today, then I'll find a way to get out of it. Just like I did today, Izuku said. Momo broke the hug and looked at Izuku in disbelief. How? What makes you so sure that you can make it out of anything? Momo yelled. Insert music, Fairy Tale Lost theme. Izuku pointed to the sky as the wind blew by because that's what heroes do. Izuku said with a small smile. Momo's eye widened and she could feel Izuku's spirit emitting from him as he stood in front of her, as his hair gently flowed with the wind. Even when things look bleak and there's no hope at all, heroes always finds a way to save those in trouble and stop those who cause chaos and pain. That what heroes do, that what we'll do, Izuku said. In the heat of the moment, he confidently took Momo's right hand, held it with his left one. I cannot. No, I refuse to die. Not until I become the world's greatest hero and both of us become heroes. I promise you, on my life, my heart, and on this watch. Izuku lifted his arm and his blazer's sleeve fell down a bit to reveal the Omnitrix to Momo. That I won't die. I'll get out of any situation. No matter bad things might look, or how terrible it is, I will come out of it alive and well, so we can become heroes together, Izuku said with a smile on his face. Momo looked at Izuku in shock. This boy ... This hero was sure that he'll not die anytime soon. Hearing those reassuring words, she could feel herself brightening up and the worry of Izuku dying slowly leave. She smiled and wiped the single tear that fell while Izuku was speaking. Thank you, Izuku-kun. I'll take you up for it, she said with a small smile. Good to know. Izuku replied. Are we interrupting something? End music. Izuku and Momo flinched at the new voice behind them. They turned around and saw that Ada, Ochako, Mina and Tsuyu and even Kirishima and Hagakure were behind them, staring at them and repeatedly blinking. Nope, they were just finishing talking. They turned to see Lucy leaning on the wall by the gate. Izuku quickly let go of Momo's hand, and his face resembled a tomato as it was red and steam was coming off his head. Momo turned away in embarrassment and had steam coming out her head as well. Izuku couldn't even find the right words to say, is he taken or not? Nina thought while pouting as her heart was beating fast. Ochako held her chest. Her heart was beating fast for unknown reasons. You were worried about him, weren't you? Lucy asked Momo, who looked down. Yes. Momo said quietly, but everyone heard. All of you were, huh? Lucy asked as she turns to the rest, and those who watched the fight nodded as they too thought that Izuku was killed. Lucy looked at the hurt face on Mina and the concerned face on Ochako. She walked to Izuku and bopped him in the head. Oh, what was that for? Izuku hissed out in pain from the bop. You made everyone worried about you from that stunt. You even made two girl cry. Lucy said, I did. I'm so sorry. Izuku yelled while bowing repeatedly to Mina and Ochako. It's no problem. Just don't do that ever again, Izuku. Ochako said as Lucy looked at her. Yeah. Don't scare us like that again, Midori. Mina said, I promise. Izuku said. The girls nodded. So, should we get going now since there is still school tomorrow? Ida said. The friends nodded and they all walked to their stations to go home. Their day is done and they need their rest. Be very aware, child. Izuku was in a dark and empty space as a set of red eyes were looking at him. Be very aware as your days are numbered. For I am coming for you now. AGH. Izuku jolted up from his bed. He was sweating from the dream while he looked down and saw his hands were shaking. What was that? Who was that? Izuku thought. Izuku. Sweetie, is something wrong? He had his mom asked as she opened the door and saw her and Lucy walking into his room in their sleepwear. Yeah, it was just a dream. Izuku said, are you such that it wasn't a nightmare? Lucy said, no, I don't know what that was. It felt real. Izuku said, unsure as to what he dreamed or saw. I'm sure it was just a bad dream, sweetie. We can talk about later. And Ko said as she hugged Izuku and started to leave, but it seemed so real. This guy looked right at me and said, be very aware as your days are numbered. For I am coming for you now. Izuku quoted the message from his dream, causing Ko to stop and go wide-eyed. The two noticed Ko's sudden halt in movement. Mom, you okay? Izuku asked. Yeah, are you feeling well? Lucy asked. Ko shook her head a bit and turned to them. Oh, I'm fine. I just remembered something that I need to do today. You two should probably get ready for school. Ko said as she leaves the room. Izuku and Lucy look at each other and shrug their shoulders. They leave the room and start to get ready for school. Ko was in her room and held her hand to her chest. He's here. He's really here. I have to prepare and warn the other plumbers for his arrival. Ko said. She went to her purse and took out the metal disc with the green hourglass on it. She taps it as the hourglass glowed. Attention all units. Attention all units. This is plumber lieutenant number 755,789. Ko said into the disc, be at high altar. Vilgax is here. UA. High front gate. Izuku and Lucy blinked as they saw a large crowd of reporters and news anchors surrounding the UA high gate, nearly asking every student that were walking in to ask questions. How was All Might as a teacher? The questions ranged from how is he at teaching classes to how he acts. The media can be scary just to get a scoop. Izuku said, with a sweat drop, and we have to go through they to get to class. Lucy said, aw, man. The two forced their way through the reporters while receiving a barrage of questions. They apologized and said that they had to get to class. Izuku noticed Ada talking to a few reporters, but he was going on a speech. He then noticed one guy standing from behind the crowd but couldn't make out how he looked like from where he was. In the class homeroom, we see Aizawa with a sheet of paper in his hands while standing at the podium. Decent work on combat training yesterday, you guys. I saw the video feeds and went through each of the team's results. Bakugo. Aizawa said to the class before he glanced at Bakugo, who looked a bit better but still had bandages on his right arm. As much as I hate to say it, you're talented, but you have to let go for this stupid grudge that you have on Midoriya if you want to be a pro someday. And that stunt you pulled to get him, you could have seriously taken lives yesterday. If it wasn't for Man's and Midoriya's quick response and reaction times, 3 students could have been in the hospital now. You have 1 warning left on you, young man, and if I hear that you pull a stunt like again, I will not hesitate to expel you from this school, talented or not. Now for the punishment, you'll be cleaning the classroom every day until the semester is done. Do I make myself clear? Aizawa said with a glare. Bakugo don't even respond to him, he just set his head down to the desk and Midoriya, man. Aizawa called out, why yes sir. Izuku said, nice job on your quirks yesterday. You used different forms and tactics to face off your opponents. While I do appreciate the fact you two did protect the others and absorbed most of the attack, don't do something like that again, Midoriya. You got lucky when you changed into that goo form of your and survived that blast. It is wise to think of a way to counter the attack without using your body as a shield. Don't do it again. Okay, problem children. Aizawa said yes sir. Izuku and Lucy said all right. Now, let's get down to business. Our first task will decide your future. Aizawa said. The class got tense from what he said. Is it another quirk test? The majority of the class thought you all need to pick a class representative. Aizawa finished what he said. Oh good. Just normal school stuff. The class sighed in relief. This guy sure loves to mess with us, huh? Lucy thought, pick me guys. I wanna be class rep. Kirishima yelled, I'll take it. Kaminari said with his hand raised, nah yeah, you're gonna need me. Jiru said with her hand raised as well. Someone with style would be Aoyama was saying his option suggestion, but was cut off by Mina. I'm totally the right pick. Mina yelled, hey, let me do it. I could lead these bunch of extras. Bakugo shouted as his eyes were white in aggression and he stood out of his seat. Everyone wants to be class rep. Izuku thought nervously while he looked around the room. Silence everyone. Please. Everyone stopped and turned to Ida who was standing. A class representative's duty is to lead others. That's not something that anyone can do. You must first have the trust of everyone in the classroom. Therefore, the most logic is to fill to position democracy. We will hold an election to choose our leader, Ada said while shaking. Lucy giggling as she figured out what he really wanted. It's pretty obvious that you want us to vote of you, dude. Lucy thought while giggling, is this really the best idea? Kaminari asked. We've only known each other a few days while some a few months. How do we know who can we trust? Sue asked with a finger on her chin. Besides, everyone will vote of themselves. Kirishima said, pointing out the one big flaw in Ada's suggestion. Most people will. But whoever receives the most votes is the one who is most suited for the job. It's that best way, right sir? Ada said while turning to Aizawa who was in his sleeping bag. Do what you want. Just dayside before my nap's over. Aizawa tiredly said before falling to the floor and sleeping. Thank you for your trust. Ada said while Lucy looked at Mr. Aizawa. Is this guy really a pro hero? She thought. Izuku looked around and started thinking on who should he vote for. A person who fits being a leader. Izuku thought. He instinctively looked back and glazed at Momo who did the same thing. Both were surprised to see that the other seeing looking across the room and seeing that they had the same thoughts. They smiled. Election results. Izuku Midoriya, 7 Momo Yaoyorozu, 3 Tenya Ida, 1 rest, 1 or 0. How did I get 6 votes? Izuku yelled. He was surprised a vote but was shocked to see 6. Okay you dumbasses. Who voted for him? Bakugo asked, clearly mad about the loss. What? Did you honestly think that anyone was going to vote for you? Zero asked while Bakugo was yelling at the black-haired kid. Uraraka and Lucy were looking at their rights and whistling casually. Maybe I'll just keep my vote to myself for now. Uraraka thought, well as for Lucy this will help you gain more confidence in yourself Izzy. I'm just looking out of you. Lucy thought Ada was sitting in his chair while in a state of shock. He couldn't believe that he got 0 votes. 0 votes. I feared that this might happen. But I can't argue with the system that I suggested, Ada said to himself while the others were looking at him. So, you voted for someone else, huh? Momo asked. But you knew that it was best to vote for yourself, huh? Bummer. What were you trying to prove here, Ada? Sato asked after the results were shown. Izuku and Momo were standing next to each other in front of the class. Now, Izuku was panicking. Not only was a cute girl, was standing next to him, but he was panicking like he had stage fright. Which he did. All right, our class rep is Midoriya, with Yaoyorozu as our vice rep, Aizawa announced while still on the floor. Izuku was shaking as Momo looked down onto him. She placed a hand on his shoulder which caused him to flinch and look at her. Izuku, calm down. I know that is stressful for you to be in position, but I know you can do it. She whispered to him, sorry, but I didn't want to be class representative at all, to tell you the truth. I thought a girl like you might want it. Izuku said, really? But I voted for you to be it. Momo said, what? Yes, me and 5 more people think that you can handle this. Momo said, I see. But who voted for me? Izuku asked, I wonder too. Lunchtime, maybe I can give the position to Ada instead. Izuku thought, with his head down onto the table at the cafeteria. It was lunchtime and the students were packed in the room as usually. Man, this rice is so good. Uraraka said as she ate her lunch. Congratulations on becoming class representative, Midoriya. Ada said to Izuku. Izuku, Ada, Uraraka, Momo and Lucy were sitting in one table together. But I must say that I'm surprised that you were not chosen to be class representative, Yaoyorozu. Ada said, I know. I am a little disappointed since I always wanted the job, but I'm glad that I can work with Izuku so I can help him out in the job. Momo said, I still don't think I'm quite qualified to be class rep. Ada, do you want the position? Izuku asked his friend. No, while I did want to be it, I cannot take your position from you, Midoriya, since me and 5 others voted for you. Ada said. Wait, you voted for me? Why? Izuku asked. Your courage and quick thinking under stress will make you a worthy leader. Not to mention, the strength and plans you displayed yesterday. That's the reasons I choose you. Ada said, yup, that's why I voted for you too. Uraraka said, happily you too. Izuku asked, yeah, you had a cool plan in the training yesterday, and you handled things cool. I don't think anyone in class would jump straight into an explosion and tank it like that. Uraraka said, Well, that solves the first 3. So who are the others? Izuku wondered. Oh, that was us. Izuku turns and looks into a set of black eyes with the irises bright yellow, although just a few inches from his face. Mina. Izuku yelled while jolting back. Hey, Midori. Mina said with a grin, I'm here too. They turned and saw a floating food tray with floating clothes. Can we sit here and eat with you guys? Mina asked as she had her own food tray. Yes, sure. Izuku uttered as he scooted to the side to make room of the two new occupants. So, you voted for Izzy? Lucy asked. Yup, I felt like I could trust Midori with my life. Mina said. Well, I can see Ashido voting for Izuku, but what about you, Hagakure? Uraraka asked the invisible girl. Oh, I voted for Momo. Hagakure said. You did? Momo asked. Yeah, like Mina, I can feel that I can trust you in the job. Hagakure said. Thank you, Hagakure. Momo said, feeling happy that someone trusts her well. Then, who are the last ones? Izuku wondered. They heard someone slipping on their drink slowly and a bit loudly. They turned and saw Lucy drinking her juice. Izuku and the others watch her as she drinks. Izuku's mind started to piece things together and a light bulb appeared over him. Lucy, you were one of the people who voted for me. Izuku said. Yup. Why? I thought that this would help you with your self-confidence issues. Lucy said. He has some. Thanks to a certain someone. Lucy said as she glances at Bakugo, who was eating with Kirishima, who was talking to him. I don't have self-confident issues. Izuku argued with Lucy. Yes, you do. Lucy shot back. No, I ring. Izuku was cut off when the bell suddenly rang. What the? Izuku shouted as the alarm was too loud. Warning. Level 3 security breach. All students, evacuate the building in an orderly fashion. A female voice spoke through the speaker systems. The students started running. What's a level 3 security breach? Ida asked a student that was running past their table. That means someone managed to get past the school's wall. This hasn't happened in my 3 years here. Run away, the student said while running. Let's get out of here. Mina yelled as the class of students were running down the halls as every student was squished in the hall as they were trying to leave the building. Izuku was in the stampede and tried to push away a few students out of his way, but he felt softness on his back. He quickly noticed that Mina and Momo's bosoms were pressing against his back. The girls looked down and see Izuku's eyes were swirls in comedic fashion as they quickly realized what was happening, and they had red, lilac blushes on their faces. Lucy and Ochako noticed the situation Izuku was in and they blushed as well. Who is outside to cause this? Ada wondered as he pushes his way to the window to have a look as to who was the cause of this. He looked and saw it's ... It's the press that was outside. Ida yelled as the press were at the doors of the school with Aizawa and Present Mike blocking them. All we want is All Might. He's here somewhere. A female reporter said to the pros. It said stay off the school ground. Present Mike. Not having it today with the media, just give us one comment, and we'll leave. A cameraman said. I know how you people work. Give you an inch and you'll want a mile. Aizawa said. Present Mike went to his ear. They are trespassing, so that makes them villains. Why don't we just beat them up? Mike asked, really wanting to use his quirk on the press. Don't even think about it. Unless you want your name to be dragged through the mud. Let's wait for the cops. Aizawa said, understanding his friend's announce of the press. Ida, what do you see? Izuku asked. It's just the media. They entered the school grounds somehow. Ida replied. What? So there's no villains at all? Lucy asked. No, I'm afraid not. Ida said. So there's nothing to worry about. Hagakure asked. Yeah, but the rest don't know. Momo said as the rest of the students were panicking. How do we tell them that it's not? Mina asked. Izuku looked around the hall and saw a bar over the door. That's it. Guys, I have an idea. Izuku yelled, getting the attention of the rest. Ochako, I need you to take my gravity away and make me float. Then Ada will throw me to the door and I'll gain everyone's attention. Izuku yelled out. But how? Ida asked. With this, Izuku said, lifting his arm and rolling up his sleeve and showed off the Omnitrix. Izuku started pushing everyone away from him while making his way to Ochako. She stretched her hand out to him. Izuku continued to push his way to her as he got close to her. He reached out to her hand as she was being pushed back. She tries to smack Izuku's hand but misses. Izuku got closer as Uraraka was pushed back. They stretched their hands until Ochako smacked him hand, and Izuku felt lighter. He jumped in the area to, now. Izuku yelled as Ada grabbed Izuku's leg and flung him front. Izuku activated the Omnitrix and started to select who could gain the most attention. Come on, give me someone. Go. Izuku said to the watch as he picked 4 arms. The faceplate slid back and the button popped out. He slams down onto the watch and the green flash brightened the hall. The students noticed the flash as it hits the wall over the door. As the light dies out, over the door was a small, white figure. He had a square appendage resembling an MP3 player behind his back with a port on it, decorated with the 10 symbol, and what looks like cassette tapes on his lower legs. He had small green circle-shaped indents on the back of his hands. He also was wearing. He wore the Omnitrix symbol on his chest and had black shorts on. Will everyone ... be ... quite. The little guy said, but it echoed through the hall, causing everyone to stop and hold their ears, protecting them from the sudden noise. Izuku head onto a pile line that was over the door and turned his body to the students. It's Juice at the Midoriya outside. There's nothing to worry about. Everything's fine, everyone, he said as his voice echoed. Everyone was looking at him. We are US students. We need to keep calm and sho that we're the be saint, so we must saint remain calm. Izuku said his piece to them as the students were stunned by his words and they started to calm down. Hey look. It's the police, one student said as they heard sirens. Izuku sighed and jumped off the wall and slowly made it to the ground outside. The police started to come. That's a wrap. Get these dudes out of our station, President Mike said, using his quirk. Aizawa sighs and started to walk back in the building when something bright hits his eyes. He looked down to see what was the case and saw a single pale green crystal out of the floor. What the? Aizawa went to the crystal and took it out of the ground and looked at it. Isn't this one of Midoriya's crystals when he transforms into that crystal form of his? I need to report this to Nezu, Aizawa thought. He walks back into the building with the crystal in hand. Unknown to him, one figure was in the air while floating on a board of some kind. This isn't good. This figure said as he flew back into the air location. Unknown, we have lost the Omnitrix single. One robot said, as a giant figure grabs a small robot that was crawling on the ground and crushes it. No matter. I've narrowed down its location. This giant figure said as he looks at the monitors of Izuku. And I know how to get to this earthling out. Send the guns first. I'd like to see the face for the earthling who's caused me grief when they collect the Omnitrix from him. It said before punching one monitor. Homeroom 1A, UA Hi, Misutafu. Japan. The class was back together in the homeroom as Izuku and Momo were standing in front of the class. Ready, class rep? Momo asked Izuku in a professional tone. Why, yeah. Izuku said, a bit nervously. He went to the podium. Hi everyone. I have an announcement to make. I feel that this position is a bit much of me, so I decided to make some of you the class officers to assist me and Moyayarazu in tasks. Izuku said while trying to act professional. As the class started to talk to themselves about this, I feel that each one of the people that I call are responsible and level-headed in decision-making. So I name Ochako Uraraka, Tenya, Ada and Lucy Man as the class officers of Class 1A, Izuku said. Ada, Lucy and Ochako were stunned by this announcement as they were nominated for this position. Are you about this, Midoriya? Ada asked. Yes, you two helped me out so I could get everyone's attention. Plus, you were the one who saw the media outside. Izuku said with a smile. Yeah, you two did help him out. Did throwing him into that wall? Kaminari said. Yeah, and that new form rocks. Hey Midoriya, what's that little white guy's name? Hiroshima asked. I don't know. It was the first time I ever transformed into that guy. Izuku said. Yeah, well that guy's echo hurt my ears. Jiru said while rubbing her ears. I'm sorry. Izuku said. Hey, that's a cool name. Echo. Sato said echo. Like it. Izuku said. Hurry up. This is a waste of time. Aizawa said while lying against the wall in his sleeping bag. Oh right. Sorry sir. Anyway, do you guys accept? Izuku asked the three. Sure, I'm in. Lucy said. You can count on me, Izuku. Ochako said with a thumbs up. I'll take it position and be the best at it, Midoriya. Thank you for the trust. Ada said with a bow as Izuku smiled. You did a good thing. Momo whispered to Izuku. Thanks. Izuku said. UA. High front gate. Nezu, recovery girl, Midnight and another teacher were standing at the gate, but it was destroyed as the remains were dust. How are ordinary member of the press were able to bypass our security systems? Nezu said with his hands in his pockets. Someone else must have been behind this. Some villain actually infiltrate our school. But was this a show of power? A declaration for war? Nezu said as he takes out the crystal that Aizawa found. Or warning. Later, 12:50 p.m. Today's training will be a little different. You'll have 4 instructors. Me, All Might, Vlad King and another facility member will be keeping tabs on you. Aizawa said the students were surprised by this move. No surprise for All Might will be there, but 4 pros teaching one class at the same time was something else. 4 pros. Is that because of the break-in? Izuku thought as Shiro raised his hand. What kind of training is this? He asked. Aizawa just pulled out his card with head rescue. On it, rescue. You'll be dealing with natural disasters, shipwrecks and stuff like that. Aizawa said. Disasters, huh? Sounds like we're in for a big workout, huh? Kaminari said as the other students were excited. Totally. Mina said with excitement. Real hero stuff. This is what separates the men from the boys. I'm shaking with excitement. Hiroshima said finally. I just to show how good I am in water. Ribitasui said. Bakugu just snorted at the training. What's good for training to rescue those weaklings when they can't save themselves? Guys, I'm not finished yet. Aizawa said, causing the class to be quiet. What you wear in this exercise is up to you. I know you're excited about costumes. Aizawa said as he pressed a button on his remote and the wall slowly shot out the cases that the students' hero outfit were in. But keep in mind that you haven't gotten used to them yet, and they might limit your abilities. This special trainings is at an off-campus facility, so we'll be taking buses to get there. Aizawa said. He saw Izuku's hand go up. Yes, Midoriya. He asked. You mentioned Vlad King, the hero, will be involved in the training. What does that mean? Izuku asked. It means that this training session will be a joint one with Class 1B. The other hero course class here at UA will be joining us in this session. So be nice and meet friends. It's most likely that you'd be teaming up with them in the future when you're pros. That's all, start getting ready. Aizawa said. The class went to get their cases rescue training. Izuku thought with a determined expression on his face. I've been waiting of this. It'll bring me one step closer to being the kind of hero he is. I'll do my best. Izuku thought as he got up and took his number 10 case outside. Izuku was standing outside in his hero outfit, but he tied his jacket around his waist. Hey Midori. Izuku turns and sees Mina in her hero outfit standing close to his face. Mina, please, stop doing that. Izuku said while holding his hand to his chest. Sorry, I'm still waiting for your answer. Mina said my answer. My answer on what? Izuku asked, confused on how I look in my hero costume. You never did say anything about it. Pretty hot, right? Mina asked while posing in front of him. Steam coursed off Izuku's head as he was blushing. He tried to look away, but the damage was done as the image of Mina and the pose she did burned into his brain, to haunt him in his mind until he is used to female I think you look great in it, Izuku said. Really? Then tell me. Mina started to walk right to Izuku's ear. Who's more in their costume? Me, Momo or Uraraka? Mina asked in a teasing voice. Izuku flinched at her tone. Wwwl. Izuku while praying that something could come to his rescue. Ishido. The two turned to see Momo, Lucy and Achako were standing next to them. Momo and Achako were glaring at the pink-skinned girl while Lucy was watching this with a smile on her face. What are you doing? Momo asked while an eerie aura was around her. Oh, I'm just talking to Midori. Mina asked about what? Achako asked with a similar eerie aura about who has the best costume out of the girls in the class. Mina said what? TT, that's not what I was saying. Izuku said, trying to plead his case. It's okay, Izuku, we know that you didn't say that. Momo said. She approached the acidic girl as she glared at her with the vein on her head. I know she's lying since I know you. Plus, you were just trying to him to talk out of it because of what I did to him yesterday. Momo said. Oh, were you trying to impress him with your costume? Were you trying to him with it? Was that your plan? Mina asked with a mischievous grin on her face. Momo went red in the face and no. That's not it. And if you think you're trying to find ways to move to him, well then you can forget it. I've known him for a while since before coming to UA. So you better stop teasing Izuku. Momo said. Nope, I like teasing him. And besides, he's the one male friend I made here, so ha. Mina said. She stuck her tongue out to Momo as the rich girl was blowing steam out of her nose. But you're making him uncomfortable. You know how shy he is. Achako said. Mina turned to her. And what about you? You showing off with that skin-tight suit while showing off your round body. Are you trying to impress him too? Mina asked. Uraraka's face went red and no. That's a lie. Uraraka yelled. You three are forgetting something. All three turned to Lucy, who had a smug look on her face. And that is? Momo asked. I have a huge advantage. I've knew Izzy for most of his life and I know everything about him. Lucy said. The three girls went into a panic mode before Momo realized something. She grinned. Wait, you two are cousins. You can't date him and marry him because it'll be. Momo said. The other girls heard this and smirked that Lucy lost, but Lucy's smug smile never faded. Instead it grew. Actually I can. Lucy said. What? All three asked at once. We're only related by law. We're not even rated. Please, there is no law that prevents me from marrying him, Lucy said as she watched the girls' faces turn from smug to terrified. They understood what she was saying. If what she was saying was true, then that'd mean that Lucy has a head start on Izuku than them. The four stared at each other as the eerie aura kicked into high gear and electricity hit the middle as it came from them. The hunt is on. All four thought Izuku was not too far from the girls as he tried to calm down his heart from the weird moment he was in just now. If I don't die from something in the hero business, then these girls will be the death of me. Izuku thought he heard footsteps and saw 20 more students in their own hero outfits walking to them. Hi there, I'm Itsuka Kendo, class representative of Class 1B, a girl said as she approaches. She had teal eyes and long, ginger hair that she tied into a high ponytail on the left side of her head. Her bangs were split into 3 clumps around her eyes, and some of her hair sticks up in large tufts on the top of her head. She was wearing a turquoise knee-length kippao over a black double corset, ending just below her. She also sported black short pants under the kippao. For accessories, she was wearing a loose brown utility belt around her hips, a satchel attached at the back, a thin black domino mask around her eyes, and white-heeled navy blue boots with wide vamps that reached down to her toes, filled in with white slips. In short, it made her hot. Izuku was trying not to panic and go stutter mode. Hi. I'm Izuku Midoriya, class representative of Class 1A, Izuku said. Nervously, it's a pleasure to meet you, Midoriya. Kendo said. Why, yeah. Izuku said. Oh, don't be shy. Izuku heard a voice from before Kendo. He looked over and saw another girl he's never seen before. She was of average height who was surprisingly large, upturned dusky green eyes with long lower eyelashes, and notably long and pointed teeth. Her hair was a dark moss green, collectively reaching just below her shoulders aside from a short clump that hangs in the center of her forehead, and it grows wavier and thinner the lower down it gets. Her hero costume consisted of a blue, scaly mask over her eyes, a simple bodysuit with a matching design, and black knee-high boots. She wore fingerless gloves with orange, 3-piece wrist guards, and a belt around her waist, with what looks to be a jewel embedded into the center. Sup, name's Setsuna Takage of Class B. The girl introduced herself. Hi. Izuku said. Oh, don't worry. I won't bite you. Much. Takage said as Izuku blushed at the comment. Haha. Man, that was so funny, your face. Takage started laughing at the reaction Izuku made. That's enough. Kendo said as she chops Takage on the head. Oh, you know that hurts, right? Takage said while rubbing her head. Gather around Class A. Everyone, using your students' numbers. Form to neat lines so we can fill the bus in an orderly fashion. Ada caught everyone's attention while using a whistle from God knows where he got it. Looks like he's taking this class officer job to the extreme. Izuku thought, watching his friend's antics. Well, looks like we have to go now. It was nice to meet you, Midoriya. I hope we'll see each other later. Kendo said, see you later, cutie, Takage said as Kendo started to push her to their class's bus. Izuku stood there, frozen from the word that Takage said, cutie. Izuku thought, oh Izuku. Turned around and saw the four girls were smiling at him with their eyes closed, but these were not everyday happy smiles. No, these were run for your life smiles. Izuku, who were those two girls? Momo asked, sweetly with a dark aura over her. Well, you see. Izuku was trying to speak but nothing came up. Please tell us, Midori. Mina said with the same sweet tone and aura. I. Come on, Izzy. You can tell us. Lucy said, same sweet tone and same aura. Izuku looked around for an escape. Please, Izuku. Tell us. Ochako said. The four started to walk to him slowly as the world around Izuku faded into black and he was small compared to the four smiling demons in front of him. Ahhh. On the bus, class were in their seat but due to the different seat plan, Ada's system was thrown out of whack. He was sitting next to Mina as he looked to the floor in shame. The bus's open layout ruined. My boarding strategy, Ada said. You really need to calm. Mina said. Izuku was safe, thanks to sitting next to Tsuyu, who the girls didn't suspect a thing from. If we're pointing out the obvious, that there's something I want to say. About you actually. Tsuyu said as she turns to Izuku. About me. What is it, Asui? Izuku asked, feeling nervous again. I told you to call Tsu. Asui. Utsu said. Oh. Why yeah right. Izuku said, that quirk of yours. It's almost like All Might's in terms of power. Tsu said with a smile. Huh? Really? You think so? I really haven't thought for it that way. Izuku said, trying to play it cool. Wait, hold on, Tsu. While I agree that Midoriya's quirk is powerful, All Might doesn't need to transform to go hero. That's a huge difference. Kirishima said as Izuku sweat dropped. Those two are so close. Yet so far from the truth. Izuku thought, but still. It's so cool to have a transformation and an emitter quirk like your Midoriya. You could do a lot of cool stuff with it. All I got is mine hardened. It might be strong but it doesn't look that impressive. Kirishima said as he lifts his arm and turns on his quirk. No way. I think it's awesome looking. You're defiantly pro material with a quirk like that. Izuku said, you really think so? I think it'd be easier if you had a flashy quirk. Kirishima said while turning off his quirk. Well, that my naval laser is the perfect combination for flashy and power. Aoyama said, yeah, but it's super lame if it gives you a tummy ache, sweetie. Mina said as Aoyama had a downcast face. Well then, out of all of us, it'd be Midoriya, Todoroki and Bakugo who have pro quirks. Kirishima said. Bakugo looked over when the red-haired mentioned his name but turned away after. Sure, but Bakugo's always angry so he'll never be that popular. Midoriya will probably the only one to get on the top 10 list faster than him. Tsu said, which caused Bakugo to blow. What did you say? I quote, I'll kick your. Bakugo shouted while standing up. See. Tsu said, having her point proven. You know, we basically just met you. But your personality is basically flaming mixed with garbage. If Midoriya's beatdown on you didn't teach you a lesson on respecting other, I'd say he'll do it again. Kaminari said, you're gonna regret the day you applied to this school, you loser. I'll kill you. He yelled at Kaminari and Tane looked back to Izuku. He glared at him, which Izuku returned. The two glared at one another until Bakugo sat down and looked away, calming himself down. You'll never change, will you, Kakin? Izuku thought. Lucy and Uraraka looked at the two in concern. Lucy told the history between them to Ochako and they knew that those two were going to kill each other if one pushes the wrong buttons. Momo was not far away from figuring out the history between Izuku and Bakugo. She wanted to know what was going on with them. Minto's pass and the buses stop in front of a large dorm-like building. The students from each bus got off and saw a person in a puffy spacesuit. Hello everyone. I've been waiting for you. The students were surprised to see this hero here in person. It's the space hero, 13. The hero who saved people all over the world. Izuku said with excitement. Yes, 13 is one of my favorite heroes. Uraraka said with the same level of excitement. I can't wait to show you what's inside. 13 said, this is gonna be awesome. The classes said together. They walk into the building and was amazed by the size of it. There were buildings, mountains, waterfalls and too many domes in it. Holy. It's like a theme park here. Kirishima said a shipwreck, a landslide, a fire, a windstorm and etc. I created this facility to train in different disasters. I call it the Unforeseen Simulation Joint. But you can call it the USJ. 13 said. Just like Universal Studios Japan. The students said. Aizawa and Vlad were walking to 13 noticing that someone wasn't here. Hey, shouldn't All Might be here already? Aizawa asked. Yes. He was supposed to be here before us. Vlad said actually it's something else. 13 said he used up all his power while on the way here to school today. He's resting in the teacher's lounge right now. 13 sighed. Just, I swear one of these days. Aizawa said. The lights in the building were flickering as everyone noticed something in the distance. Aizawa turns around and see a purple portal open up. Stay down. 13. Protect the students. Aizawa sighed as he and Vlad were getting ready. Kirishima looked down to the lower level and saw the portal. Whoa, what is that thing? Kirishima asked. People were walking out of the portal as Kirishima got curious. Wait, did the training start alright? I thought we were rescuing people, Kirishima said as Izuku took a small step to see what was going on. Stay back, Aizawa shouted. Izuku noticed that Aizawa was putting on his goggles. This is real. Those are real villains, Aizawa said as the students was stunned by the news. 3 men walked out of the portal. One with hands all over him, one with black skin and scars over its body, and a tall and muscular young man in a tight black t-shirt over a gray long-sleeve shirt, blue pants, and black combat shoes. His hair was long and styled into a choppy mullet. Vilgax. Fists collided with each other as a spacecraft was rising to outer space, but it was damaged and parts of it were exploding. As the fists collided, 2 alien girls, one that looked like a teenage werewolf and the other, a little mummified girl, and Inko who was in some sort of suit, were trying to push a big metal piece of another alien as one green and black blob with one green eye was pulling on the leg of the alien trapped under. Now, I know what you are thinking. What the hell is going on? Who's fighting who? And why is a ship going to outer space right before it looks like it's about to explode? Well, to answer those questions, we're gonna have to jump back in time about 2 hours ago to see what was the cause of all this. Time Jump Back Edition. 2 hours ago, USJ facility, UA High, Misutafu, Japan. The students and teachers watched as a purple portal opened by the fountain as people were walking out of it. 3 men walked out of the portal. One with hands all over him, one with black skin and scars over its body, and a tall and muscular young man in a tight black t-shirt over a gray long-sleeve shirt, blue pants, and black combat shoes. His hair was long and styled into a choppy mullet. Kirishima got curious. Wait, did the training start all right? I thought we were rescuing people, Kirishima said as Izuku took a small step to see what was going on. Stay back, Aizawa shouted. Izuku noticed that Aizawa was putting on his goggles. This is real. Those are real villains, Aizawa said as the students was stunned by the news. The only real heroes I see are Vlad King, 13, and Eraserhead, a voice said by the portal. Perplexing. According to the schedule you retrieved from UA, All Might should be here as well, the voice said as the portal gained yellow eyes. So, you scumbags used the press as a cover to sneak into the campus. Aizawa said the villains were heading towards the stairs that the group were on top of. Figures. I suspected that no one in the media could have a quirk strong enough to break through the barrier, Vlad said. Students from both classes were stunned at this. It was the villains all along that caused the security to trip and caused the panic they were in. Where is he? I went through the trouble in bringing so many friends that were eager to meet him. They won All Might, the great symbol of peace. I can't believe he's not here. The man with the hands over his body said before a dark idea came to him. Maybe, if I kill a few kids, he'll come out to play, he said as Aizawa's scarf rose up with his hair while Vlad's piles on him were filling with. We gotta do something. We need to call back up. One kid from Class B said. Wait a minute. If the villains are here, shouldn't the alarms sound off already? Kendo asked as everyone looked around to see that no alarm went off. Yeah, 13. Why haven't they gone off? Momo asked the hero. Good question. I'm not sure, the pro said. Is the entire campus under attack? Or is this their only target? Todoroki asked. Either way, if the alarm sensors aren't being triggered, then one of those villains must have a quirk that's masking their presence here. They carefully chose this isolated facility as an entry point at a time when a class was being taught. They're fools for trespassing here, but they thought this out. Whatever their plan is, they must have a concert objective in mind. But what is it? Todoroki finished as the classes flinched at the idea that the villains had something in mind. But what is it? 13. Get them out of here and alert the main campus, Aizawa said, but realized something actually. If they have the ability to block our sensors, then they might be block our regular communications too. Kaminari, try using your quirk to connect the school, Aizawa said. Yes, sir. Kaminari as he went to his headphone. Lucy went to her pocket and took out something in secret. What are you two going to do? You guys can't fight all of them on your own. Even if you can, your fighting styles isn't suited of this, Izuku said. In concern, I agree with Midoriya. Please don't do this, Vlad King, sir. Kendo pleaded. It's alright, Kendo. My main concern is you kids and your lives. Vlad said. You can't be a pro if you only have one trick. I thought you would know that the most problem child, Aizawa said as Izuku watched the two heroes get ready. We'll leave it to you, 13. Aizawa said with 13 nodding. The two pros jumped down the stairs as 3 villains were waiting for them. Aizawa charges towards them as one of them had barrels on his fingers. He was about to shoot when Aizawa activated his quirk and no bullets came out, erasing his and the others' quirks. Aizawa used his capture weapon and wrapped them up and sending them to the air, only to down them down and hitting each other. Another villain with 4 arms rushed to Aizawa to punch him, but Vlad intercepted. Using his enhanced speed, the hero threw a punch to the villain's face, sending him flying towards the dome's roof. Vlad used his quirk and injected his to his gloves and shot out a gush of to the villain who was now on the roof. He'd be stuck there as the harden in seconds. Thanks for that. Keep them busy for a while till backup comes, Aizawa said before punching a villain's face that was trying to blindside him. Aizawa backflipped and threw his capture weapon and wrapped a villain and started to swing him. He used the trapped villain as a wrecking ball as he swung towards the villains. Vlad used his and hardened it as he slams down to the ground and creates a shockwave that pushes the villains away. There they go, trying to intimidate us. And since his eyes are hiding behind those goggles, you can't tell whose quirk is he erasing. He's making it for us to work together or rely on each other's powers. And when he does, the other one can attack. The handman said as Aizawa kicks a female villain's face and Vlad punches one more big villain, causing him to fly and slam into others. How annoying. The worst thing about dealing with pros is when they live up to all their hype. The handman said, which scratching his neck with 2 fingers. The teen next to him chuckles. Yeah, but you gotta admit that those guys are cool. I wonder if the Google wearing one can erase my power. The teen said as he watches Aizawa fight back at the stairs. Izuku watches his teachers fight. Whoa, they're holding them off. I guess I shouldn't have underestimated them, Izuku said. Lucy turns around and sees Izuku still standing. She stretches her hand and bops him on the head. Now's not the time to go fanboy on us, Izzy, we gotta go, Lucy yelled. Izuku breaks out of his trances and follows her. He notices something green and black sticking out of her pocket a bit. What is that? Izuku thought as they run to the door. Something purple shoots out from below them as the yellow-eyed villain appears and blocks their way out. There is no escape for you, he said. Aizawa sees the villain at the students. Damn it. I blinked and the guy who seems as the most trouble gets away, he thought before kicking a villain in the face. 13. Protect the kids, Vlad said as he ducks from a punch before uppercutting a villain. It's a pleasure to meet you all. We are the League of Villains. I know it's impolite, but we've decided to invite ourselves into this haven of justice to say hello, this villain said as 13 gets in front of the students. And besides, isn't this a fitting place of All Might, the symbol of peace, to draw his last breath, he said. Izuku got a bit scared and angry when he said that. His right hand was slowly going to the Omnitrix to go hero when Lucy grabbed his arm. He looked up and saw Lucy giving him a tearful glare, telling him to not do it. I believe that he was supposed to be here today, but I see no sign of him. There must have been some sort of change in plan that we could not have foreseen. But in the end, I suppose that it doesn't matter. I still have a role to play, the villain said as he moves. 13 opens her finger hold and was about to use her quirk, Black Hole, when Bakugo, Kirishima, 2 kids from Class B jumped the villain and attacked. Did you really think that we'd stand around and let you tear this place to shreds? Kirishima asked. He didn't see that coming. We got him, one of the boy from Class B said with iron all over his body. Both classes covered their face from the smoke, mostly from Bakugo's quirk. After the attack was done, they waited for the smoke to clear to see that the villain was still standing, and that he was totally fine from the attack. You love up to your school's reputation, but you should be more careful, children. Otherwise, someone might get hurt, the villain said. You 4, get out of the way right now. 13 said, I'll scatter you around this facility to meet my comrades and your death, the villain shouted as he launched a purple fog to the students, forcing a big blast of wind to them. What is this? Kirishima asked while shielding his face with his arm. The other 3 did the same. Ada jumped into action as he ran and took Uraraka and Sato and Lucy out of the fog. Shoji grabbed Shiro, Mina, Setsuna, Kendo and Hagakure and shielded them with his body. One kid from Class B by the name of Kajiro pulled in some students. The ones who were unfortunate were into the fog as it forms a dome. Ada looks back and sees the dome in shock. What's going on? Ada asked. Izuku shot out of a portal and started to fall into a large body of water. He screams until the screams were silent when he hit the water. Water. That guy must have that can teleport people. It's clear that I'm still in the USJ, Izuku thought as he starts to swim to the surface. He said that they came here to kill All Might. I guess that he's not here right now. But where is he? Izuku thought while swimming. And that guy with the hands on himself, was he the one who destroyed the gate to the school earlier? Why did they do that? I feel that there's more to this than we know, Izuku thought. Hey, suddenly felt a hand grabbing his left leg. He looks down and sees a girl as she held her hand to her mouth as she held onto him. She was a short girl of a rather thin build, with honey brown hair, curved inwards in a mushroom-shaped bob that reaches just below her narrow shoulders. Her mouth is notably large. Her hero costume consisted of a turtleneck dress with long sleeves and furred cuffs, which is decorated with a red and white fly agaric pattern, matching the one on her mushroom cap-shaped hat. She was wearing pale pink knee-high boots with thick tan soles and frilled shafts, patterned with the same fly agaric as her dress, and around her waist was a dark brown belt with a large golden buckle. Altogether, her costume bears a strong resemblance to a mushroom. Izuku could see that she was running out of air. He used his right hand to grab her left one and the two started swimming to the surface. All of a sudden, a shark-looking person started to swim to them at a fast pace. Izuku wanted to go to the watch but he couldn't let down of the girl who was holding to him. The two braced of what was coming to them when Tsuyu, while holding Minta over her right arm, appeared and kicked the villain's mouth. Hey Midori-chan, Tsuyu said as she shot her tongue out and wrapped around Izuku. Hold on to Midoriya, okay, Tsu said to the girl who nodded as they swam at a fast-paced shipwreck zone. They arrive at a ship in the middle of the water as Tsu rises to the surface. She lifts Izuku and the girl up to the boat and puts them down gently. You know, for a frog, you got some nice big boobs, Tsu. Prefect floaters, Mina said, all tired and leaning onto her bosom. Tsu blushed from his actions and embarrassment. She used her tongue and wrapped Minta up and pulled him from her to the boat, but instead of laying him down like she did with Izuku, she dropped him in air, causing him to bounce on impact and pain. She climbed the boat's side with her hands and feet. You saved my life, Asui, Izuku said in mine. The girl said while coughing for air. I told you to call me Tsu. Tsu said, correcting Izuku. Tsuyu Asui. Quirk, frog. It's self-explanatory. She can basically do whatever a frog can do. And it's the least I can do. Tsu said, are you okay? Izuku asked the girl who grabbed him in the water. Why yeah, thanks for the save. The girl said no problem. Izuku said this is turning out to be a horrible day of class. Tsu said yeah. Izuku agreed. TT that villain. Did he really say that they came here TT to kill All Might? The girl asked, shyly. I believe that he was supposed to be here today but I see no sign of him. There must have been some sort of change in plan. They knew our whole schedule and who'd be here. They must have gotten into school files. While we were in the cafeteria, the teachers were busy with the media. That means that they've been waiting for the perfect time to attack. Just like Todoroki said they were. Izuku said okay, hey, hold on a second. It's not like these guys can actually kill All Might. Once he shows up, he'll these villains till there's nothing left. Mina said while punching the air. But think about though. If the villains spent so much time planning this attack, then they probably figured out a way to kill him. Tsu said, making Izuku look at her. And didn't you hear what that smoke guy said? Maybe we should worry about not getting tortured to death. Otherwise we all might not get a chance to see All Might again. And even if he does show up, who knows that he'll make it out in one piece. Tsu said, making Mina sweating more and more from the truth behind her words. No, the pros are going to save us, right? Tell Frog Boobs to stop it, you too. Mina said to Izuku and the girl as they were silent from Tsu's words. Izuku and Tsu noticed something coming to them from the water at high speeds. All four turned to see villains coming to them. You bastards, and I'll enjoy eating you all. One of them shouted, causing Mina to scream ahhh. Bad guys. Insert music. My Hero Academia asked. Kyoito no Kubu Asui's right. If they're here for All Might, that they must have a way to defeat him. They wouldn't have planned this attack if they didn't. But why him out of all the other heroes? Is it because his very existence discriminates villains and evil? Because he's the one and only symbol of peace and justice? Actually, it doesn't matter. Izuku thought as the words All Might told him on the day they met popped into his head. Izuku looks down to the Omnitrix. I don't care what their reasons are. I have to focus. I have to face this evil head on. Tsu, Maida and the girl were looking at the villains below the water and felt fear creeping up in them if they can beat him. They turned when they heard Izuku speak and saw his hair was shadowing his eyes. Then we have to stop whatever it is that those bad guys are planning. We have to work together and keep All Might safe. No one at UA knows what's happening. It's up to us. Let's be heroes. Izuku said with determination in his tone as the three look at him. Landslide zone at a different site. Ice was spreading on the floor as it reaches various villains until it hit their bodies and froze them still. Todoroki and a few others from Class B were standing in front of the villains as the ice came from Todoroki. Aren't you embarrassed that you lost to children? For God's sake, you're adults. Put up a good fight. Todoroki said. Kalesp zone at another different site. Bakugu blow. Up an explosion onto a villain's face. Him, Kirishima and the two boys from Class B were fighting a bunch of baddies off. Different zones at more different zones. Students were preparing to fight the villains that surrounding them while at the entrance of the building. 13 was about to do battle with the remaining boys acting as backup and to protect the remaining girls there. Aizawa and Vlad King fought on while the two men and the giant figure watched on before the handman started to walk to see better. Everyone had a fight on their hands. End music at UA High. Nezu was walking to the teacher's lounge to talk to All Might about Izuku and the Omnitrix, and the effect it has on OFA. He was close when something in his pocket vibrated. He went to his pocket and took out his plumber badge. He opened it and saw a message from Man. From Man. I wonder what could it be? Nezu said as he opened the message. His eye went wide at it. Villains have infiltrated the USJ. Send back up. What? Nezu yelled out as the door to the teacher's lounge opened and Toshi in his normal form popped his head out. Oh, afternoon sir. What seems to be the problem? Toshi asked. The USJ is under villain attack and Class 1A and 1B are there. Nezu said what? That's why I felt something's wrong. I'll go there and save them all. Toshi said as he transformed into All Might and ran at full speed. Nezu was about to go and get the rest of the teachers but he saw an altar on the badge's screen. He taps on it and his pupils shrank. No, he can't be here already. Nezu said as he started to run to his office. He tapped on the badge and it glowed. Attention all units. Attention all units. This is Plumber Agent N23 and I request assistance. Nezu screamed as he went into his office and opened a door that had a white suit in it with what looked like weapons. Vilgax is here. And he is en route to the Omnidix that is attached to one Izuku Midoriya. Back at the USJ, eyes and ears were looking all over the place as they were attached to Shoji, indicating that he was using his quirk. Shoji. Got them. Anything. Where is everyone? Ida asked. They've been scattered across the USJ but everyone is still here. Shoji said as everyone felt relief about that. They look at the mist that was still blocking them. What do we do? The guy's unaffected by physical attacks and he can teleport stuff. Zero said. 13 thought for something. Everyone. Who is the fastest in this group? 13 asked Midoriya's, but he was taken away from that attack earlier, so it's Ida. Shoji said, okay, Ida, I need a favor. Run to the school and alter them of what's happening here. 13 said, causing Ida to hesitate. The alarms aren't sounding and our phones and radios aren't working, so one of those villain must be to blame. Even though Eraserhead is canceling people's Quirks left and right and Vlad King's onto people with his. They'll run out of fuel soon and we're sealed off from the outside world. It's better for you to run down to the school and get back up than for us to wait. 13 said yes, but it'll be disgraceful for me to leave you all here. Ida said, go bro. There's a lot of alarms outside. Sato said as he walked forward and got into a fighting stance, there's why they're keeping us in here. Right. Sato said as long as you can get outside, they won't follow. Zero said as he walked forward to and got into his fighting stance, blow this stupid mist away with your speed and engine. Zero said use your quirk to save others. Be a real hero. What would your class rep do if he was here? 13 asked. Ida was speechless as Shoji and the rest of the Class B boys stepped forward and stood to the mist. I can help you out. I'll float you like I did to Izuku back at the cafeteria. Uraraka said with Mina and Kendo nodding to him. Please, Izuku trusted you to be a class officer like me and Ochako. Make him proud. Lucy said as Ida remembered why Izuku chosen him to be a class officer. I feel that each one of the people that I call are responsible and level-headed in decision-making. Ida looked on until he got serious as he got into a running position, and his exhaust popped out of his legs. Even if this is your only option, are you really fast enough to get past me? The mist villain yelled as he attacks. 13 reacted, it doesn't matter what we're planning once I make you into atoms. 13 said as she used her quirk and started the mist villain into her fingers. Back at the shipwreck zone, what do you mean fight? Are you crazy? Mina started to shout as he heard Izuku's plan. These guys might be able to kill All Might and you think we can take them? Did you hit your head when we got wrapped here? The best way for us to live through this is wait for a pro to come and save us. Mina yelled as he danced around in a panic state with tears falling from his eyes. Izuku and Tsuyu looked at the water below, completely ignoring Mina's outburst while the mushroom girl was slowly patting him on the back. Think about it. Those villains down there clearly have an advantage down there in the water and we'll assume that's what we'll fight. Izuku said, analyzing the situation. Are you even listening to me? Mina yelled, if that's the case, they must have known what was inside the USJ before they came in. Tsuyu said, yeah, but for a group with such careful planning, there's something that sticks out to me, something that doesn't add up. They sent me a new Isu. Izuku cuts himself off when Tsu glanced at him when he was about to address her by her family name. Whoops, I meant Tsu. Izuku corrected himself as Tsu looks at him. WW, what do you mean by TT that? The mushroom girl asked. I mean that they sent Tsu here who has a clear advantage on water. Well, I'm a wildcard here. In fact, I don't think that they know what our quirks are. Izuku said as Tsu realizes the fact. You've got a point, Kiro. If they knew that I was a frog, they would have sent me into the fire zone instead of here where there's water. Tsu said while looked at a dome with flames drawn on it. They probably sent us in different zones since they don't know our powers and plan to overpower us in numbers since they think we're easy targets since we're kids. We can use that knowledge to our advantage here. They don't know what our quirks are. To them, we could be the most powerful in the facility, Izuku said as the villains glare at them. Look, see. None of them are trying to climb into the boat. That proves that they're a little unsure. But that means that they aren't going to underestimate us either. They're being smart and playing it safe. For now, that is. Izuku said, so, let's talk quirks. I'll go first if you want. Tsu said as the four sit down and look at each other. My quirk makes me jump pretty high, obviously, and cling to pretty much anything. I can shoot out my tongue like any old frog, but my limit is about 20 meters. Oh yeah, I can spit out my stomach so I can clean it. It's pretty useless though. And I secrete a toxic mucus. It just strings a bit. Tsu finished her explanation of her quirk as Mina blushes at the mention of secrete. We can probably use my tongue and jumping in this one, so forget about the last things. Tsu said, wow, I knew that you were strong, but that's amazing. Izuku said, amazed by Tsu's quirk. The frog girl blushes a bit. My turn. Izuku said as he rolls his sleeve and reveals the watch to them. My quirk, unstable genetics, it comes in two parts. One allows me to transform into different forms, or aliens as I like to call them, with each of their own special quirk. With the use of this watch, which acts like a support item, it separates and manipulates my DNA so I can change. There's a time limit on it, so I can't stay in one form of long. There's also this power-up I have. Basically it changes and powers up and form to great heights, but it comes with a cost. It acts like a double-edged sword. I can't use it for long and it'll hurt to the point where I change back to normal. I haven't used it in human form yet, but I think it'll hurt me the same way. Izuku said, my turn. The mushroom girl said nervously, my name I is Kinoko Komori and my quirk is mushroom. The girl now named Komori said, my quirk allows me TTT to spread various types of fungus SSS spores from my body. She said as she activates it and a bunch of mushrooms started growing on the wall of the ship. The spores will quickly grow into full-grown mushrooms. Once they make contact with a solid surface, the mushroom CCC can grow from 5 to 5 to 5 various surfaces, including my SSSS surroundings, my own body, and even an OOO opponent's body. They only last for 2-3 hours and the spores spread better in a humid environment. Please take care of me. Kinoko yelled. Mina took a ball from his hair and a new one quickly came in the place of the old one. I've got these sticky that grow from my head, Mina said as he puts the one in his hand to the wall next to the mushrooms and it stick there. Their strength varies, depending on how I'm feeling. They might stick to something the whole day. They grow back as fast as I pull them off, but my head will bleed if I pull too many. Oh, and they don't stick to me. I just bounce right off. Mina finished his quirk explanation as the other 3 teens look at him until he started crying. Don't look at me like that. This is why I said we should wait of the real heroes. My quirk is totally unfit of battle, Mina said as the 3 sweat drop. No, I'm just surprised by your quirk, man. Izuku said why yeah. Komori said yup. Sue said suddenly a hand made out of water appeared and cut through the boat, cutting it in half. The teens grabbed onto something as the ship was shaking and started to sink. That's a great power. And the ship's sinking. Sue pointed out the obvious as Minta ran to the side and started to throw his at the villains. Minta, don't freak out. Izuku yelled at the shorter boy while he threw the oh no man, they'll guess you're. Izuku cut himself off when he saw that the villains were moving away from the floating ball there, afraid to touch them. Izuku thought as an idea came to him, that's it. We're die. Fish food, Minta said as he was freaking out. Sue looked at him and had a question in her mind. So Minta, are you sure that the hero thing is right for you? Sue asked. Shut up. Is it weird to be scared or not? I mean, we just got out of JR High a little while ago. I didn't think I'd be facing death just after starting UA. I can't believe that I'm going to die without touching Yaoyorozu's boobs. Mina yelled as Izuku was set off from that. Listen here. No one's going to die. An enemy that is such that victory is theirs is bound to make a big mistake. All Might said that in a TV interview once. Izuku said as Mina saw his hands were shaking and their mistake was sending me here. Izuku said as he was to walk to the side of the ship. Kinoko was having an anxiety attack. Can I do this? Can I really use my quirk to stop the villain? No, I'll just mess things up like I always do. Just like in JR High. Kinoko thought as she remembers the slander she got for her quirk in JR High. Hey, Komori. Kinoko looked up and saw Izuku looking at her. I know you're scared, but don't be. I know you can do this. I believe in you, Izuku said with a smile. As Kinoko looked at him as her eyes were revealed as the wind blew by. They were wide and rather cat-like, tilted inwards with rather long lower eyelashes, and her irises were warm brown color. Kinoko's pupils were little black crosses, both together highly resembling the caps of cross-sliced shiitake mushrooms. Sue, you know what to do, Izuku said as Sue nodded. Good. Izuku said as he stomps onto the railing on the ship. Rahhhh. He roared as he jumps off the boat. Stupid move, kid. One of the villains said confidently, thinking Izuku's dead meat. Insert music. My Hero Academia asked, you say run, come on, think. I can't use the Omnitrix now, not yet. Not until the rest are off the boat, that is. And even if I use a smash, I can't get them when they're in a circle like that. Plus, there's other enemies outside the space wreck zone. I can't sacrifice my arm just yet or go alien since it'll waste my time. Not yet, and this'll be the first time I use OFA in human form. I have to time this right, Izuku thought as he places his left middle finger to his left thumb as red-like veins appeared. Back onto the sinking ship, Sue had Minta and Kinoko on her as she was about to jump. Ready, you two? Sue asked while waiting for Izuku's call. How does he do it? He's scared like me, Minta thought, and he's shaking. Kinoko thought, but Kinoko remembered what he said to her. I know you're scared, but don't be. I know you can do this. I believe in you. He's going through. With this, Izuku positioned himself as he was about to hit the water. Take this. Delaware Smash. Izuku called out his new move as he flicks his fingers and a huge burst of wind hit the water and caused a whirlpool to and the villains to get into it. Izuku held his injured fingers and turned to the boat as he felt Sue. Minta, Kinoko. Now, Izuku yelled as he places his right fingers onto the Omnitrix's faceplate. Sue jumped into the air with her passengers as Minta and Kinoko looked at the force of Izuku's attack. What the heck, Midoriya? How do you do it? Minta thought. Midoriya. How do you do it? Kinoko thought. You look so cool while I'm doing nothing but no more. You're scared but you push your fear down to act. Something I haven't been doing. The two thought as Minta placed his hand on his ball hair and Kinoko took out 2 spray bottles. Ahhh. Take this, you villains. Eat my sticky. Minta yelled as he threw his at the whirlpool. Ah, have some mushy mushrooms. Kinoko yelled as she sprayed her bottles at Minta's. It caused mushrooms to grow off them and started to follow with the villains as they were getting dragged into the whirlpool. The stuck onto the villains as the mushrooms spread from them and onto the villains as the purple stuck them together. And the water shot up like a geyser. Izuku fell into the water and a green flash appeared under the water as something shot out of it in great speeds, and took Tsuyu and Ko, who were still in the air if a strong force is applied onto a water's surface. The water will be pushed away and then come rushing right back to the middle. A voice said, we rounded them all up. Not too shabby. You guys are amazing. All 3 for you. And thanks for the lift, Midori-chan. Sue said as she looks up to a face. This figure was a red, humanoid manta ray-like alien with green eyes, black outlines on his face, yellow horns extending from his nose. He had gills underneath his arms and a yellow patega which he was using to fly, and 2 black lightning bolt-like stripes coming down from his shoulders to the watch's symbol was on his chest. No problem, Sue, Izuku said, as he felt his fingers were broken as Mainta's head was bleeding and Kanoko was crying. Izuku flew over the water and straight to the stairs. They had passed the shipwreck zone and music somewhere else, a screen showing a green dot where the USJ is. Zoa Nitlam waxes Funaxan Divixeto. One figure said as 3 were standing outside UA on a hill. Yeah, I heard. Another one said, you 2 better not get in my way. One more said as he throws a board to the ground and jumped on it and started flying there. Just, that guy is starting to me off. The second one said as his legs started spinning and he went into the ground as the first one just blasted off into the air. Their destination ... is the USJ itself, and they have a job to do. Izuku landed near the shore of the shipwreck zone and placed Tsuyu, Mainta and Kanoko down into the water. Haha, I took a great dump this morning. They won't be leaving anytime soon, Mainta said as he saw what they did to them. And those mushrooms are highly hallucinogenic. One smell from them and they'll be out for 6 to 10 hours. Kanoko said, can't believe we got them in one go. It took everything I had to keep my composure. It was such a gamble. What if they had reserves underwater that we didn't know about? Mutter. Izuku was muttering at a fast rate as it creeped Tsuyu out, scared Kanoko, and made Mainta look at him. You're creeping me out. Please stop, Tsu said when caused Izuku to stop and get out of his world. Tsu turns to him as everyone stopped walking in the water instead of second-guessing in what we did. Hasn't we think about our next move? Tsu asked. Oh, right, you're totally right, Izuku said before he slams on the Omnitrix faceplate on his chest and changes back to himself. There, that'll save me time, Izuku thought before he felt a sharp pain. He grabs onto his left arm and saw that his fingers that were used of the Delaware smash were broken. Midoriya, are you alright? Kanoko asked, concerned for Izuku. Yeah, just fine, Izuku said before he went to his utility belt and took out bandages. I came prepared, Izuku said as he started to apply the bandages on his fingers. There, we didn't have to worry about that for now. We should get help now. If we go along the shoreline to the exit, we'll avoid the central plaza entirely, Izuku said while pointing to the entrance. Good idea. That way, we'll avoid the villains that Mr. Aizawa and Mr. Vlad are facing off there, Tsuyu said as the 4 looked to the fountain area and see a villain flying in the air and an explosion while hearing screams and shouting. Yeah, but ... can they handle them on their own? How long can they hold on against a big group like that? Izuku thought before ... an idea pops in his head. If they didn't just back up, that they'll overexert themselves. They'll end up defeated by those villains by trying to keep us safe, Izuku said as the 3 realized what he was trying to do. What ... Don't tell that you're suggesting that, Mainta said as Izuku nodded his head. Are you trying to get us all killed or something? Mainta asked. Look, I'm not saying we should jump into the middle of a battle, but maybe we could take a few of those guys out and lighten their load up for them, Izuku said as the 3 looked at him before looking at each other as the girls quickly nodded while Mainta was shaking. They slowly went to the fountain area to help their teachers out. Landside zone, so the plan was to scatter us and kill us, Todoroki said while breathing out frost from his mouth. You were way unprepared, Todoroki said as he froze all the villains that were there to kill him and some of the others that came with him. In fact, I think you haven't had training. You haven't the slightest on how to use your quirks, Todoroki said as he started to walk to one of the villains. The villains were speechless at the power Todoroki showed the minute they came there. He ignored them as he started to remember what one of the villains that was standing at the fountain said about the absence of All Might. Where is he? I went through the trouble in bringing so many friends that were eager to meet him. How do they plan on killing All Might? At first, I thought that they gathered a force of elite criminals who could simply overpower him, Todoroki thought as a Rouge villain runs to him, wielding a knife, but ice starts spreading from his right leg and he dodges a spike aiming at his head as he freezes the spike and its user and the running villain in one go. But that can't be their plan. And why do I feel like something more sinister is coming? Todoroki thought as he felt a more ... evil presence nearby but couldn't pin as to where that evil is. He shook his head when he remembered what was going on. Most of these villains are low-level thugs. Just pawns, Todoroki thought as he took the spike that the frozen villain behind him tried to use to kill him, causing the villain that used it to fall to the ground. From what I can tell, there are only 4 or 5 truly dangerous people here. If that's the case, what we need is more information right now, Todoroki thought as he turns to the frozen villain in front of him. Listen well. Your cells will slowly die as your bodies overcomes to frostbite and hypothermia. Luckily of you, I won't become a hero, not a killer. So I'd like to avoid unnecessary deaths. I need information. Why have you come to kill All Might? Todoroki asked, coldly. Mountain zone. In the mountain zone. Kaminari was screaming as he narrowly ducks from a punch from a villain and starts running away. Insert music. My Hero Academia Ost, Sento Kunran. These dudes are terrifying. My whole life flashed in front of my eyes. I think I saw the Grim Reaper. What's going on? Kaminari asked as he ran back to Momo, Jiru and two girls from Class B as they fight off the villains. Could you maybe take it down a few notches? Jiru asked, annoyed by Kaminari's screaming right now. We need to focus on getting away from these amines. Momo said right. One girl from Class B said with no emotion in her tone. She had chin-length, pale gray hair, parted to the right, hanging down over her eye and obscuring the majority of the left side of her face. She had dark bags under her blue eyes, and a small mouth with full lips. Her hands were held up high to where her elbows, with her hands draped down, this gesture being somewhat connotative of a ghost. Her hero costume consisted of a white, knee-length kimono with a furred collar, 3 dark straps around her waist, knee-high socks, and a black mask that covers her face from the bridge of her nose down. Why right? Another girl said in a broken Japanese accent. She was a short girl with a round face and a short equine muzzle. Her face was framed by thick, wavy blonde hair which reaches halfway down her back, some shorter bangs hanging down her forehead. Her eyes were large and round, Prussian blue in color, and she had a pair of tall, lyre-shaped pale tan horns on her head. Her calves were notably rounded, shaped similarly to those of a horse, and she had brown hooves for feet, and a short horse tail poking out from the end of her tailbone. Her costume was horse-themed, matching her appearance and quirk. She was wearing a horse halter around her head with a lead rope dangling from the back, and her outfit resembled a jockey uniform, consisting of an orange skin-tight shirt with paler markings around her chest and stomach, with matching colored pants, along with a pair of fingerless gloves. She wore belts secured around her collarbone, biceps, and lower torso, and boots that not only guard her hooves but also have stirrups attached on either side. That hurry up and pull out a weapon out for me too. Kaminari asked as he saw that Jiru had a sword, Momo had a metal bow staff, and the two girls had swords just like Jiru's. You're the one with electrical powers. Just zap them so we can run. Jiru pointed out, were you not paying attention during combat training yesterday? I can only cover my body with electricity, but if I try to shoot it out, it'll go everywhere and start zapping everyone, including you guys. Kaminari explained, plus, I can't even call in some help. They're still jamming the radios. So, I'm counting on the 4 of you. I'm no help in this situation. You guys gotta get us out of here, please. Kaminari said, you're a real damsel in distress, aren't you? Jiru said with sarcasm in her tone. Kaminari looked at her before he dodged another punch from the same guy before. He jumped back but Jiru kicked him in his back, causing him to go forward to the villain. Fine. Then I'll use you as a human stun gun. Jiru yelled seriously. Kaminari yelled as the villain grabbed him, but Kaminari's quirks activates and shocks the villain, but he was fine. Oh wait. I'm super strong. You 4 can count on me to save you. Kaminari said to the girls as they look at him. What an idiot. All 4 of them thought. Jiru notices that some are changing towards them, so she uses one of her earphone jacks and connects to her boot as a beat booms through her shoes, causing the villain's attack to crumble from the sound wave and punch Kaminari in the face, and causing the electricity to surge from the villain's fist to his body. A villain jumped over the 3 electrics as he wielded knives, but Momo quickly created a net and threw it to the villain as 2 horns hit him in the face, and he falls right where Kaminari and the other guys were, and his 2 was shocked with electricity. Nice. The blonde girl said as her horns were missing but new ones were growing at alarming rate. Pony Tsunotori. Quirk, horn cannon. Her gives her a pair of horns on her head. She is able to launch her horns as projectiles, and a new set will grow back almost immediately. She can remotely control up to 4 of them at a time. Nice shoot, Tsunotori. Jiru yelled to the girl as Pony turned to her and, looked confused by what she said. She's also an American foreign exchange student like Lucy, but her use and understanding to Japanese is limited to a few words. So, sometimes she can't understand things well. You're lucky that worked out so well. Momo said as she gets back into her fighting stance. I'm sorry, maybe I'll ask next time. I'll ask before saving our butts. Jiru said as she connects her earphone jacks to her boots and lets a beat out again, but this time louder and wider. Kyoka Jiru. Quirk, earphone jack. Her quirk gives her a pair of headphone jacks hanging from her earlobes. When the jacks are plugged into something, Kyoka can channel the sound of her heartbeat into it in the form of a violent vibration attack. She can stretch her earlobes several meters. Her quirk also allows her to hear minuscule sounds and vibrations from her surroundings. The drawback, she has sensitive hearing, so loud sounds hurt her ears badly. She blasts her beat as the villains cover their ears from the sound wave. Damn it, Kaminari. You couldn't have asked of some kind of aiming gear when you were applying of your costume request form. I mean, come on. Gyro yelled, clearly mad by the blonde lighting-streaked boy's stupidity. One villain that stood over them jumped down and went for Gyro to cut her when he stopped in mid-air. I don't think so. A cold and emotionless voice said as the villain was thrown to the other side. That was close. The gray-haired girl said while Ryuko Yanagi. Quirk, poltergeist. Her quirk allows her to telekinetically control nearby objects. The weight limit of her quirk is roughly the weight of the average human. It's ready. Momo yelled as she ran to the middle where Gyro, Pony, and Ryuko were standing. What's ready? Gyro asked. It takes me a little longer. Momo started saying as her back was getting bigger and her costume was tearing from the strain before it gave out, and a big white blanket came from her back. To make an object this big, Momo finished as the blanket fell over the four girls. A blanket. Is that supposed to be a shield? The villain started to question Momo's creation, but the rich girl popped her head out of the blanket and smirked at them. Actually, it's a sheet of insulation, 100 millimeters thick. Go Kaminari, Momo said before she closed the sheet complexly, and Kaminari smirked, now realizing what that meant. Bad Yao Momo. Now I don't have to worry about hurting my friends. Phew, guys are fried. Kaminari yelled as his quirk activated and shocked everyone there. After the shocking was over, everything there was came in. The electric blast was burnt and smoking. The sheet suffered too, but the occupants were fine. Momo opened the sheet from under it and looked around to see that every villain was fried. End music now then. I'm worried about the others. We should find them right away, Momo said. Jiru, looking a little overexposed right now, Jiru said with a big blush as the other two were blushing as well. Momo looked down to herself and saw that ... due to the sheet coming out, it caused the front of her costume to rip and show her bosom for all to see. Oh it's fine. I can make some new clothes, Momo said causally. Momo Yaoyorozu. Quirk, creation. Apart from living things, she can replicate virtually any object, no matter how complex or advanced its structure may be. She only has to understand the atomic configuration of said object in order to reproduce it. Yaoyorozu is so punk rock. Jiru thought from how the rich girl was handling things. Jiru heard footsteps and saw that Kaminari was coming to them. Kaminari, don't you dare look, Jiru yelled as she throws herself onto Momo to act as a shield from Kaminari. But he just walked by. They looked out the sheet to see that he ... was different, as he had a happy face on him with 2 thumbs up. Denki Kaminari. Quirk, electrification. His quirk allows him to generate electricity and cover his body in it. While he can also emit this energy over a distance, Denki has little to no control over it. But if he goes over his wattage limit, it causes his brain to short circuit, leaving him in a vulnerable state for 1 hour. It turns him into a bigger idiot than he is, listening to his babbling. Yay, yay, dumb, Kaminari yelled out while walking in circles as Jiru started laughing. The others look at him as a hand shoots out of the ground. Shoreline. Main Plaza, USJ. Remember Midoriya? We're just here to see how are things going. Alright, Mina said as the team of Izuku, Su, Minta and Kanoko arrived to the shoreline at the plaza where their teachers were fighting. Ribbit. Su croaked quietly. Why, yeah. Kanoko said quietly, yeah, I know. We'll get out of here as soon. Things seems dangerous, Izuku said. The four peeked over the land to see what was going on. They saw bodies on the ground as they heard punches landing onto flesh, and 2 villains were sent flying to the ground. Aizawa jumped over 2 more villains and wrapped them with his capture tape and pulled them into the air. He redirects himself and heads down to where the villains were heading and kicked them to the ground, knocked them out. Vlad King, who was looking a bit, was punching a villain to the ground with fists made out of his. Aizawa lands near Vlad as the 2 pros were in, sweating from all the fighting. Aizawa's hair drops as he noticed the hand guy villain was charging to him. Vlad, go and take care of the last ones. I got this one, Aizawa said as Vlad nodded. Right, Vlad yelled as left Aizawa to finish the last ones off first. It was 23 seconds. The hand guy said. The final boss, Aizawa yelled as he throws his capture tape at him. Then it was 24 seconds. The HG said while catching Aizawa's tape. Then 20. Aizawa charges forward to intercept the villain. Then 17. HG said as Aizawa was in front of him and grabs the tape that HG was holding as he threw an elbow to the hand villain's abdomen. The 4 were happy that one of their teachers threw a decent blow to the main villain. But that happiness was cut short as they saw that the hand guy was holding Aizawa's elbow as his hair fell down. It was to see while you were jumping around. But I found your tail, it's your hair. The hand guy said as Aizawa's bloodshot eyes widen under the goggles in shock. When it drops, that means you've stopped using your quirk. The elbow that the hand guy was holding started to turn gray and dry as Aizawa hisses in discomfort. You're having to blink more often. Don't push yourself too now. You might fall apart now. The hand guy says as the kids watched as Aizawa's elbow starts to fall apart as the skin disintegrates while the muscle fiber under it is exposed. Vlad appears and punches the villain off Aizawa as the 2 pros jump back to regroup. Eraser, you alright? Vlad asked his friend. I'm fine, Aizawa said as 2 villain jumped them. Vlad made a staff out of and started to fight the villains off while Aizawa just kicked some away. But when they defeated some more pop up and the 2 were starting to suffer from the overuse of their quirks. Those annoying quirks of yours aren't suited to fight off big groups like this. Didn't you think that you 2 are out of your elements? You work so much better when you work in alone battles, Eraserhead. And you, Vlad King, you work better in short fights since you'll lose more and get weaker as a fight goes longer. But despite knowing all that, you 2 still jumped into the middle of things and to put your students at ease. The hand guy said as another villain attempted to cut the 2 heroes, but Aizawa jumped and dodged the attack and Vlad used his staff to whack the villain's head. Aizawa used his capture tape and started to capture a villain and used their body as a shield from an attack and kicked the attacker away, as another was going to jump Aizawa from behind, but he saw him and kicked him away. The 2 were getting tired and weak, but they knew that their job wasn't over. They turned to the hands guy with quirks and weapons drawn. And look at you 2. You're still standing. You 2 are really so cool. Oh, and one more thing, heroes, the villain says as Aizawa heard Crunch, a sickly noise of bones breaking as Aizawa turned to his left and saw that Vlad's head was implanted into the concrete with his arms broken and bent in an unnatural way and leaking from his body. Hovering over Vlad's body was the huge guy, a large, black humanoid monster with a very muscular body that has many scars on it. His brain was exposed on the top of his head, while his large eyes were around it. He has a beak-like mouth with an array of sharp teeth. He was only wearing a pair of beige pants and metal knee pads designed to emulate skulls. His feet and torso were left bare. "I am not the final boss," the villain said as the huge guy brought his hand to Aizawa's head and bleed splatter all over the ground as one of Aizawa's goggle lenses flew in the air. The students in the water were in shock as they watched their teachers' bodies get destroyed and broken. Kinoko had her hands to her mouth as tears were falling down her face while Tsu had tears in her eyes. Mina was shaking in fear and as of Izuku. He felt sick he felt useless. No, at the USJ entrance black hole. The quirk that sucks up matter and turns it into dust. Such an amazing power. However, you're a rescue hero 13, skilled in saving people in disasters. But fortunately, that means you have zero fighting experience and battlefield awareness, the mist villain said as he opens a portal on himself and the effect of black hole go into the portal. Another portal opens behind 13 and the effect of her quirk start to affect her. Her suit and some parts of her body were being pulling into the portal as the mist villain's eyes go a bit narrow, which could tell us that he was smirking. How unfortunate. It seems that you've turned yourself into dust, the villain said as everyone on the stairs watched as 13's body gets ripped into spreads. The from 13's quirk stopped when she started to fall forwards. I'm sorry but he got me 13 could only weakly say as she fell to the ground. 13. Achako yelled, seeing her teacher was down. Sato turns to Ida, go. Get out of here. Go now. Sato said. Ida was stunned and speechless, as he didn't know what to do as he remembers the words 13 said to him. He grits his teeth while his engines roar to life. He shoots off and runs past the villain, a sheep trying to escape from the wolves. I simply cannot allow that, the villain said as HR warps in front of Ida. If other heroes arrive, it'll be harder for us to put an end onto All Might, the villain said as Ida puts the brakes on himself as he was close to being warped. This responsibility so entrusted to me by my friend, classmates, class rep, fellow students. I'll keep you safe. Ida thought. He thought that he was done for when Shoji jumped over him and grabbed the villain. Run. I got him. Just go. Shoji yelled as Ida started running again. I'll be back. Just hold on everyone. Ida thought. You suborned child. The warp villain yelled as he went after Ida. Achako and Lucy saw something metal inside the warp villain. They turned to each other and nodded. I'm close. But what if it's locked? Could I pry them open in time? Ida thought as the villain hovered over him. I don't have time for this. Be gone. The warp villain yelled as he started to use the same move that made most of the students go into different places. Collapse zone in a city that looked like it was destroyed. An explosion went off in one of the buildings. Two villains in a room charged at Bakugo, who turned to them. Just die already. Bakugo as his hand lit up and ignited an explosion to hit the villains and caused them to hit a wall. Kirishima with his quirk activated and Testu, who had iron all over his body, were fighting a single villain that was wielding a sword. The villain swung the sword to Testu, who could only block as the sword scatter on impact with Testu's arm. When the sword broke, Kirishima capitalized on that and chopped the villain's neck, knocking him out. Oase, who was walking back to the three as he left three villains wielded into the wall with piles on them. Man, that was easy. Testu said as he deactivated his quirk. Yeah man, I think that should be the last of them. Kirishima said as he too deactivated his quirk. They were just a bunch of weak pussies. Bakugo said as his left hand was smoking from his quirk. So, what are we going to do now? Oase asked. Well, if we're still in the USJ, then the rest of our classes are still here too. I'd say we should hurry up and find them. Not all of them have the offensive power like we do. Kirishima said. Good point. Testu said, seeing the logic behind Kirishima's words. Yeah, we gotta go and help them. We're the ones who screwed things up earlier. We gotta do thing. Kirishima said as the Testu and Oase nodded. Bakugo just snorted. Whatever, you guys can do rescue all you like. But I'm going after that guy in Warpy. Bakugo said as he started to walk out of the room. What? Are you serious? Our attacks didn't leave a scratch on that guy and now you wanna go after him? Are you an idiot or what? Testu asked as Bakugo got set off with what Testu said. Shut up. I'm gonna take him out since I want to and he's their way in and out. Bakugo shouted. Well, how are you going to do that? Last time I checked, your explosions did nothing. To that guy, Testu shouted. I'll figure something out. That. Bakugo yelled. Guys, we should focus on AGH. Oase was trying to be the peacemaker when he was hit in the stomach by something strong. What the? Oase, AGH. Testu yelled after seeing one of his classmates on the ground, but before he could get to him, he was punched in the face by a fist with metal on it. Whoa, another villain. Kirishima asked. I don't know, but he's gonna die when I get my hands on him. Bakugo yelled as the two went back to back and started looking around the room of any sign of the villain. Something fell to the something and Bakugo shot out an explosion to it. Die. Bakugo yelled as the explosion covered the room in black smoke. As the smoke started to clear, the boys saw a can of oil roll to them. It's just shitty can, get anything weird hair? Bakugo asked, but no reply. Weird hair. Bakugo called out Kirishima, but still nothing except, well, who would have thought that I'd see you here after so long? A voice said from behind Bakugo as Bakugo turned around, but was met with a metal fist, and a hand touched him. He could feel something drain from him as he rolled on the ground and faced forward to see one person standing next to Kirishima's fallen body. Man, I miss doing this, the person said as his hands were popping with explosions. Bakugo looked at the person's face and he went wide-eyed. The reason behind it is that this person was one of his childhood friend with Izuku. He is one of 2 people that has beaten him in combat, with Izuku being second, and he was the last person Bakugo thought he would ever see again. The person smirked at Bakugo. Hey Bakugo, long time, no see. How about we finish what we started back then? The person said as his hands were glowing with heat. Bakugo stood up and glared at the person with hate. The same kind he had with Izuku. But worse. His hands were popping with mini explosions as Bakugo could only say one word with venom in his tone. Levin. Back at the USJ entrance, Ida was running to the entrance as the villain hovered over him. I don't have time for this. Be gone. The warp villain yelled as he started to use the same move that made most of the students go into different places. But as the warp villain was about to, he felt lighter than a minute ago, which made him float in the air and Ida to escape the villain's warp. The 2 turned to see Uraraka holding something inside the warp villain with Lucy's arm, which was bigger. Also holding the villain. I don't know what his quirk is, but he has some type of armor on him, which means Uraraka said he's got a body somewhere in him. Lucy finished as she picked the villain up and threw him into the air. Run, Ada. Go and get help, Zero shouted. Ada continued to run to the door when he saw that there was a hole on the metal door of the entrance as it was steaming and some parts of it was melting. Go. Ada turned and saw that Mina was, and her hands were smoking as they looked burned from the darker shade of pink on them. Run, Ada, and get help, Mina yelled as she fell to her knees and hissed in pain from her burnt hands. Thank you, Ada thought as he hurried to the hole. I've got you, the villain shouted as he flies to Ada. I didn't think so, Zero yelled as he shoots a roll of tape at the villain's armor, getting a hold on him. Man, Sato, Kendo, throw this guy away, Zero yelled when he cut the tape of, and the 3 grabbed it. They started spinning around to build momentum and speed for the toss. Now go, they yelled as they let go for the tape, and the villain floats away from them to see that Ada jumped through the hole and got out of the USJ. It's over shoreline. Main Plaza, USJ. Aizawa was on the ground with the hulking giant on top of him as it was holding his right arm, but it was twisting it in the wrong way. The beast started to hold it tightly as Aizawa was feeling all it until his arm went limp as he screams when a loud sickly crack was made. Aizawa screamed with flowing down on his now broken arm. You can erase people's quirks. That's irritating but nothing impressive if you ask me. When faced with true devastating power, you might as well be a quirkless child, the hand villain said with a chuckle as Aizawa fought through the pain and turned his head to the beast as his eyes glowed red while his hair went up. The beast just smashes his other arm to the ground, which left a fist-sized crater as Aizawa's left arm twitched a bit before going limp as well like its partner. He's breaking my bones like they were twigs. I'm positive that I erased his quirk. Does that mean he just is strong without it? Aizawa thought before the beast grabbed his head and lifted it. I think that he's as strong as All Might. That was the last thing Aizawa thought before the beast slammed his head into the ground, leaving a crater on the concrete. The students watched in horror to see this beast effortlessly defeat 2 pros in less than 2 minutes. No, I can't watch this anymore. Should we be getting out of here super fast? Mintia asked while holding his hands to his mouth. Ribbit. Sue could only croak please and no more, Kanoko said while tears fell from her covered eyes. Izuku didn't say anything as he was watching the bodies of his teachers, no moving and grabbing hold of the Omnitrix. Just then, 2 purple portals opened up next to the handy villain as the teen with black hair came out while looking a bit burned up, and the warp villain next. So, Shigaraki, you done here? The teen asked Kevin. Did you get new ones to use? The handy villain now named Shigaraki asked the teen now called Kevin. Nah, most didn't fit my style, but I got this new one, Kevin said as his arm went as the sleeve tore off from the force weight. Is Kirishima's quirk, Izuku thought, seeing the similarity of Kirishima's quirk on the teen. And I got an old one from someone I thought I'd never see again, Kevin said as his arm turns back to normal and explosions from his hands. Izuku and the others in his class were in shock as that Kaken's quirk. That's impossible, the quirk can't be taken. Unless. He copied it. But no one has that type of quirk. The only person I knew that can do that is. Izuku stopped himself when he looked at the teen and saw a familiar face. No. Don't tell me. Kevin. Is that you? Izuku thought. Good, that's all I need. And you Kurogiri, did you manage to kill 13? Jiraki asked. The rescue hero is out of commission. but there were students that I wasn't able to disperse. One of them got outside of the facility. The warp villain now called Kirigiri said ha. Shigaraki only uttered out and stood in a pause for a few seconds before going to his neck and started scratching it quite violently. Kirigiri ... you fool ... if you weren't our warp gate, I'd tear apart every last atom in your body. Shigaraki said as he scratched his neck before suddenly stopping and lowering his hands. There's no way we can win now if dozens of pros show up to stop us. It's game over. Back to the title screen. And I was looking forward to finishing this today. Let's just go home. Shigaraki said as the students heard the conversion. Did I hear that right? Did he just say that they're going to leave? Mina asked. That's what it sounded like to me. Sue said as Mina started crying tears of joy and pounced onto Sue's body. Yes. That's amazing. We're safe and we don't have to fight. Mina cheered quietly while hugging Sue's body. Why yeah ... but ... Sue could say as she felt Mina's hand on one of her, and that caused her to blush and push him down into the water. I have a bad feeling about this, Midori-chan. Midori-chan? Sue asked as she saw Izuku's face. In a trance of shock, Midoriya. Kinoko worried, shook Izuku, snapping him out of his trance. Huh? What? Izuku uttered in confusion. Are you okay, Midoriya? Kinoko asked. Oh, yeah, I'm fine. Izuku said as he watched Kevin. What happened to you, Kevin? Oh, before we leave, let's make sure that the symbol of peace is broken. Jiraki said as he turns to the students in the water and sees them. Let's wreck his pride. Shigaraki said as he disappears and reappears in front of the students. Let's make this hurt. Shigaraki said while moving his hand to Sue's face. Izuku turned slowly as the world went in slow motion. As Shigaraki's hand slowly head towards Sue's face and the images from what the villain's Quirk did to Mr. Aizawa's elbow flashed in his head before images for what could happen in a second as an image of Sue turning into dust started to appear in his head. Shigaraki placed his hand over Tsu's face and all was silent as nothing happened. Shigaraki knew what was going on. You really are so cool. Eraserhead, Shigaraki said while looking over his shoulder to see that Aizawa was still awake and his quirk was activated while flowed down his face, canceling Shigaraki's quirk. The beast raised Aizawa's head one more time before smashing it into the concrete again. Izuku leaped out of the water with his fist raised. This guy's clearly different from the ones we fought earlier. I gotta save Asui, Komori and Mintia and get out of here. Izuku thought you let her go. Now Izuku yelled. Smash. Izuku yelled the move in his head as the wind force from the punch pushed everything out of place and destroyed the lights. While Izuku was catching his breath, he noticed that my arm ... it's nothing broken. I can't believe it. After all that training and time, now's the time I'm able to get a good smash in. Alright, Izuku thought as he looked up and saw that the beast from earlier that took out Aizawa and Vlad King was standing in front of him and he took the punch. Where's he come from? Izuku thought before looking at where his fist is and saw that the beast was fine. Wait, hold on ... it didn't ... hurt him. Izuku thought before remembering what Sue said earlier. If the villain spent so much time planning this attack, then they probably figured out a way to kill him. No ... in a way. You're pretty strong. This smash of yours. Are you one of All Might's disciples? Shigaraki asked as Izuku froze. It doesn't matter. I'm done with you now. Kill him, Namu. Shigaraka said as he grabbed onto Izuku's left arm with his giant hand and threw him very high. No. Izuku yelled as he was in the air. Everyone that was outside in the plaza saw a figure fly in the air, and they could. It was Izuku falling to his death. Momo looked up and her eyes shrank at the sight of Izuku falling of the height. No. Lucy, Mina and Ochako heard someone screaming over them as they looked up and saw Izuku falling. No. Izuku was falling down to the ground fast. He went to the Omnitrix to see it was sparking lighting around. Please turn me into something that'll help me survive the fall and save my friends. Izuku begged to the watch as he tried to activate it, but it wasn't working. He kept trying to get it to work, but it refused to as the world around him slowed down. Ba-dump. Shigaraki was stretching his hands to the two frightened girls. Ba-dump. The Namu was lifting its hand over Minter ready to smash his head. Ba-dump. Aizawa and Vlad King were out on the floor. Ba-dump. Everyone watched as Izuku fell. Ba-dump. Izuku closed his eyes, accepting that his death was close. Ba-dump. Beep. Izuku opened his eyes when he heard the watch beep. He looked down to see that the watch's button was out. He saw that he was close to splatting onto the concrete, so he slams onto the button and is consumed into the green light and crashes into the floor. Crash. That's the sound that was heard throughout the USJ. Everyone saw the green light, but it hit the ground. Momo felt her heart break there and then. She knew what just hit the ground. Izuku ... no ... Momo could feel tears build up in her eyes. Well ... he's dead. Maybe that'll break the symbol of, but just to be safe. Namu, let's finish this. Shigaraki said as Namu screeched as it was about to kill Mina when a blast of fire hit its hand. It hissed in pain from the heat as it jumps from the fire. Insert music. My Hero Academia asked. Boku no Hero Academia. Everyone turned to see a stream of fire around where Izuku landed with smoke and dust covering the area. The smoke starts to cover as a figure in green light starts to walk out of the smoke. He had a large mane made of fire on his head and had fire coming off his hands. Izuku turned into Heat Blast, but ... he was different. Heat Blast was bulkier, had a larger head with a thinner neck. He was sporting 2 miniature volcanoes on his shoulders. The fire around his head is larger, and the 2 biggest differences. 1. The charcoal on his body was dark green, and the second difference of him was that his fire and magma line were vibrate green thanks to you. I'm mad, Izuku said in his heat blast as he got into a stance. Now, I'm all fired now. Heat blast yelled as the fire around him soared as the heat was getting intense. End music. Insert music. Fairy tale lost. Dragon force. Huh. You still alive, and it looks like you had a power-up and an extra life. Doesn't matter to me. Namu ... Kill him, Shigaraki said as Namu ran to Izuku at blazing speeds as Heat Blast shot out 2 columns of green fire from his hands, and they just went through the beast's chest. The hole that the blasts left on Namu's chest was smoking and sizzling. Down in 1 hit, Heat Blast said, but stopped when he saw that the hole started to close up and Namu was fine. He notices that the arm he burned earlier was fine as well with the ... But how? He should have burnt Bug by now. What's going on? Heat Blast said as Shigaraki started to laugh. Ha, you think that Namu would go down like that? Please, he was bioengineered to fight All Might at 100%. He's got super strength, hyper regeneration, and shock absorption. He's the Anet symbol of peace. And you think you can take him on? Please, Shigaraki said. Not good. He's built to kill All Might. What am I going to do? Izuku thought as Namu charged towards him, but before he could hit the fire alien, a stream of ice started to cover his right side, causing him to stop. Die. The 3 villains turned around to see Bakugo and Kirishima coming to them. Kevin and Shigaraki jump and dodge the surprise attack, but Kurogiri wasn't lucky as Bakugo blew him up at the weak spot on his body. You guys, you're here, Heat Blast said in surprise. Hey Midoriya. Whoa, what's with the new look? Kirishima asked as he saw the new form of Heat Blast and felt the heat coming from him. I don't know. I think it might be my secondary quirk in effect here. Heat Blast said. Cool. Kirishima said, one of your poorly trained thugs told me that you came here to kill All Might with that thing that I froze. I won't allow it. Todoroki said with frost coming out of his mouth. Guess I found your body after all, you smoky. Bakugo said, you use that mist of yours from different parts of your body, but you cover your body with it to hide it. That's why we missed. If you didn't have a body, then you wouldn't be wearing this neck armor, Bakugo said to the warp villain. Kurogiri tried to get back up, but Bakugo stopped him with tiny explosions. Don't move. If you move even the slightest, I'll blow to all kinds of hell. Bakugo threatened the villain. Whoa, that doesn't sound heroic, Kirishima said jokingly. Shigaraki watched the teens silently. They escaped, but judging by these 2, they fought Kevin ... and lost. The green fire one is supposed to be Dai, and the last one surprised me, and they managed to capture 2 of my 3 strongest men. Kids these days, using cheat codes, trying to play on my level. No, I can't have that, Shigaraki said as he turns to Namu, who was still frozen. Namu, break, he said as Namu started to break the ice, but the ice fell with his body parts. What's it doing? Todoroki asked as they watched Namu's right side started to rebuild as it grows a new arm and a new leg. Whoa, what's that? Kirishima asked, weirded out by the new appendages. The guy with hands told me when I attacked the giant is that the thing was built to kill All Might. It's got super strength, hyper regeneration, and shock absorption. Heat Blast said, this is bad. If we don't take this thing down, it'll just kill everyone on sight. Plus, thanks to this new form, I don't know how time I'm losing. Come on, think. Heat Blast thought until wait, he said hyper regeneration. I've seen quirk types like that and have read on it. They usually take on massive toll on the body. From what Rick Furry Girl told me. The fire alien thought as he remembered the words the school nurse told him. My quirk acculturates your body's healing time 10-fold. But it taxes your stamina. Sorry, but it's not my fault. That's how the body works, Recovery Girl said as she takes on a candy and hands it to Izuku while she goes to Mina. If you get too many injuries, big or small, then your stamina will get shot and you'll die instead of healing, Recovery Girl said, shocking Izuku and Mina with the news. Wait, so this could kill me? Izuku shouted in shock. Yup. Recovery Girl said quirks are physical functions and they depend on energy to use, which means that there's a limit, and if I'm right, the cells in a human body will die if exposed to high temperatures. I only have one shot on this. If I mess up, it'll kill everyone here, Heat Blast thought as he turns to Todoroki. Todoroki, I need you to build the highest and coldest ice wall you can produce. Heat Blast said, why? Todoroki asked, what I'm about to is something extremely dangerous. I haven't even tried this before. I think if I mess it up on one wrong move, it could kill all of us, an explosion that Kaken could dream about. Heat Blast said, and are you sure that it'll take him out? Todoroki asked as Heat Blast nodded. All right, everyone. We need to leave now. Todoroki as he grabbed the fallen form of Aizawa. Why? Kirishima asked, in confusion. If you stay and get cooked alive, I suggest that you run, Todoroki said as Tsu, Komori, Mainta grabbed Vlad King's body and started running to the stairs. Todoroki and Kirishima started to run with them, but Bakugo stayed behind a bit and watched Izuku a little bit before he frowns and runs away from what was about to happen. Well. The NPC thinks he's the MC now. Tell me, what are you going to do, little candle? Shigaraki asked. I'm gonna turn up the heat, Heat Blast yelled as he started to run around Namu in a circle as the heat and fire started to increase. Izuku then had a fireboard and rode it around as he flew around Namu at high speed. Getting dizzy, Izuku said while the fire started to turning into an inferno twister that everyone who could see it. Whoa, what's that? Sato asked as he and the others saw the fire twister. It's Izzy. He's doing this, Lucy said as they could feel the heat of the twister rise. Man, it's getting hot, Shiro said before a huge ice wall was made. Whoa, what happened? Uraraka asked, seeing the ice wall. Look, Todoroki's making the wall. Kendo pointing to where Todoroki were as he made. Yeah, but why? Todoroki was making the ice wall to tank most of the heat from Izuku's twister. Normally he would be suffering from frostbite, but due to Izuku's heat, it made the job better. Bakugo was gritting his teeth at the sight of the red, orange and green fires of the twister. That has to take a lot of power to do, Deku. Todoroki watched as the twister hit the roof of the USJ and shook the building. He knew what kind of firepower Izuku was using and it startled him. He's never seen anyone use that kind of firepower and be alive. Not even his father could do what Izuku was doing. He felt like Izuku may have reached his limit soon. The inferno continued to climb in height and firepower as Izuku flew out of it. Let's see you heal from this. Special move, Supernova Hot. Heat Blast yelled out the move as the inferno changed in a single colored and it blinded the building as it roared. When it started to fade, Izuku could see that ground there he circle was glowing red and parts of it turned into molten glass with a deep trench embedded into it. He looked up and saw that standing in the middle of the trench was the Namu. The monster shielded its head from the heat, but the rest of its body was just dull black end music which started to crack away and turn into ash as the head fell to the ground. Izuku timed out and was tired, probably from the energy he used in the move and the use of OFA. He slightly smiled that the monster was gone and that All Might was safe. For now. He was about to go to Todoroki when he heard muscles tearing. He slowly looked to where the sound was being made and saw that Namu's body was slowly being made from the neck to the legs. It took the beast about over a minute, but it was slowly back onto its feet. No. That's impossible, Izuku yelled, seeing the monster back to its feet after being literally cooked alive in fire that was supernova hot. Namu started to walk to Izuku, but after taking 2 steps, it fell to the ground and wasn't moving. It worked, Izuku thought with a sigh of relief. His plan worked after all. Namu. Izuku turned and amazingly saw that Shigaraki and Kurogiri and Kevin were still standing, but the 2 gents had the worst cases of sunburn, and Kurogiri's neck protect was melted and warped. Namu, get up. The boss fight hasn't even started yet. Don't you dare disconnect yet, Shigaraki shouted before he turned to Izuku and glared at him. You did this. You cheated. You hacker. I don't know how, but you cheated. No human could produce that much heat from their body and survive. Shigaraki yelled. Toruma Shigaraki. We must leave. We've lost. Kurogiri said. No. Not until I turn that hacker into dust, Shigaraki shouted as he charged towards Izuku. Izuku couldn't do anything since 1, his body was sore and he could move an inch. 2, the Omnitrix was on recharge mode, so no aliens, and he couldn't call on OFA for some reason. He closed his eyes as Shigaraki's hand was about to touch him when, bang, Toruma had a burning bullet hole on his hand. Izuku looked to see what happened and bang. Bang, bang, bang. Toruma was repeatedly shot in both arms, legs and hands by a blue laser. He fell next to Izuku. What just happened? Izuku thought as he was wondering as to what happened. And by a force, his answer was heard. Izuku. Wait. Was that? Izuku thought as he looked around to see. Izuku. He turned to see his mom was at the entrance of the USJ wearing a white suit and holding a gun of some kind with the barrel steam. Mom, what are you doing? Izuku asked. I came to get you out of here. Why? Well, Elenko was cut off when the wall of the dorm of the USJ exploded and All Might and another person were fighting as All Might looked worse to say as his shirt was torn and he was bleeding. And he had shards of crystals in his right leg and 1 in his arm. Just tell me where the Omnitrix is and I'll let you live, the person said as he was wearing a shiny gray suit that had a retractable black helmet, which housed a green triangle on the front. This triangle was also on the center of his utility belt that he was wearing, and there were markings resembling it on either shoulder pad. I told you, villain, I don't know where an Omnitrix is and I told you to surrender. Oh, Might said. Fine, I guess I have no choice then, this person said as he pulled a blaster from his belt and started to blast at All Might. The hero had no choice but dodge the blasts. All Might, Izuku shouted as the ground started to shake and a figure that resembled a fiddler crab with a goldish brown colored armor, a sideways mouth, 4 side-like legs and a large, powerful pincer for a left hand popped out of the ground. So, this is where the Omnitrix is, huh? Who would have thought that it was stuck on a meat bag? The crab-looking person said as he grabbed Izuku. Hey, LL, let me go, Izuku yelled as he was struggling to get free. Feisty one, aren't you? This person said. Izuku saw someone fly into the USJ from the hole All Might made. This person was in armor and his feet were hooved. He had purple pads covering his central joints, a belt, and 4 central lines on his helmet to provide outlines for his face, which were his eyes and mouth. Ugketzo Paxirik said. This person said in a strange language that Izuku has never heard of. Yup, got it, but he won't stop moving. How do we knock him out? The crab-looking person asked. Rot votexako kaxaloeb. Did the person spoke in his strange language as he pulled out a stick from his back and hit Izuku with it as it set off an electric current and shocked Izuku into the point he was losing consciousness. You two done? The first person said as he comes to them. Yeah, the Omnitrix is secure. The crab-looking person said, holding Izuku's unconscious body. Go, let's get out of here. The first person said as he pulled out a remote and pressed a button on it as the four started to glow red. Stop. The three turned to see Inko taking aim at them with her gun. You are under arrest by Plumber's Law. Surrender now. Inko shouted as the first person took out his blaster and aimed at her. Sorry lady, but we got important things to do, he said as Inko her gun. You've been warned. Inko yelled as she started shooting at them, but it was too late. They disappeared. Inko saw them. Vances and she fell to her knees. No. And oh no. Izuku. Inko cried out as her baby boy was gone. But the question is, where did he go? Izuku uttered out as he started to wake up. He opened his eyes and saw that he was in an unknown room. He grabbed his head, suffering from a headache. My head. What happened? Izuku thought as he tried to remember what happened, and then the memories from the USJ, the villains, the Namu, Shigaraki, the Warp villain and Kevin came back to him in a rush. Okay. So the USJ was attacked and villains showed up to kill All Might. One thing led to another and I fought that thing with Heat Blast. But I was different. Was that OFA in effect? The last thing I remember is that Namu thing falling to the ground after my attack, and then Izuku thought before he remembered his mom showing up, and then All Might getting attacked by that guy, and then I was abducted. Is everyone okay? Izuku thought before he got up and saw that he was in a dark room. Hello, is anyone here? Izuku asked out loud in the room, but he got nothing. He then heard something shift behind him. Hello, Izuku said as he turns around to investigate on what was behind him. USJ. Same time as Izuku started to wake up back at the USJ, the police and paramedics arrived as the attack ended. That just happened. The other teachers arrived there to overlook things. The students and the injured were out of the building and to arrest the remaining villains there. Okay, from what we have gathered here, only 3 have escaped and I believe that they were the main ones. The only injured here are the teachers that were suffering here. 1 girl with acid burns on her hands, 2 boys with second-degree burns on their bodies, 1 with a cracked rib and spleen and ... 1 student has been kidnapped. The cop said to Midnight, I see, and I know who this student is. Izuku Midoriya. He was kidnapped by the few that attacked All Might after he assumed that they were villains. Midnight said I see. Has the principal said anything about this? The cop asked. No, all he's done is talking to this woman who broke in here somehow. Midnight said as the 2 look over and see that Nezu, who was in a white suit of some kind, talking to Inko, who was in a similar suit. I see. The cop said Nezu and Inko were talking. Are you sure that you saw 3 mercenaries with alien tech on them? Inko. Nezu asked. I know what I saw. Nezu. They were hired, Nezu. Which means that. Inko said, but Nezu cut her off. Vilgax is still hurt. We must take this opportunity now. There won't be another like this. Nezu said. I know, but how do we get to them in time? Inko asked. I have a way to locate Izuku and the Omniturks in no time. And I have the equipment that we need and the thing to get us there. Nezu said as Inko looked at him for a bit before her eye went wide. Nezu ... Don't tell me you still have. Inko said. I still hear her. I've been keeping her fresh and clean throughout these years. Nezu said as Inko hugged him. Thank you. Inko said. No problem. Nezu said as he hugged back. The 2 broke apart as Nezu went to the students and other teachers there. Sir, what's going on? And who's that? Midnight asked and points to Inko. This is Inko Midoriya, a close friend of me and the mother of the child who was kidnapped. Nezu said as everyone that heard went into shock. What? Was he taken by the villains? Uraraka, Momo, Tsu, Kinoko and Lucy asked. No. He wasn't. He was abducted by someone we know. Nezu said in a dark tone, which scared everyone there, especially the teachers present there. They saw their boss angry a few times, which terrified them. But this time was different. By SS someone you know. Present Mike stuttered out in fear. Yes, and we must hurry. If we don't, today might be Izuku's last day alive. Nezu said as everyone went into shock. Last day alive? Sir, aren't you overreacting? I mean, this person can't be that evil. Cementos said. I wish it was like that. Cementos. This person ... No. This being of pure evil will do anything to get what Izuku has. And will do anything to get what he wants, even if it's at the cost of someone else's life. Nezu said. How do you know all this? Midnight asked as Nezu sighed. Me and Nezu, because he's the one who ... gave him that scar over his eye. Inko said as every teacher and staff member there was shocked. This person who has Izuku was the one who gave their boss the scar over his eye. We've wasted enough time. We must leave now. Knowing him, he'll take Izuku to his ship and extract it there. We need to locate it and fast. Nezu said as the 2 venture plumbers start to leave when Midnight stops them. But sir, What about us? Midnight asked. I want you all to guard the USJ and oversee things here. I'll return with Midoriya. Ever soon. Nezu said. They resumed walking, sir. They stopped and turned to see Lucy running to them. Let me assist you in this mission. Lucy said. No, man, I need you to stay here and overlook on things. Nezu said. But Lucy stood her ground, sir. I'm not asking as a student of UA. Hi, I am asking you as a fellow plumber. Lucy said. Eventually, Nezu sighed. Kids these days. All right, Cadet Man, I authorize you to assist us in this rescue. But by doing so, you are aware that at your own risk and know the dangers of what might and will happen in this mission. Nezu asked as Lucy nodded. I do, sir. Lucy said. Very well. Now let's head to UAS outer hangar. I have what we need stashed there. Nezu said as the three plumbers leave too. Go get ready. Wait. The trio stop and see that Uraraka was running to them. What is it, Miss Uraraka? Nezu asked. I want to help save Izuku. Achako said. No. Nezu said. But sir. Uraraka was trying to plead but Nezu cut her off. No, Miss Uraraka. This mission is live or death, at most death. There's a chance that we won't make it back. So please stay here with the others. Nezu said. No. Uraraka bursted out. Achako. Lucy was trying to talk to Achako but she was cut off. No. I want to help rescue Izuku. He saved my Ansu doing the entrance exam and risked losing his chance to come here. I want to repay him of that. I want to save him this time. Please, let me save him. Achako shouted with tears falling down her eyes. The trio of plumbers looked at her, and Enko smiled at her. Is he really that important to you, young lady? Enko asked. Yes, he is. He's my hero. Uraraka said while nodding her head. All right, you can come. But you stick with us at all times. Do you understand? Enko asked. Yes, ma'am. Uraraka said. All right. Let's go. We've wasted enough time as it is. Enko said as the three plumbers and hero in training left to the hangar outside UAS main campus. Unknown room. Hello. Izuku said again out loud in the room he was held in. He walked around the room to see a bed and toilet in it. To him, he assumed that this was a room that was like in a prison. Izuku continued to walk around until he spotted something on the floor. He saw a piece of long wrapping on the floor. It connected and led below the bed. Izuku followed the wrapping to the bed. Hello. Izuku said as the wrapping somehow shook and it was pulled back to the bottom of the bed. Izuku bent down to see what was under the bed. Is anyone down here? Izuku asked as two sets of eyes opened and glowed to him. Izuku was startled by that and jumped backwards on his butt. What the? Izuku yelled as he heard shifting under the bed. He looked down and went a bit closer to see what was under the bed. He looked down and saw two figures. He saw a little girl who looked mummified as her face was completely covered in bandages. She has purple eyes with purple pupils. Her hair was black and in a bob cut. She had a golden tiara on her head with a snake on it. She was wearing white rags that looked old and dirty which was tied with a black slash around her waist, and she had golden wristbands on her. She was hugging a girl who had looked like a female teenage werewolf. She had gray fur, a long flowing mane which was tied in a ponytail with white bangs on the end, and a large bushy tail with 3 sharp claws on each hand and foot. Her nose was noticeable with light gray fur surrounding her nose and mouth, and dark gray fur on areas of her face where the light gray wasn't. Her eyes were full purple and his ears pointy and pointing upward. She was muscular and bigger than he was. She was wearing purple rags and had white wrapping on her legs, feet and wrist. Grrrr. The werewolf girl was growling at Izuku, thinking that he was their enemy. Whoa. Come, I'm not going to hurt, Izuku said while putting his hands in front of them. Sikal. Pum skaxilo. The mummified girl said to the werewolf girl, but Izuku didn't understand what she said. What? Izuku asked as he didn't understand what she just said. The Omnitrix beeped. A green energy wave went off from it and throughout the room. Don't worry. I won't let this thing hurt you. The wolf girl said in English. What? I can understand you now. Izuku asked as the two horror-looking girls looked at him with wide eyes. What? How did you do that? The wolf girl asked. Did what? Izuku asked, confused. Speak in Outer Transilian. The wolf girl asked. I don't know what you're talking about. But I'm not going to hurt you, Izuku said. And how do I believe you? The teen asked with narrow eyes. I would have if I couldn't feel that you're not evil, Izuku said. Okay, I'll believe you. For now. The teen said as the two horror-looking girls come out of under the bed. So, where am I? What is this place? Izuku asked. You're on the ship of the evilest vilest most sinister being in the known galaxy. The wolf teen said with the venom and hate in her tone as she growls. Calm down, Asai. Don't let your emotions get to you like last time. The mummy girl said while holding the wolf girl's hand. Oh, wait. Did you say the evilest being in the galaxy? Izuku asked. Yes. Oh, and who's that? Izuku asked. His name is. The mummy girl was about to answer him when the door opens and the 3 people who kidnapped him opened the door and came. Okay, brat. Come with us or we have to get rough with you, the one with the metal claw said to Izuku. The girls huddled together as Izuku moved in front of them. Who are you guys? Why'd you kidnapped me? And why'd you attack All Might? Izuku asked to the trio but asked the last question to the guy in the sliver gray suit he attacked first. Said something about a villain or something like that. The gray-wearing suit said in a voice ... that Izuku noticed. Why is his voice so familiar? Izuku thought. Wo penzi waxavo timo belzis. Thax up wix. The one in the other helmet said in a strange voice. Yeah, keep your pants in a hose. The claw one said as he shot Izuku with a laser into the abdomen. Hey, you can't do that, the mummy girl yelled as she started to hit the one who shot him. Scuddin. The other helmet-wearing one yelled as he strikes the mummy girl across the face, sending her flying to the bed. Hey, don't you dare hurt Shura. The wolf girl yelled out as she blindly charges to the trio in a rage and was about to attack them when the one in the gray suit stepped forward. Sorry kid, but this is for your own good, he said as he threw a contraption to her mouth. And the contraption opened and leached to her mouth. The wolf girl fell to the ground and started to try and pry the trap open. Clacks F Zofup. The one in the other helmet said as he points to Izuku who was holding his stomach. Yeah, what do you think I'm doing? The claw guy asked in sarcasm as he went to Izuku and picked him up as they started to leave the room. Izuku looked back at the girls and could see they were hurt and scared. The four went down a hallway filled with robots that looked the same. Izuku felt something sinister as they approached a large metal door. The door opens and the four enter into a room with the same robots from the hallway and drones that were floating in the air. The claw guy threw Izuku to the floor. Lord Vilgax, we've brought the payload as you requested. The claw guy said as Izuku looked up and his eyes went wide with the pupils shirking. He saw a humanoid creature with a face resembling that of an octopus. He had tentacles dangling in the front of his face, like a beard. His skin was pale green with yellowish spots on his face and tentacles. He didn't have a nose and a visible ear. He had red eyes. He was burly and had a mask covering his mouth. He wore a black and red brownish armored suit and attached to the armor were shoulder and leg pads. He also had metallic gloves with small fingers as well as reddish-brown cylinders like objects piercing his arms. His armor was spiked at the shoulder and arm pads. He had green sacks on the sides of his head. His mouth was attached to the sacks by a respirator. You're the guy from my vision, Izuku said in fear. At least, we meet. The being that has caused me so much trouble. The being said in a sinister tone. Who are you? Izuku asked. I am Vilgax, and I have come for the Omnitrix. The being now named Vilgax declared as Izuku's eyes went wide even farther. Oh man. Back at UA, with the rescue team, Nezu and Inko were walking together to an abandoned hangar just outside UAS walls as Lucy and Achako followed them. Sir, are you sure we should be here? Uraraka asked, slightly scared by how the area looked. I am sure, Miss Uraraka. And besides, I'm in charge of the school, so I have authority here, Nezu said as they arrived to the hangar. We're here, Nezu said as he went to a sign that was hanging loosely by the door. He moves the sign away and reveals a button under the sign. He presses it and the ground starts to move until it starts to descend into the ground. The four go down into lower levels until they come to a complete stop as they enter a large hidden room. The four start to walk around the room as Inko and Nezu look around and open different shelves as different weapons were in them but not the ones they were looking of. They continue to look around the room of some time until Uraraka's patience ran out. Okay, that's it. I'm not taking another step until you guys tell me what's going on. Why are we here, what are you looking of, and why aren't we going to rescue Izuku? Uraraka asked. Inko and Nezu opened two more shelves and went into them. We're looking of something that'll help us big, Inko said as she puts on a set of high-tech googles. And that is? Lucy asked. Well, it's kind of complicated. Nezu said. Why? Uraraka asked. Let's just say. Inko said before she pulled out a large cannon-looking pistol with the blue energy on it. We were plumbers before we retired, but we were no ordinary plumbers back then, Nezu said as he pulls out a set of twin blasters. Whoa. Uraraka uttered out at the sight of the weapons. Now that we have the equipment we needed. Now for the ride, Nezu said as they carried the weapons to another room. They reached to another door and Nezu pulled out a remote from his pocket and pressed the button on it. The door opens as the four look in the room to see what they were going into to save Izuku. They looked around until Lucy and Uraraka's eyes landed on something in the middle of the room. It was an orange truck with Max's Plumbing written on it. Phew, where's the thing that'll help us get to Izuku? Uraraka asked as Nezu chuckled. That is the vehicle that we'll take to get to young Izuku, Nezu said as him and Inko went to the truck and started to put the weapons in it. That's it, the two-teen girl yelled in shock. Yes. Now get in so we can go and find Izuku, Nezu said as he got into the vehicle in the driver's seat. The two girls were just standing there as Inko got into the vehicle as well. Well, are you two going to standing there or are you going to coming in this truck and save Izuku? Inko asked as the girls snapped out of their stance and ran to the truck. Back to Izuku, the being known as Vilgax was looking at a screen with Izuku's body on it and a DNA image on it with the Omnitrix on it. To think that the Omnitrix was on a child, and for it to be used for heroics. Disgusting, Vilgax said as he looks at the screen in front of him. Hey, I've used the watch for the purpose of good, Izuku said as he was bounded to a machine that was shaped as a ring. It held Izuku by his feet and right hand with blue energy, but his left arm was inside a cylinder so he couldn't reach of the Omnitrix, even if he wanted to. Vilgax starts to walk to Izuku. What you hold is the key to a power struggle, so ancient and so vast, that it is beyond your understanding, Vilgax said before walking back to the screen and looks at Izuku's DNA. It would appear that the Omnitrix is bonded to your own DNA, and your DNA has somehow changed the genetic coding to it, giving it a gigant boost in power as it gives a new form, Vilgax said, fascinated by Izuku's DNA. Yes, I can picture this. An entire army, each in the command of their own Omnitrix and with your own DNA, and all in my command. I'll be unstoppable, I will rule the universe. And the only thing standing between me and my destiny is you. Vilgax said, well, good luck. My quirk is something you can't have. Same thing goes for the watch. Izuku said, oh, trust me, child. I'll get what I want. Vilgax said as the floor under Izuku opens up and severely tools rose up from the floor. Vilgax turned around to the mercenaries that were standing there. Your work is done. Your payment will be handed to you by one of my minions. Now leave. Vilgax yelled as the three start to leave the room, but the gray helmet wearing stopped and turned to Izuku and looked at him a bit before eventually leaving the room back with the rescue team. The door to the hangar opened up and the truck drove at it and into the forest around the school. That weapon that Inko took is keyed into Vilgax's biosignature. Hopefully, it'll be enough to take him out for good this time. Nezu said as Inko pressed a button on the truck's cabinet, and a digital map appeared onto the windshield. This time. Uraraka asked, a bit afraid. What's that, Auntie? Lucy asked as she watches the map. With a green dot on it, it's a GPS. It's locked onto the watch's signal. Uraraka, can you navigate to where Izuku is? Inko asked as she got out of the seat and went to the back to the weapons. Sure. Uraraka said. The map zoomed in and Uraraka noticed something on the map. Sir, the map says that Izuku is not too far away from us. In fact, he's still on UA grounds. Uraraka said as Nezu looked at the map. Of course, those mercs could never gone that far in a short time. Okay, tell me how far Izuku is. Nezu asked. Yeah. He's on the southwest side of the school grounds. Uraraka said, it's not that far, huh? If I'm right, it's only a few minutes away from where we are. Hold on to something. Nezu said as he takes a sharp left turn and barrels down a route back to Izuku. Izuku was trying to break the cylinder that was holding the watch as a prison as Vilgax looks at him. Prepare for takeoff. Once we are in orbit, I will finally have the pleasure of destroying this miserable planet. Once and of all. Vilgax threateningly said to Izuku back with the rescue team. The team was driving down a hill as they see a large spaceship and it looked like it was about to take off. There's the ship. Lucy said, we have to get aboard that ship. Nezu said as the two girls looked at him. Aboard. But how? Uraraka asked. Nezu just smirks as he presses a button on the steering wheel, and the truck shakes a bit before it changes completely. It spouted wings and the wheels disappeared and the front of it changed into something else. The truck changed into a small orange and white spaceship. Hold on. Nezu yelled as the ship blasts forward to the ship, ready to ram in it. In the ship, Vilgax was holding a tool that electrified into a blue blade and stands in front of Izuku. He walks to the boy as he struggles to break free and positions the blade over Izuku's arm, ready to cut it off. Vilgax was about to do it when he heard a horn go off. The wall suddenly busts open and the small ship goes into the room and crashes into Vilgax. The ship rams him into a wall and reverses as the alien slowly gets up. Inko with the large pistol and Nezu with his twin blasters jump out of the ship and take aim onto Vilgax. Warning. Hull breach. Power surge. One of the robots announced as electricity surged around the room. Get your claws of my son Vilgax. Inko yelled as the pistol charges up. Mom, Mr. Nezu. Izuku yelled in surprise at the sudden appearance of his mother and school's principal. Vilgax gets up and sees the two plumbers. Midoriya. Rodent. Vilgax said before Inko fires the pistol and hit Vilgax, sending him through the metal wall. Inko drops the pistol and runs to Izuku as Nezu runs to a computer. The girls inside the ship get out to see what was going on. Mom. You know this guy? Izuku asked in shock while noticing Lucy and Uraraka. Inko was pulling on the cylinder that held Izuku. I'm so sorry, sweetie. I didn't want this to happen to you. I know it's a lot to take in, but I'll explain later. Inko said before she noticed electricity surging onto the cylinder that the Omnitrix was held in. Izuku notices too and starts to feel discomfort as he groans. Izuku starts to change into XLR8, but he never touched the watch. Hey. XLR8 grunted out before he changed into Diamond Head. What's going? Diamond Head could only say before groaning in more discomfort before changing into Wildmutt Roar. Wildmutt roared. The power surge must be affecting the watch. Nezu said before Izuku changed once more but into forearms. Thanks to the utter strength of forearms, the cylinder that was holding him broke, freeing him and allowing Izuku to break free of the energy binds that held his right hand. The ship took off with a smoke trail coming off it as four arms lifted the trap he was in and threw it to the other side of the room. Lucy turns and sees multiple drones entering the room and open fire onto the intruders. Look out. Lucy yells as everyone took of cover but Izuku as he dodges the lasers with his left arm. He went of a punch but starts to change again as his skin goes green and fluidly as three robots pass through him and start to melt. Oh, a man. Goop said as he looks at his body before he was hit by one robot. Goop puts his hand on the head of it and starts to melt it as it starts to fall to the ground. Izuku jumps off it and lands on another one before he changes again and into Upgrade and merges with the robot he was on. Try picking on someone your own size. Upgrade yells before spinning and cutting through two robots with his new saw blades like edges. Izuku continues to cut through robots as Lucy smashes some with her mud hammers while Inko blasts some with one of Nezu's blaster with Uraraka making few float with her quirk and making the shooting easier of Inko. The ship starts to fall as the claw guy falls out the ship when an explosion happened as he had a few crystal shards in him. Nezu had a drill-like tool with him as he uses it to drill into a drone's body, and caused it to go out of control. Inko, we should get control of the ship, Nezu yelled as he ran to the ship's controls right. Inko yelled back to him as she shoots a few more drones. You can fly a spaceship. Upgrade asked before he was tackled by a drone into the chest. I don't think I can get more surprised anymore today, Achako said while the teens were fighting off the drones. Nezu and Inko were on a computer and started typing onto the control to prevent the ship from crashing. As they typed, Vilgax crawled out of the hole he was blasted into and grabs Inko and Nezu by the collars. Vilgax threw Nezu to the ship he came into and he threw Inko in the hole they made as they crashed into. Inko was about to get up when she saw Vilgax's foot going to her and ready to step on her as she activates Get Quirk and makes a pushes the foot from her a UNTY, MRSMIDORIYA, INKO. MOM the four noticed Inko's situation and yelled. Inko started to struggle a bit as Vilgax's foot was getting closer to her chest while the wind blew her hair. Your weapon won't help, Midoriya. As you can see, I'm much stronger than in our last encounter. Now to finish you off like I wanted. 2, all those years ago. Starting with you and also that rodent, Vilgax said before applying force to his foot, causing Inko to scream in pain as her quirk was at its limit. Izuku phased his hand into a drone's body and causes it to short-circuit before letting it down and charges towards Vilgax and OOO. Izuku yells before tackling Vilgax down and fell out of the ship through the hole. Izuku. The four yelled as they saw Izuku sacrificing himself to save his mom as Izuku and Vilgax fell. Upgrade lets go of Vilgax and thanks to his blob-like body, turned himself into a makeshift parachute as Vilgax fell to the earth and crashed into it with a loud impact. Izuku glided himself back to the USJ. Well, that was easier than I. Upgrade started to speak before the Omnitrix changed him again and he fell to the roof of the USJ with a loud splat onto it. Ugh, sometime. I think this watch just hates me, Izuku said as he was gooped back on Vilgax's ship as the ship fell to the ground. The team were fine as they finished off the drones. Nezu was typing on the control panels. Once he was done, he smirked as the ship started to shake violently. Okay, we've got to get out of here now, Nezu said as the team rushed back to the ship and started to fly into the ship to leave. The two alien girls in the holding cell felt like something going on as they fell the ship shake. What's going on, Asai? The mummy girl asked in fear as she held the wolf girl tightly. I don't know, but I'll protect you, the wolf girl or Asai said while holding the mummy girl to her. The door to their room started to open as the mummy girl went behind the wolf girl and the wolf girl looks at the door, ready to pounce onto whoever was stupid enough to get in there. The door opens and the silver gray bounty hunt came in, but his helmet was not on. He looked like Izuku when he was Diamond Head but didn't have back spikes and he had green eyes instead of yellow. He was holding his chest on the left side. It's you, one of these guys from earlier. Asai said. Yeah, I'm one of those guys. You two alright? The Diamond Head looking guy said as the two nodded. Good, now come on. We need to out of here, the diamond guy said as the girls looked at him. Why? The mummy girl asked. I think someone came and helped that boy out and the ship's about to crash. We need to get out of here before that happens. But first, I need to pay a visit to that tyrant first before we leave, the diamond guy said. Why? Asai asked as the diamond guy narrows his eyes. Me and him have history. And it's time I finished that history, once and for all, the diamond guy said before turning to the girls. Come on, let's go. Duh, diamond guy said as Asai picked up and mummy girl and the trio started running down the ship's halls. They run past a black ball that was on display in the hall and they passed it. When they did, one green circle appeared on the ball all of a sudden and it looked around back with Izuku. Goop's anti-gravity UFO caught up with him and started to collect all of the slime like it did in the battle training. The UFO went to the top of the USJ's roof and the slime followed and formed Goop's humanoid shape once he reached the top. Oh man, I'll never get used to that, Goop said while rubbing his head. He looked around the forest of UA. But at least I shook him off me, Goop said while sighing in relief. Unfortunately for him, his claims were wrong when a blur jumped out of the forest below him. The blur was revealed as Vilgax, who rivaled Four Arms and All Might's leaping prowess as he leaped out of the forest, and all the way to Izuku and landing behind Goop. You've got to be kidding me, Goop said in disbelief. Vilgax turned around and started to walk to Goop, who backed up from him. You're a slippy slime child, but it's over, Vilgax said as he attempts to grab Goop. He reached of him but suddenly Goop turns into a blur and escapes Vilgax's grab. Bet you didn't see that coming, did you? Vilgax looks behind him as XLR8 stood behind him before zooming off. You can't hide from me forever, boy, Vilgax said, not even moving to chase after Izuku. But he didn't need to as a blur was approaching him from behind at a fast pace. I wasn't planning on it, XLRB yelled out as Vilgax looks behind him. Pikachu, XLR said before he crashes into Vilgax, creating a long ditch from the attack with dust covering the area. As the dust clears, Izuku was struggling to stay on his feet as Vilgax was still standing and didn't have a scratch on him from Izuku's move. Ugh. I'm gonna feel that tomorrow, Izuku said as he fell to his knees. For you, there is no tomorrow, Vilgax said as Izuku looked at him. Vilgax's arms started to bulge as the reddish-brown cylinders-like objects that was piercing into his arms sunk into them, and they grew massive. He punches down to XLR8 and hopes that it'll crush him, but thanks to XLR8's speed, Izuku was able to dodge the attack. As the attack missed its intended target, the force of the attack caused the roof of the USJ to implode and collapse into the building itself. Izuku attacked to dodge Vilgax, who kept punching. "You can't escape me," Vilgax yelled as he continued to strike Izuku, but compared to XLR8's movements, they were slow. XLR8 got behind and was using his claws to strike Vilgax's head, but Vilgax dodged and grabbed Izuku and then span him around before throwing Izuku into a wall. Crystals suddenly shot out of the wall where Izuku was through into as Izuku changed into Diamond Head Special. Diamond Head yelled as he continued to shoot crystal shards at Vilgax, who blocked with his arms. Vilgax went for a punch, but Diamond Head dodged it and changed tactics as he changed his hands into blades. He struck Vilgax with his blades, but the blades in his hands shattered upon impact against Vilgax's leg armor. "Oh, I thought that would work," Diamond Head cursed as his hands grew back. When the hands grew back, Vilgax grabbed Diamond Head's face and processed into smashing him into the ground, which caused a massive dust cloud. When the dust cleared, Diamond Head was laying onto a crater with cracks on his skin. The Omnitrix changes him again as Vilgax ready to punch of him. Vilgax punched at him as Izuku finished changing, and Izuku closed his eyes at the horror as he saw that the punch went through him. He felt no pain from it and realized that he was Goop again and that the punch did nothing to him. "Yes. Sometime, I think this watch loves me," Goop yells out as he sunk into the cracks from the slam from earlier. Vilgax deflated his arms in frustration. That Izuku escaped from him. Vilgax looks up and sees that his ship was descending to the ground a bit too fast, and too low as it flew just over him just before it crashes in the front of the Izuku Midoriya and Rodent. "I swear that I'll cough." Vilgax stopped talking when he heard someone cough. He looked around and saw someone moving a few rocks that what was the roof previously. "Well, what do we have here?" On the falling ship, the truck was flying down the halls of the crashed ship as it was scrapping on the walls, a bit brace of impact. Nezu yelled as the ship go through a few walls as it passes the black ball, and the force of the crash caused it to wobble around before falling to the ground, and the container of it broke as a blob of black with green lines on it that looked like circuity shook around a bit before running off somewhere. The ship crashed out of the as they fall to the ground due to the damage it sustained. A slime came out of the USJ via a pile line as it forms into a humanoid shape. "Don't on me now," Goop said as he looks around for any sign of danger, but his eyes go wide when he saw the crashed ship. "Oh no," Goop said as he flew to the crash site. At the crash site, the ship was on the ground, smoking from the damages that it took from its ramming as the occupants were in there. Nezu had his head against the steering wheel as he twitched before getting up. "Is everyone all right?" Nezu asked as the ladies groaned in pain and discomfort of the crash landing. "Ooh, I'm fine," Lucy said. "I've been in worse crashes." Inko said while rubbing her head. "Maybe I should have stayed behind." Uraraka said, feeling a bit sick due to her quirk. The four hear an explosion behind them. Izuku. Nezu said, but it wasn't a short time later, Goop showed up to the site and he saw the ship in its damaged site as the windows and wings were damaged and broke. "Mom, Lucy, Mr. Nezu, Achako," Goop said out loud in hopes to hear them. He went behind the ship but just to see. "No," Goop said in fear, shock and anger. He saw that Nezu was on the ground, bleeding from the chest. Lucy was tied to one of the broken tree while sporting a few bruises, and Vilgax was standing there holding an unconscious Achako in his left hand. An injured Inko in his hand. But he had a new guest with him. He had Jiru with him. As she looked scared, Goop stood there in shock before he started to change into Wildmutt. RAWWW. If Wildmutt had eyes, you could see that he was mad. "It's your choose. You or them." Vilgax said our hero knew that he'd kill them just to get him. Wildmutt lower his head showing that he surrendered. Vilgax walks to Izuku as he drops Uraraka to the ground as he taps the faceplate of the Omnitrix, and Izuku was back to normal. "How noble," Vilgax said, as he picks Izuku up and starts to walk with Izuku, Inko and Jiru back to his ship as it starts to take off. Nezu slowly gets up and sees where Vilgax is going and with who. Vilgax, "No, don't go back in there." Nezu yells out but the tyrant ignores him and jumps back into the ship as it takes off. "Foolish rodent. Why would I?" Whoop whoop whoop. Vilgax was interrupted when red lights and alarms went off. The auto-destruct launch sequence has been initiated. Vilgax yelled as he drops Izuku, Inko and Jiru to the ground and runs to the control panel to try and stop the sequence. But the controls just short circuits. "Rodent, you've been a pain in my side for too long," Vilgax said. "Well, there's more for you." Vilgax turned to his left and sees a blade of green crystal cutting his cheek. Vilgax back up a bit to see who was attacking him. "You," Vilgax said as he saw one of the mercs he hired glaring at him. "Yummy. And you know why I'm here," the diamond head looking guy said. "And what's that?" Vilgax asked as the Diamond Head Double Ganger made another blade. "Revenge." Diamond Head's Double Ganger yelled as he charges towards Vilgax and start to fight. The two girls come into the room as the two fight and see Izuku and the others on the ground. The girls ran to them. Hey, wake up," Asai yelled while shaking Izuku. The shaking and yelling was waking what's going on? Izuku asked before turning to the two alien girls. "It's you two. What's going on? How'd you break out?" And Izuku started asking questions but turns to see a guy who looks like Diamond Head as he was fighting Vilgax. "And who's that?" Izuku asked while pointing to the diamond head guy. He said he's one of those guys who captured you. He looks like he's a good guy. The mummy girl said he's a good guy. Izuku thought as Vilgax grabs the diamond head guy's head and slams him down just like he did to Izuku earlier at the USJ. And the force of the attack caused one of the remaining machine in the room to fall on top the look-alike's body with his head only showing ugh. The diamond head guy groaned in pain as he had cracks on his face as Vilgax looks down to him. Izuku panics as he looks around and sees the pistol that his mom used. Did you honestly think that you were strong enough to fight me? Vilgax asked as the diamond head guy spat on his face. I know I'm not. Diamond Head look-alike said as Vilgax readies a punch. He was about to strike him on the head when a blue blast hit him and sends him flying into a wall. Vilgax got up to his knees and was about to stand when he was getting tied when binds. He turns and sees Izuku holding the pistol as the mummy girl's fingers were extended and were the binds that was holding him. But we are, Izuku said while glaring at the tyrant as Asai charged forward to Vilgax and jumped. She opened her mouth and tries to bite the tyrant, but Vilgax broke out of the binds and punched Asai in the face, sending her back to the heroes as Inko and Jiru started to wake up. Jiru looks around and sees Izuku standing in front of her and she sees Vilgax Midoriya. What's going on? Where are we and who's there? Jiru asked. I'm sorry Jiru that you got caught up in this, Izuku said as Vilgax started to walk to them. Give me the Omnitrix boy or face the wrath of Vilgax. Vilgax said never. I'll never give you the watch. Izuku yelled back to the alien as Vilgax narrowed his eyes at him. Then, I'll rip it off your dead body, Vilgax said as he throws a punch at Izuku. Izuku placed his arms in front of him to try and maybe black and attack, but something strange happens. The Omnitrix starts to make an energy field that prevents Vilgax to attack them and pushes him away from them as the select wheel pops up and the faces spin around at a fast rate. Izuku, what's going on? Inko yells to her son. I don't know. Izuku yells as 3 new faces pop onto the select wheel. But I have an idea, Izuku said as he slides the faceplate back and slams down onto the watch and is consumed by the green light. When the light faded, a new being was standing where Izuku was and was looking at Vilgax. This being's body appeared to consisted of some type of blue energy. There were 4 spikes protruding from both of his shoulders. His arms are rather large, stretching down nearly to his feet in resting position. His arms, chest, and legs were rock-like. His eyes were green and a moss-like substance was around his neck and shoulders. This new form wore the Omnitrix symbol on his chest. Izuku looked around him as he was looking at the new body. Whoa. Who's this guy? Izuku asked, as this was the first time he saw this guy. Vilgax darkly chuckled. Well, it would appear that the Omnitrix has granted you an unknown form. But no matter, it won't help you against me, Vilgax said as he stood in front of Izuku. I don't know what or who this guy or what he can do, but I'll stop you. Right here, right now, Izuku yelled as he stares at Vilgax. Insert epic music. Pixels Queen plus Von Lichten. We will rock you. The two stood there as they stared each other down before they ran to each as they raised their fists while running towards each other. Midoriya. Divided by Vilgax. The two yelled as their fists collided with each other's, causing a shockwave. The girls were trying to push one of the mechanics off the diamond head guy's body. Warning. Self-destruct in T-3 minutes T-2 minutes and 59 seconds till self-destruct. It's too heavy, Inko said while pushing the fallen machine off him. Just go. Leave. This ship's about to blow up and we're too high up to jump out. Take out a device out of my belt. It'll help you get out of here. The diamond head look-alike said. No, we're not leaving you here to die, Inko said as they continued to push the device off Vilgax. And Izuku were still fighting as they traded blows to each other, but Vilgax threw an uppercut to Izuku, sending him flying in the air. Vilgax grabbed Izuku's leg and span him around before letting go and sending him crashing through the ship's walls. Izuku started to get up as Vilgax rushed at him to finish him off. Izuku lifted his hands up to blow the attack, but blue energy shot out of his hands and blasted Vilgax in the chest and sent him flying back to the room. Whoa. Didn't know I could do that, Izuku said while staring at his smoking blue hands. Meanwhile, the girls were still trying to push the machine off the look-alike as Vilgax flies back into the room. As Vilgax starts to get up, he sees the blaster that was used on him and then turns to the girls and the fallen alien. The girls were still at it as the machine started to move off the alien a bit. Come on. Just a little more, Jiru said as she pushed the machine. As they were doing it, a large shadow hovered over them. Jiru turned and saw Vilgax with the weapon in his claws and aiming at them. Even though this sorry excuse of a weapon is keyed onto my biosignature, I'm curious to see what would happen when it is used on another life form, Vilgax said as the weapon started to glow at the barrel. Let us find out, shall we? Vilgax said as Inko grabbed the 2 alien girls and shielded them with her body while the alien under the machine was struggling to get up and block the blast. And as for Jiru, she closed her eyes as Vilgax opened fire to them. They all closed their eyes and braced to what was coming. But nothing happened. Jiru opened her eyes and saw Izuku standing in front of them as smoke coursing from his chest with the hole going through him with small rocks falling from the hole. Izuku looks over his shoulder and slimes at them although he was breathing and looked like he was about to collapse to the ground. Vilgax threw the weapon out the ship's hole and started to walk to Izuku and laughed at the sight of the boy's pain. How heroic. Taking a blast for lower life forms despite the fact that you are going to destroy it anyway is sicking. Now to put you to an end and take what's rightful mine. Vilgax yelled as reared his fist to his back and rocketed it toward Izuku. But to his surprise, Izuku raised his right hand and caught the fist like it was nothing as blue lighting started to surge off him. Izuku looked at Vilgax and lifted his left fist and blasted the tyrant in the chest as the blast sent Vilgax out of the room and through a few walls. Izuku stood up and started to go to where Vilgax went but turns to the others. Go. Leave. I'll stay and finish him off. Just go. Izuku said as Inko and Jiru's eyes went wide. What? Izuku, don't do this. Please don't. I can't lose you too. Inko said Midoriya, listen to your mom. Don't do this, that guy ... this monster could kill you. Jiru said with concern in her tone I know ... but if I don't defeat him, he'll come back and get more dangerous. I have to do this. Izuku said before running out the room to finish this fight. Izuku. Inko yelled, as she was about to run after him but wrapping bonded her from moving. Inko turned to see the mummy girl was holding her. Please, let me go. I need to help him. Inko yelled at the girl as she was on the verge of a breakdown. No, let him fight. Out of anyone in this planet, he's probably the only one that's strong enough to fight Vilgax. The girls all turned to see that the diamond head-looking alien had got out of his trap and was standing. No, I can't let him fight him. He'll die. Inko yelled as tears started to fall from her eyes. I'm sorry, but if we don't leave now, we'll all die. The diamond head-looking alien said as he pulled out a device and pressed on it as red light started to glow over them all. A black blob jumped into the light as they all disappeared from the room. Izuku ran down the path as to where Vilgax. As he looked around, he was suddenly punched in the fist and sent flying down to the ground. As Izuku stood up, he saw that Vilgax was bleeding a bit and was mad. Insolent brat. I'll destroy you in this planet, if it's the last thing I do. Vilgax roared out as he tackled Izuku and the two go through the ship's walls until they stop at a room with a large machine with energy in the middle of it. Vilgax pinned Izuku to the ground and started to punch him repeatedly in the face. First, I'll destroy you. Then, I'll take the Omnitrix to use it to build my Amri and take over the universe, and finally, I'll kill Izuku Midoriya and those who stand in my way, starting with those girls from before. Vilgax said as he punches Izuku. Something inside Izuku just broke from what he just heard. As Vilgax was about to finish Izuku off, Izuku kicked him off and made Vilgax back up. Izuku got up and ran to him. Vilgax put his claw onto the metal floor and left 4 trances off it and sees Izuku rush at him with green lighting over his hands. You can insult me and try to kill me ... but if you go after those who I love, I'll kill you. Izuku shouted as he started to beat down on Vilgax with a series of punches and uppercuts before he reeled his fist off one more punch. Let's see if you like this. Izuku yelled as green and blue lighting surged around his right fist. Izuku strikes Vilgax with the punch across the face as he put a lot of power into it. Omni Smash. Izuku yelled as the face of the new move caused Vilgax to fly across the room with a shock wave and straight to the machine in the room. When Vilgax hit the machine, it shocked him to a degree as it explodes and caused the ship to fall from the sky with explosions coming off it. Izuku stood there in the destroyed room as he times out end music it ... it's over. Izuku said as he was about to leave the room and escape the ship before it blows up, but a claw hand grabs his left wrist. He looks to see Vilgax was still awake but had burns across his body. I will have the Omnitrix as I am the only one to possess it. Vilgax yells as he tries to rip Izuku's arm off. As he attempts to do it, Izuku screams in pain from his arm being pulled as the Omnitrix starts to release its energy and hopes to get Vilgax off Izuku. But the mad tyrant was stubborn as he wanted the watch. He starts to push through the energy feedback and he finally grabs the watch's faceplate and tries to rip it off Izuku's wrist. As he does this, light green, yellow, pink, purple, red, blue, orange, dark green and white lighting coursed off Izuku into the watch and caused a massive explosion, and in which succeeded into pushing Vilgax off Izuku and into the wall and caused a metal pile to fall onto him. Izuku was blown out of the room and near the room where he was in the front place. Whoa, what was that? Was that the watch ... or was it? Izuku asked out loud as he was cut off when he felt the ship shake violently. Insert music, Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse score. Shoulder touch. Izuku get up and starts to run to the hole at the room as he looks at the Omnitrix and saw that it turned from red to green. Please, give me someone who can fly. Izuku begged as he activated the watch as he was about to jump out of the ship on the ground at the USJ. Inko and the group from Vilgax's space appeared in front of the destroyed facility. Inko. The group turns to seize Nezu, Lucy, Uraraka and the others were coming to them. Inko. What's going on? What happened? Where's Izuku? Nezu asked while holding his side that was bleeding still. Izuku's fighting Vilgax by himself. Inko yelled as Nezu's eyes went wide. What? Why? Nezu asked in fear that Vilgax would kill Izuku and when he's fighting to save us. Please, there's got to be a way to help him out. Jiru yelled in fear that Izuku would die. Okay, let's go back to the hangar and try to. Boom. Nezu was cut off when a loud explosion went off. Everyone there looked up and saw that the ship exploded and all that remained was a cloud of black smoke and falling debris that was on fire. Most of the students there frozen in place while the teachers there bowed their heads down. They thought that Izuku didn't make it out in time and went down with the ship. Uraraka, Mina, Lucy and Momo fell to their knees when they saw the ship's remains while the mother of the boy started to cry, knowing she just lost one more person in her life. Jiru looked at the ship in a frozen state. She didn't know how to react. She was stuck. However, she noticed something glowing in the smoke and it was coming out off the smoke and falling to them. Wait, look. Jiru yelled out. Everyone looked up and saw a blur was flying out of the smoke. They squinted their eyes to try and make was coming out of the smoke. And they saw a ball of fire falling down to them. The fire faded and they saw Izuku was heat best and was riding a board of fire to them. He rode down to the sky until he crashed down to the ground with a loud impact and music. Everyone ran to where Izuku landed and they saw Izuku walking out of a smoking crater while holding his arm. Izuku looked up and saw everyone. Mom. We need to talk, Izuku said before collapsing to the ground. Izuku. The attack on the USJ and the arrival of Vilgax was over. The students that were involved in this were to either back to the school to either receive treatment from the injuries that they got from this attack or to fill out police statements that were needed. We find ourselves in the nurse's office with Izuku, who had bandages on his arms and chest as the blast from Vilgax did do some damage there, and the punch from him did damage as well. He was in the room with All Might in his deflated form and was knocked out. His mom, Nezu, Lucy and the two alien girls and the diamond head-looking alien as he had bandages on his head to cover the cracks he got from the mad tyrant from their fight. So, where do we begin? Izuku asked as the room was in silence and he had to break it. Begin where, sweetie? Inko asked who was that guy that tried to kill me? You, Nezu, Lucy, Achako and Jiru and this guy. Izuku pointed to the diamond head guy and held them in a room. Izuku said as he pointed to the two sleeping alien girls. Well, I guess it's time I told you things about me that you never knew. Inko said as she got up from her chair and went to Izuku's bedside. Tell me what? Izuku asked. Honey, remember when you asked me what was my job and I told you that I worked in plumbing? Inko said as Izuku went to his memories and remember that day. Yeah, I asked you on it since I needed it for a school project. But why is that important now? Izuku asked. Well, I lied. Inko said. What? Izuku said, confused. I lied. Well, partly lied. I did work as a plumber but not the ones you know. Inko said. What? Izuku said. Look, I'm not an ordinary person. I'm a plumber lieutenant, one of the SWORD protectors of Earth against extraterrestrials, or aliens that want to cause harm against us. Inko said as Izuku looks at her in confusion. What? Izuku asked. She's a space cop. Izuku. Nezu said as he had bandages on his chest. Oh, okay. Question. Yes, sweetie. Inko asked. How do you become a plumber and how do you know that guy, Vilgax? Why was he after me and why did he want the Omnitrix? Izuku asked. Wait, you know the Omnitrix's full name? How? Inko asked as she, Nezu and Lucy looked at him. I figured it out. Izuku said, clearly a lie which Nezu and Inko could tell. Izuku. Tell me, how do you know of the Omnitrix? Inko said in a mother voice that sent shivers down Izuku's spine. I don't know what you mean. Izuku said it was Miss Ashido, wasn't it? Nezu suddenly said as Izuku did a double take. How do you know? Izuku yelled. Stop yelling. Recovery girl said as she bopped Izuku on the head. Sorry. How do you know it was her who told me about the watch? Izuku whined while rubbing his head. I didn't. I just guessed and you took the bait. Nezu said with a smirk as Izuku realized that he was played. Oh man. Izuku said. Relax, young Izuku. I won't tell anyone about her true heritage as I, myself, am an alien hybrid. Nezu said. What? Izuku yelled out in surprise and in shock. Yes, I'm an experiment that was rescued by the plumbers many years ago. I am a mix between with the D from a bear, dog, cat and from a Galvan. Nezu said. A what? Izuku said, confused by the last name. It's an alien species that possess high intelligence. In fact, one of them built the device that is on your wrist. Nezu said as Izuku looked down to the watch. You share the DNA of the same species that made this thing. Izuku said in a stunned state. Yes, we've sworn to not only protect the Earth for alien trouble but when we heard about the Omnitrix, we swore to protect it and its wearer in case something happened. That's why we know of it and you. It's bonded to you in more ways that you realize, young Izuku. Nezu said. Really? Izuku asked. Yes, me, your mother and Lucy here. Nezu said as he points to his mom and cousin. What? You're a plumber as well? Izuku yelled in surprise. Yep, I was sent here to protect you and the Omnitrix, should anything happen. Lucy said. Wow. Izuku uttered out, surprised by that but he realizes something. Wait, does that mean that you're an alien as well? Izuku said. Yep, always been one. I just passed my abilities as a quirk to make my life easier. Lucy said with Izuku nodded. Understanding the logic by that it's like Mina. Izuku thought now, as to how Inko and I know of Vilgax. Izuku, me and your parents were in a team together when we were younger. Nezu said. You know my parents. You knew my dad. Izuku said. Yes, I knew who your father was. Anyway, when we were assigned together, we didn't like each other at first. In fact, I couldn't stand your father and he couldn't stand me. Nezu said with a chuckle as he remembers the days where he and Izuku's dad fought each other. Really? Izuku asked. Yes. Your mother acted like the peacemaker whenever a fight broke out between me and Hayashi. We hated each other. But as time went by we became the best of friends. We did everything together. I was even there when he proposed to your mom. Nezu said as Izuku looked at him and then to his mom. Really? Izuku asked. Yes. Hisashi was a nervous wreck as he tried to propose. I was there as support. Nezu said you were. Izuku said what he means by that. He pointed a blaster to your father's back as he can propose and not run away or faint. Inko said as Izuku looked at Nezu, who had a grin on his face. Okay. Izuku said, unsure if it was a good thing or a bad thing anyway. How we know Vilgax is that he was involved in some smuggling on some of Earth missiles. We intercepted on him and things went bad. Nezu said as Izuku looked at him. What happened? Izuku asked as Nezu started to shake. We fought him but ... he activated one of the missiles and he's set to here. And what did you do? Izuku said I didn't ... your father did ... he saved us all. By doing what? Izuku asked as Inko placed her hand onto her son's shoulder and Izuku looked at her as he saw tears falling down her face. He did what he had to do. Nezu said with his head down, which was. Izuku said he ... he gave his life away by redirecting the missile from the city to Vilgax's ship. Nezu said as Izuku's world started to slow down. What? Izuku uttered out as he looked at his mom. Yes, he ... died by saving us and by killing Vilgax ... but it looked like he didn't dead from that explosion. Inko said as she glared out the window and saw the last of the smoke from the explosion from earlier. So ... Dad sacrificed himself to stop that monster from taking something that could have been used for evil. Izuku while his hair was covering his eyes. Yes. Nezu said as Izuku looked down to the bedsheets and tears started to fall from his face. My dad ... my dad. Izuku cried out as Inko hugged him. I'm so sorry, sweetie. Inko said as he hugged her back. The two stayed like that for a while until Izuku looked at Inko. Mom. Yes, sweetie. Was Dad proud of me? Izuku asked as Inko smiled at him while rubbing his back. Sweetie. He loved you the minute he found out that I was with you. He was the happiest man on earth. Inko said as Izuku smiled. He felt happy that his dad loved him. If only I could have met him. Izuku thought sadly. I know that he couldn't be here to see you. But remember, he lives on. Inside you and in your heart. Nezu said, as he placed his hand onto Izuku's chest, where his heart should be. Sniff sniff. Thank you, sir. Izuku said while wiping the tears away. No worries, my boy. I'm sure that your father would be proud of you today. Nezu said. And why's that? Izuku asked, confused. You saved everyone from one of the main villains from what we heard, and you defeated one of the vilest beings in the universe, and quite possibly saved the planet in the process. Nezu said as Izuku's eyes widened. He did defeat Vilgax and saved everyone from him. Indeed, you did save the day, young Midoriya. The occupants in the room turned to see All Might wide awake and was sitting up straight. Oh, All Might, are you okay? Is it alright that everyone here to see you like this? Izuku asked, afraid that his mentor's secret will be out in the open. It's fine, young Midoriya. Besides, Nezu here knows of us already and I feel like I trust the people here and ... Who are you? All Might was saying before he turned and saw the Diamond Head. Ah, right. My name is Tetrax Shard and I came here for the Omnitrix. The Diamond Head alien who is called Tetrax said. What? Izuku asked, stunned by what Tetrax said, and so was everyone else that was awake. May I ask, why? Nezu asked as he slowly moved his hand to his belt where a blaster was, and he wasn't the only one. Inko slowly went to her large one that was leaning onto the wall next to her, and Lucy's arm slowly started to turn purple. Tetrax sees the movements. Whoa, hey now. I'm not here to take it. Tetrax yelled out as the plumbers and heroes in the room were confused by what he said. What? Then why's that? Inko asked, still having her hand onto her blaster. Look, originally I came here to retrieve the Omnitrix so I can take it away from Vilgax's claws. Tetrax said, and Nezu asked, curious as to what the alien had to say. Look, I was hired to retrieve the Omnitrix and hand it to Vilgax. But I couldn't. Not after that. Tetrax said but quietly whispered the last part to himself. What's that? Lucy said, not hearing what the bounty hunter said. Oh, it's not. I knew who Vilgax was and what's he capable of. So I had it my mission to save you and take you out of Vilgax's grabs, Tetrax said while looking at Izuku. Really? Our hero asked. Yes, but it seemed that it was not needed since you looked like you could fight well and I had to protect your mother life form, and those two. Tetrax said as the occupants in the room looked at the sleeping alien girls. Who are them? Inko asked. Oh, I was with them in a room Vilgax put me in. I don't know what were they doing in that though. Izuku said as he looks at them. Well then. Let's wake them up and find out what caused them to be there. Nezu said as he took out a piece of paper from his utility belt and went to the alien girls. He waved the paper to their faces and stepped back. Their eyes started to twitch a bit before they started to open. Where are we? Asai asked while rubbing her eyes a bit before she looked around the room and saw everyone is looking at her. Hi. Why hello there. Nezu greeted the alien. Hi. Oh. Where am I and what's going on? Asai asked, confused by what's going on, but before Nezu could say anything, they heard some groaning from the bed. They could see that the mummy girl was moving around, still asleep. Mhhh dried sasher bug and squawked mad old juice. The mummy girl uttered out in a dreamy tone. Asai chuckles and smiles at how the little mummified girl was talking. She started to shake her awake. Zia. Time to wake up. Asai said as the mummified girl grumbled. No. 5 more minutes. The mummy girl now named Zia grumbled out. Sorry Zia, but you have to wake up. Asai said as Zia started to wake up. She let out a yawn and looked around the room in a still sleepily state. She rubbed her eyes and saw people she never seen before, which caused her to hide behind Asai. Who are you people? Zia asked in a frightened tone. Asai senses the fear in the mummy girl and pulls her into a tight hug. It's okay, Zia. It's okay. They are good people. Asai told Zia as she soothes her by stroking her back. Really? How can you tell? Zia asked. I just feel it, and there are those two people we met. Asai said as she points to Tetrax and Izuku. Zia looks to where Asai is pointing and sees the two people that she easily recognized, and her eyes lit up. It's the Green Boy and Diamond Man, Zia said with excitement in her tone. Hi. Izuku said, nervously. Hey there. Tetrax said casually. Hi, my name is Zia. Just Zia, and I'm only 45 megacycles old, Zia said as Izuku, All Might and Recovery Girl looked confused. What the mummy girl said. Nezu sees the confused faces on them and sighs. She means that she's 4 Earth years old. Nezu explained. Oh, okay, and who are you? Izuku asked Asai. I'm Asai from the Anner system, and I'm a Labone, while Zia is a Thep Kufin. Asai said okay, if it isn't too much. May I ask you some questions? Nezu asked. Yes, you may. Asai said okay, first question. Why were you two on Vilgax's ship? Nezu asked. Asai and Zia flinched at what he said. We don't want to talk about. Asai said why? I said we don't want to talk about it. Asai growled out. Okay. I'm sorry, it seems that you're not ready to speak about it. Not yet at least. Next question. How old are you? Nezu asked. I'm 148 megacycles. Asai said so, 14 Earth years. I see. Next question. Do your parents know where you are? Nezu asked the question, which was a mistake, as Asai jumped from the bed and grabbed him by the collar and pinned him to the wall. Don't you dare say anything that is related to those animals in front of me and Zia. As far as I'm concerned, they are Daidami and Zia, Asai said with her fangs out and her eyes glowing as she felt anger from what Nezu said. Stop. You're chalking him. Izuku yelled as Nezu's face started to turn blue. Asai, calm down. Tetrax yelled to the lob. Young Asai, stop or you'll kill him. Toshi yelled, but none of their yells got to her as her instincts took over and they told her that Nezu was her prey. She was about to crush Nezu's windpipe when she felt 2 arms wrap around her waist. She looked down and saw Zia's arms were wrapping around her waist in a tight bind while her body was behind her. Please sister. Don't do it. Don't kill Mr. White Man. Asai turned around and her eyes widened when she saw tears on Zia's face. Her eyes returned to their normal shade and she lets go of Nezu as he falls to the ground, and Nezu grabs his neck while coughing and trying to catch his breath again. Sir, are you alright? Toshi asked as Inko went to her friend as he started to breathe. I'm fine, Nezu said while rubbing his neck. Asai looked at him and then to her hands, which she started to shake. I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. Asai was speaking before she started to breathe heavily as she fell to her knees. Sister, what's wrong? Zia asked as she saw her sister fall to her knees and clutch her chest. She's going into a panic attack. I need to subdue her fast. Recovery Girl yelled, seeing that the poor wolf alien girl's systems. She pulled out a syringe and stabbed Asai in her arm. That caused her to started to feel lighter, and eventually, she fell to the ground and fell asleep. Sister, are you okay? What's wrong? Zia yelled as she rushed to Asai and started to shake to wake her up, but it was effortless. Zia looked at Recovery Girl and glared at her. What did you do to Asai? Zia demanded to the youthful heroine as to what did she do to Asai. I gave her something to calm her down. She went into a panic attack. She was going to do more damage on herself. Little girl, if I didn't do it. She just needs to sleep. That's all, Recovery Girl said as Zia just laid there with Asai. Tetrax got up and picked Asai up from the ground. I think it's best that we leave things as they are for today. Agreed. Midoriya, I think that it would be for the best that you should head home and rest. But should I heal fast? Izuku said, know that the fight with Vilgax hurt him. Bad. Oh, don't worry about that, dearie. I took care for that already. You were not that injured that much, apart from your broken hand and burn on your chest and back. Recovery Girl said. Oh, and what about my mom? Izuku asked his mother. Oh, I have to stay here and do debriefings about this. I'll be at home before you know it. Lucy, can you help Izuku and get him home for me, please? Inko, sure. Come on, you trouble magnet, Lucy said as she grabbed Izuku and started to take him out of the room. Hey, I'm not a trouble magnet, Izuku said with a pout as Lucy smiled and rifled his hair. The two left as the room went silent and serious for a minute. Inko, what are we going to do? Nezu asked. I don't know. But the first thing we should do is look at what happened to those 2 girls and get into the clutches of the likes of Vilgax and to find out how that little guy got to him. Inko said as they all turn and see a black blob that resembled Upgrade. Although he was smaller and had a dog-like body in the sleeping corner. Agreed. But first, Mr. Shard, Nezu said as Tetrax looked at him. Yes. What do you want to do here at UA? Nezu asked as he took out a cup of tea and sipped on it outside UA. So tired, Izuku said as his arm was in bandages. Lucy followed him to make sure that he can get home safe. The 2 cousins were waking out of UA. Heading home thought the gates when they saw what are you guys do here? Izuku asked as he and Lucy saw Ada, Uraraka, Tsuyu, Mina, Kirishima, Jiru, Kanoko and Momo, who had her eyes shadowed by her hair, were waiting at the entrance for him. Quite the gathering we got here, Lucy said with a chuckle as she knew the reason they were here. We're waiting for you, man. I heard what you did to that big guy and I have to say, that was manly Midoriya. Kirishima yelled. TT thanks, Izuku said, blushing from his praise. Midori, are you okay? Mina asked, concerned over his health. Yeah, are you okay? After that fight, with that big guy and escaping that ship, you should be resting. Uraraka said, having the same reasons that Mina had. I am fine. Recovery girl just fixed me up and I'm okay. Izuku said with a smile, making the girls sigh in relief. Expect Momo, who still had her shadowed by her hair. Kanoko walked up to him and bowed to him. I never Gigi got to say thank you for saving me back. I in the water, Izuku. Kanoko said, shyly. It was and nothing. If anything, it was Sue who saved us. Izuku said, but still. Thank you, Kanoko said. Momo started to approach him with her head down, which everyone noticed. Momo, are you okay? Because you smacked suddenly. No one expected what came when Momo reached Izuku. She raised her left hand and delivered a slap to Izuku's right cheek, causing his head to turn the other way. Everyone was stunned by what they just witnessed. Izuku himself was stunned as he slowly looked at the girl in front of him. Emotional music. Fairy tale lost. Theme. How could you ... You promised ... You promised me that you would not die. Not until we became the greatest heroes in the world. You said that you wouldn't die and you'd pull out of any situation fine ... But ... Momo said as she lifted her head, and everyone saw hot tears going down her face as she had a broken expression on her face. You nearly died today ... Not once ... But twice ... When I saw you fall from the air, I felt my heart dropped as I watched you plummet to the ground ... And ... When I heard that crash, I thought you died. But when I saw the green light, I thought you were safe and live ... But when I heard that you went and fought that thing that the villains brought to kill All Might, I thought you were crazy, but you won. But when I saw you were kidnapped and that I saw that explosion in the air, I thought you went down with the ship. I know you were in some fight, but ... Do you ever think about the consequences for your actions? I know that you saved Sue, but what would have happened if your watch didn't kick in on time to save you? You almost lost your chance to be a hero. How would your mother would have gone through to know that her son was killed? What about us? It would have broken our hearts, knowing that one of our classmates died today. And what about me? Do you know what I would have felt like to lose my first real friend? Momo yelled as she fell to her knees. I don't want to lose you, Izuku. No one wants to see you die. You're a great friend to us all. Please ... Don't that again ... It did too much for me, Momo said as she sobbed. Izuku watched her as the girls went to her and tried to comfort her. The rest looked at her with sad expressions on their faces as one of the most promising student in their year was reduced to this state. Izuku felt like a complete, his actions, facing not one but 3 life and death situations and the near price that his life could have ended in that ship, and at the USJ if it hadn't been for the Omnitrix. This was the results for his actions, making everyone worry about him. Izuku fell to his knees and bowed to Momo. I'm so sorry, Momo. I'm sorry if I worried you. I'm sorry if I worried everyone. I just can't stand aside when someone is about to be killed ... I ... Just snap in the way to prevent that. But I promise, Izuku said as he lifts his head and his own tears were coming out. I promise to get stronger, with and without the watch, so I can protect people and still keep our first promise. I'll make sure that everyone is safe and will not get hurt. I will be strong. I sweat. So please ... Don't cry, Izuku said as he grabbed her hand and held onto it gently. She looked at him for a bit and saw that he wasn't lying. She nodded to him. End music. I hope that this will teach you a life lesson, Midoriya. You should not push yourself into deadly situations like that in the future, Ida said. I'll keep that in mind, Ida. Thanks, Izuku said. Hey, that's what we're here for, man. We're your friends and we have to look out of each other. Kirishima said. Friends. Izuku said. Yeah, friends. Mina said with a smile. Izuku and Momo smiled at that and they got up and the group started to leave the campus, but Izuku was in deep thought. So, there are others out there who are after the Omniturks. And I'm guessing that the villains today won't give up that easily either. Today was a lesson. We should be ready for anything that comes to us while on the field. But I swear, Izuku thought as he looked at the watch and then to his friends, I swear that I will protect everyone with my powers. I promise that. Peach, signed by Jonathan Young. Izuku was in his gym clothes and his dad's jacket on while looking to the sky as the wind blew. All Might was flying in the air with Izuku seeing soar through the air. The Omnitrix flashing green and Izuku looks at it before he slams down onto it. And the area glows green. The scene changes with Achako stretching with her arms over her head while Momo, Lucy, Tsu, Mina, Jiru, Kanoko and Asai on a beach with her as they were during their own stretches. It changes to Kirishima, who was seen stretching as well but in a different room before he looks up and smirks. Bakugo was in the same building that was damaged by him during the battle training while doing his own stretching before he had a scowl on his face as he looks at the crystal wall that Izuku made to trap him. Ada was seen next as he was flexing his leg in another room. The scene changes to Todoroki, who was under a bridge, and arm gestures and breathing techniques before he sees a flash of green near him, and turns to it. The scene changes again and back to Izuku, who was doing his own stretches while still on the top of the building as Tetrax in civilian clothing was with him and was at a book on Earth culture as Izuku looks at the sky a bit before the area changes to the stadium, as Class 1 look at each other before 10 different fists met in the middle, as one of them was actually a paw, and another wore a wristband, and one was pink-skinned, while one more had the Omnitrix its wrist as it glowed green before it flashed as the music picks up its pace. Izuku was now forearms and using OFA to punch an ice glacier and caused it to break and blow back to Todoroki, who shielded himself from the massive force. Ada was running across the arena as Uraraka plunges downward with one hand stretched out, while Momo made a metal staff to fight a bunch of robots, and Jiru using her speakers to blast some away as Asai jumped into the air and opened her mouth, in which a purple sound blasted a robot, causing it to blow up. Nina and Lucy were shooting out their quirks onto the ground to skate on it, while Tsu with Kinoko on her back jumped over a zero-pointer as mushrooms grew on it. There was rapid shoot with a purple hair guy who looked tired and a girl with pink dreadlocks who, fighting as Class 1B, were running to the stadium, as Bakugo blasted his way across the arena before the scene changes with All Might soaring through the air before landing and turning around with Azawa, present Mike, Nezu, Inko and Textrix, with Sia holding a black blob in her arms looking at the Hero Course students as they were in front of UA in their PE clothes. The intro ends with all Class A and B now in their hero outfits, before Izuku held his left arm up as the Omnitrix in the air as it glowed green, and the image flashes with all students using their quirks, and Izuku had green lighting surging on his body as his aliens appeared over them during their own poses. Chapter 14, That's the Idea. New teachers. In the city of Musutafu, people were busy going about on their day as a news broadcast was playing on one of the city's mega screens. Up next, an update on yesterday's incident involving the UA Rescue Center and the mysterious flying aircraft that exploded. At the UA Rescue Center, 40 Hero Course students were attacked by a gang of villains who call them the League of Villains. One student defeated a villain that was sent in to kill All Might as they were planning on killing new UA teacher and popular hero, All Might. According to what the police officials said, said student was kidnapped by an unknown figure who is believed to be an unknown villain, but the student escaped with minor injured as he was the cause of the aircraft that was soaring over Musutafu yesterday. The remains are being taken in of observation by officials. Be on the lookout as the League of Villain escapades with two associates. The news anchor said as the news was finished at an unknown building at an old run-down building. An elderly man was inside the building as he just received a letter from an old student greeting. The air is warm here. Feels like summer is just around the corner. Hope this letter finds you well, sir, in good health and even better spirits. This semester, I took a position as a teacher at UA. Hi. Ha, that's right, I'm now guiding the next generation of heroes. I was hoping to finding someone worthy to inherit my power amongst the elite students of the school. A hero in training with outstanding test scores and a powerful quirk. But, before I started my job at UA, I met a young man. Even thought he was weak and had no quirk of his own. He showed incredible bravery. He rushed into a dangerous situation that caused pro heroes, including myself, to hesitate. He managed to save a life of a classmate. He may not have had a plan when he acted, but he knew he had to do something. I feel like seeing this young man spring into action taught me something that day. It remained me the reasons that I must embody to even call myself a pro. A hero. That's why I meant it when I said to him, young man, you too can be a hero. Soon after, I told this young pupil the secret of my power, the pose that I transfer to. This ability I have that's been passed on from person to person, cultivated and made stronger. The crystallization. That binds itself to one's courageous heart. For the good for those in need. One of all he accepted without hesitation and being to train so he can face the many trials he won't have to face in the hero course at UA, but something happened to him one night after train. He obtained a device that activated his dormant quirk that allows him to transform into various forms with their own special abilities thanks to his dormant quirk. Thanks to this device, even with that now on him, he still fought to be ready to wield OFA and the device, which he told me was called the Omnitrix. He struggled to get used to his newfound abilities, but he never stopped fighting. He gave his 100% as he tries to OFA both in human and in his forms. I didn't like toot my own horn, but I believe that I've found the perfect person to pass my quirk on to. He's shown me time and time again that he has what it takes to be a real hero. I'm still quite new to this role as an instructor. The day may come where I must trouble you, my old teacher of advice. I'll be counting on your wisdom and patience when that time comes. Until then, please take care of yourself as the season's being to change. I'll continue to keep you updated about what's happening. Sincerely yours. The elderly man finishes reading the letter and takes a bite of a cooked pastry fish. So, Toshinori has found a worthy successor. The man said before he chuckled, least hope he knows how to use his successor can handle his aliens and OFA well. Otherwise, I must have to call in on a friend to help me out here. The man said is on a shelf, an old-looking metal circular disc-like object with a green hourglass shape on it. Time, 18:05 p.m. Earth Time UA. Hi, Musutafu, Japan. It was now nighttime and in an office, the staff members sat to a U-shaped table while one police officer was standing in the room while holding a piece of paper. Our investigators are trying to learn about this so-called League of Villains, and we were about to investigate that ship that was destroyed during this attack, but we didn't have clearance to do so. The cop said, what do you mean, you don't have clearance? Snipe asked, I mean what I said. We don't have the clearance to do an investigation on it. The ones who do are already on it. Anyway, let's go back to what we were saying. We've had some progress, but we can't find anything on this Shigaraki so far. We've searched our records for men and their 20 seconds to 30 seconds with some sort of decay quirk registered. But nothing, and the same goes of that Kirigiri, but we've sort close with the last one. All we know is that he's called Kevin. We looking for his records, but it'll take a while. The cop said so. What you're saying is that we have nothing to go on. Midnight said that's right. The cop said we've got to track them down. That lady who was there shot their ringleader, but I can tell that when he heals up, he'll probably pull something like this again. What a pain, Snipe said as All Might looked down. He does seem the type. All Might uttered out quietly, but Nezu heard him. Is something on your mind, All Might? Nezu asked. The attack on the USJ was ... too bold. No sane adult would ever attempt it. From what I heard, the ringleader kept monologuing the reasons he was there and bragged about Namu's many quirks, but he never said a word about his own powers. When things didn't go his way, he was physically upset. Like he was gonna throw a tantrum, but luckily for us, young Midoriya's quirk saved the day when he burned Namu out and caused him to collapse due to exhaustion. All Might sighed while looking up in the air. That might be true, yes, but it was a bad idea for him to reveal his quirk while fighting instead of keeping them a secret, Nezu said as the cop nodded his head in agreement. Shigaraki made wild, immature claims, but did so with a completely straight face. And what young Todoroki said, he talked about Namu like it was his pet or something. It seems as if he has never been told no before. He thought that things would go his way no matter what. He has the personality of a spoiled little brat. A man-child. All Might said. A child with incredible power, thought. It seems he never got the quirk consoling that children get in elementary school. Midnight put her opinion on this. If that's so, it does really matter now. Snipe said there were 72 villains arrested in the aftermath of this incident. Plus, 2 of the 3 villains who captured one Izuku Midoriya are missing while one has vanished. We're on the lookout for them but it'll be nearly impossible seeing we have nothing on them. The villains are small-time thugs who usually were in alleys and backrooms. What worries me is this man-child got them together into his little group and they followed him as their leader. If he can do that, who knows what will happen in the future, especially if villains feel like they are under pressure with the rise of heroes. The cop said. I guess that makes sense. All Might said there are plenty of people who will follow anything nowadays. Snipe said while leaning back to his chair. So, what can we do to stop them? Midnight asked, worried about the students. Well, it's thanks to you heroes that we have the time to investigate this. We'll keep you updated if anything comes up. The cop said. A man-child, huh? In some ways, he shares the same common ground as our students. They both have so much potential. And like our students, it's possibly that someone is guiding him, trying to nurture his villainy. Nezu said as All Might felt a chill going down his spine. I don't want to think what that could mean. All Might said yes, which is why I hired a few new staff members to assist us in security. Nezu said as he got up from his chair. New staff members? Who could they be? Midnight asked, curious as to whom Nezu hired for help, and she wasn't the only one. I've hired 2 new people into the school as a teaching assistant for class 1A and B and as security as well. I've appointed one of them as my own personal assistant. Nezu said as everyone was curious to see who did. Their boss has hired you. May come in now. Nezu said as the door opens and 2 people walked in with one of them, a tall one, while the other person was shorter to them. All Might's and Snipe's eyes widened at who just walked into the room. No way, it's you. The next day it was morning and students were making their way to UA. After a few days of a break following the aftermath of the USJ attack, Izuku and Lucy were walking down the hallways for UA to their homeroom, but Izuku was thinking on something. He was replaying everything that had happened during that day. He nearly died, not once but twice in that day. He fought that creature which the villains called Namu. He saw his old childhood friend. But said friend is a part of the villains. He was captured by aliens and fought the being who was responsible of his father's death. And he apparently saved not just the city but the whole world in one day. Man, what a day. He knew that his classmates would have heard and seen him fight and being captured, and they probably wanted answers. A lot he didn't want to answer. The poor boy sighs. And Lucy sees this. What's wrong, Izzy? Lucy asked her favorite cousin, crushed to see what was wrong. I really don't want to answer the questions I'll get if I go in there. Maybe if I get leave now and hide at home, I can avoid this no problem. Izuku yelled as he was about to book at home and hide in his room, but before he could go through with his plan, Lucy grabbed the back of his bag and bopped him on the head. Oh, why did you do that? Izuku asked as he rubs his head. To stop you from yourself. You still think that you're in middle school. They are our friends, so I don't think they'll think of you twice due to what happened to you. I think they're just worried about you. Lucy said. Yeah, but Izuku was saying but was cut off by Lucy. But nothing. They are our friends and they trust you, so I think you should trust them as well. Lucy said as she looks at him. Yeah, I should. Izuku said, feeling ashamed of himself. That's the spirit. Let's get inside. Lucy said as she opens the door to homeroom 1A, and everyone in room stopped what they were doing when they saw the 2 cousins walk into the room. And then, Kirishima, Shiro, Sato and Kaminari jumped from their desks and rushed to the boy. Hey Midoriya. What's happening, man? Kirishima greeted the cinnamon roll, who looked confused. Yeah man, how it going? Looks like you're good as new. Kaminari said. Yeah, we saw that huge flaming tornado you made to beat that one villain. That was awesome. Zero said, remaining the class of the utter power. Izuku used to beat the thing that was designed to kill All Might. Yeah. And I heard what you did. That was awesome how you went and saved Sue, Minda and that one chick in Class B when you guys were confronted by that villain. Sato complimented Izuku on his achievement. It was nothing. Izuku nervously said. He wasn't used to people invading his bubble yet. Izuku turned to see Ochako was waving to him with Mina and Sue standing next to her. Excuse me. Izuku said as he left the boys to go to the girls. Hey there Midori. Glad to see that you're fine. Mina said with a smile on her face. Why yeah, I'm glad that you're fine too. Izuku said before he looked down and saw bandages on Mina's hands and frowns. Mina, are you really okay? Izuku asked with concern in his tone as Mina sees that he was looking at her injured hands. Oh, I'm fine. They don't hurt as much anymore. Recovery girl will heal me before I leave of home today. So, don't sweat it. Mina said while giving a thumbs up to Izuku. Oh, okay. I just don't like to see you in pain. Please don't do something like that again. Izuku said with a bright smile. Mina looks at the smile and blushes. Oh, only if you do the same then. Mina said with her head turned to the side to try and hide her blush from him. Sure, deal. Izuku said. He missed the blush but the blush was seen by 5 girls in the room. Izuku turns to the 1A's frog girl. Hey Sue, glad to see you're fine. You know, after all what's happened. Izuku said with rubbing his head. I'm glad too. Midori-chan, I want to say that I'm sorry. Sue said as she confused Izuku. Sorry. Sorry for what? Izuku asked. I'm sorry that I was useless when that hand villain was in front of us. I just stood there in fear while you sprang into action and fought that villain alone. I'm sorry for being weak. I wish I can repay you somehow. Sue said with her head down in shame. It's okay, Sue. You don't have to apologize for something like that. It's not your fault. That day was a life and death situation and that Shigaraki guy almost killed you and I had to do what was needed to be done. Plus, it was my fault for making everyone worry like that and nearly dying like that. If it hadn't been of my watch, I'd be dead right now. Izuku said. I know but I still feel like I owe you one. So thank you for saving me back there. Sue said. No problem. Izuku said. HJE felt something tug on his sleeve and looked to see Uraraka giving him a sad puppy dog eyes. Please don't do something like that again Izuku. It scared us into thinking we lost one classmate, especially you. Please, promise that you won't do something so reckless like that again. Ochako said with a sad face on. I promise. Izuku said as he looked away from her as her face was cute with the expression that was on now. He looked around and saw Momo looking at him with a sad face before she looked down when she saw him looking at her. Excuse me, but I have to speak with someone. Izuku said as he makes his way to the creation girl. Hey Momo, how are you today? Izuku greeted the girl who looked at him and get a smile on her face. Hi Izuku, I'm glad you're fine Toei and I'm doing okay. She said before her face expression changed to sadness. Look Izuku, I'm sorry for slapping you like that the other day. My emotions were all over the place and I took them out on you. But, it's just I was so worried about you. I still had the images of you falling to the ground and crashing to it. I was just scared that you died. Momo said with a tear falling down her face. Izuku sees this and crouches to her level. No, don't be. Look, you had all the right to slap me in the face. I deserved it. I acted before thinking clearly and it nearly costed me my life. But I couldn't let Sue die like that and I needed to do what was needed. Remember, that promise I made was broken but I fixed it and made it bigger. I promise I'll get stronger and I'll stay alive so we can become heroes together. I'll be here for you no matter what. Izuku said as he wipes the tear from Momo's face and smiles. Momo receives a small dust of pink of her cheeks, but she smiles gently. Thank you Izuku. That's what I needed to hear. Momo said as she places a hand onto his chest, causing him to blush and have steam coursing off him across the room. Uraraka and Mina had comedic jealous looks on their faces as they watched the two interact. Lucy just smiles widely but she had an eerie aura around her and her eyebrow twitched while Izuku and Momo were speaking. Sue looked the same but deep down, she knew she was jealous as well from watching how close Momo is to the boy who saved her life not once but twice. One girl in the room looked at the two interact and gets jealous from it. She was debating on her feelings onto Izuku after the USJ attack but she needed help on it later. Bakugo listened onto Momo and Izuku's conversation and felt like throwing up. He wanted info on his former childhood friend and his quirk. He saw what Izuku did to the Namu and it made him off to see just how much power Izuku had on him. He wanted to force it out on him but he knew better since he didn't want a repeat of what happened during the first day. Todoroki watched the two but focused onto the green-haired, watch-wearing boy. He had been focusing onto Izuku since the battle training as he wanted more info on Izuku and his aliens. He got more interested from witnessing the firepower he used back at the USJ. But the question is why? Hey you guys, did you see the news last night? Toru asked Shoji and Ajiro. Yeah. Ajiro answered it was so cool that we got a few seconds for screen time. Thought, I bet nobody noticed me hanging around in the background, Toru said, with a sad expression on her face, which couldn't be seen due to her being invisible. Probably not. Shoji said it is difficult to stand out when you're just wearing gloves. Ajiro pointed out the only way to see Hagakure in her hero outfit were totally big deals. Those news channels love us. We basically celebrities. Kaminari said as she leans back to his chair. Yeah, it's kinda crazy. Right. Kirishima said get over yourselves. The hero course that pumps out pros got attack and something kidnaps one of us. That's what they care about. Jiru said, using her fingers to twirl her left earlobe. Who knows what would have happened to us in Class B if Midoriya didn't burn them up and the teachers came. Zero said yeah, and let's not forget that woman who shot that hand villain. Hey Midoriya, who is that short plump woman with that big gun? She seems to know you, and how did you manage to use so much power back there? Kirishima asked. Izuku panicked. He didn't want to tell anyone who his mom was or how did she got there in time to shoot Shigaraki. As if the universe finally cut a break of him, Ada busted onto the room and ran to the podium. Attention. Homeroom class is about to begin. Everyone stop talking and take your seats. Ada yelled, but everyone was already at their desks and sitting. We're all sitting. Kirishima said. Yeah, you're the only one standing. Zero said. Ada sees this mistake and rushes back to his chair. Dang it. Ada mumbled out, feeling embarrassed and frustrated from his miscalculation. Don't sweat it. You're Raka said, trying to cheer up Ada. Hatesu. So who do you think is going to teach class today? Mina asked her friend while leaning back onto her chair, but nearly falls but was saved by the frog girl. No idea. Mr. Aizawa's still at the hospital recovering from his injuries. The same goes for Class B's Vlad King, Sue said while placing a finger onto her chin. As if her question was answered, Mr. Aizawa in all of his glory opened the door, but he had bandages and casts all over his body with his face covered, and his arms in supporting wraps. Warning class, Aizawa said in muffled voice thanks to the wrapping on his face. Mr. Aizawa, what are you doing here? The class yells, surprised and shocked by the sudden appearance of their homeroom teacher. Whoa, what a pro. Kaminari said with a shocked face. Mr. Aizawa, I'm glad you are okay. Ada said as the hero made his way to the podium. You call that ... Okay, Uraraka said, still shocked. My well-being is irrelevant. What's more important is that your fight isn't over yet. Aizawa said as he stands at the front of the class. Our fight? Bakugo asked, intrigued at what he said. Don't tell me. Izuku said, feeling a bit scared. Not more bad guys. Mina said, fearing that them had to fight so more villains. Aizawa's eyes could be seen through his wrappings as he looks at his students. The UA Sports Festival is about to start. Aizawa finishing what he was about to say. Why would you scare us like that? The students yelled, let's go kick some. Kirishima yelled, excited about the sports festival, but Kaminari put his hand onto the redhead's face to shut him up. Wait a second. He said, is it really such a good idea to hold the sports festival so soon after the villains snuck inside, and right after Midoriya got kidnapped by someone else? Jiru asked. They could attack once we're all in the same place. Ajiro joined in, thinking that it wasn't a good idea. Apparently the principal thinks it's a good way to show the threat has been handled, and our school is safer than ever. Plus, they're beefing up security than pasted years. This event is a huge opportunity for students here at UA. It's something we can't cancel just because for a few villains and someone else breaking in. Aizawa said as Minda was still not too sure about this. I'm sorry, but why not? It's just a sports festival, Mina said, which caused Izuku to look at him oddly. Minda, don't you know how important this competition is? Izuku asked. Of course I do. I just don't want to die now, Mina said with fear. Our sports festival is one of the most watched events in the entire world. In the past, it was the Olympics Games, but that Quirks appeared and it was drastically reduced to its former glory. For anyone who cares about competition, there's only one tournament in the world that matters: the UA Sports Festival. Aizawa explained the importance of this event. That's right. Top heroes all over Watch will be watching. This is where you get scouted, Momo said with a fist in the air in determination. Yeah, unless you're dead, Mina said. Think about, this can make or break your hero career right before it even starts. So this is our chance to showcase our skills. Lucy said she's right. After graduating, a lot of people join pro agencies as sidekicks. Kaminari said yeah, but that's how far as some people will go. They miss their chance to go indie and stay as sidekicks. Actually, that's probably where you're headed. Kinda dumb, Jiru bluntly said to Kaminari, causing the electric quirk user to flinch. It's true that joining a famous agency can guard your greater experience and popularity. That's why this festival matters. If you want to go pro one day, then this event can open a path for you. 1 chance a year, 3 chances in a lifetime. Those inspiring heroes can't afford to miss this festival, which means you better not sack off on your training, Aizawa said as most of the class got excited by this. Yes, sir. The class responded. Class is almost over, but I have something to say first. Midoriya, Aizawa called out Izuku, who flinched when he heard his name. Why yes, sir. Izuku said, nervous on what his homeroom teacher will say. You're in charge of taking care of our new student, Aizawa said as everyone looked surprised that Izuku was in charge on taking care of a new student. But the question is ... Who was this new student? SS sir. Who is this new student and why me? Izuku asked. Because you met her before and she asked you and only you. You'll meet her soon, so don't mess up. Class is dismissed, Aizawa said as he left the room, probably to go sleep, leaving a scared and confused Izuku to think on one thing: who is this person and why me? Timeskip brought to you by Chibaiziya and Chibai Izuku playing fetch with. Chibai Ship Cementos left homeroom 10 with a few books in his arm which showed that his class was done for the day. The class were discussing on the hot topic at hand, the sports festival. Yeah, that villain stuff sucks. But, I'm pumped of these games. Kirishima yelled as he was with Sato and Takoyami. We put on a good show, and we on the road onto being pros. Zero said as he walked up to the trio. Yeah, this is why I'm here in the first place. Sato said while hitting his fist onto his other hand. We get so few chances. We have to make the most of this. Takoyami said Izuku was by his desk, thinking on the new student he was chosen to take care of. He tried to think on who was it by replaying his memories from the past few days, but he drew a blank on it. He was so focused on this, he didn't hear footsteps appearing him. Hey, Midori. He felt a hand grab his shoulder, which caused him to look up and see a pair of floating clothes. He knew exactly who this was and it caused him to go into his usually state of timid and shy Izuku as once again, someone has invaded his safe bubble. HHH hey Hagukure. HH how's it going? He said sorry if I'm interrupting your thing Midori, but I wanted to say thank you for saving us back at the USJ by beating those baddies and came to see how you're doing. Considering that you nearly died and got kidnapped. Hagukure said, which caused Izuku to go red in the face from her words. TTT thanks for TT those words. Izuku said as he tries to cover his face and hide in a hole. No problem. There's actually something else I need your help on. Toru said as she did some poses with rising her left fist and then her right one. I need your help on helping me get noticed at the festival. Like a cheer or a hip hip hooray. Like that. After all, you are a quirk expert. Toru said well, I guess I could help out. If it'll help you GG get noticed. Izuku said, already having a few ideas on it. Toru bounced in place from his words and hugged the boy. Thank you. Toru said, happily. Unaware of the boy she's holding onto as he was steaming not too far from them. Momo was looking at the two as she narrowed her eyes at the invisible girl before glancing toward Izuku and his watch. She was interested in it since seeing it in action. She sometimes thought that the watch was more than what Izuku thinks it is. She was chatting with Jiru, Shoji and Kaminari as they were talking about the upcoming event. You're so lucky Shoji. People are bound to notice your unique quirk. Kaminari said while sitting on a desk. Sure, but what matters is how I show how useful I can be. The masked teen said no doubt you'll make a scene too. Jiru said as she remembers what happens when Kaminari uses his quirk and goes past his limit. That didn't make the electric quirk user all too happy. After chatting and making arrangements for help later, Izuku made his way to Ada. At the same time, he sees everyone is excited by the sports festival. He was shocked to see at the very moment. This is going to be nuts. Everyone's so excited. Izuku said with a shocked face. Well, yeah, of course, we are. We enrolled at this school with the sole aim to become heroes. So naturally, we're fired up. Ada said as he got up from his desk and started doing dance move. Wow, those are some interesting moves Ribbit. Sue said as she, Mina and Lucy went to the boys. You have to be excited too. Right, Midoriya? Ada asked. Well, yeah, of course I am. And also nervous. Izuku answered. Izuku, Ada, Ashido, Man, Asui. The four turn around as they heard Uraraka calling them, but they were surprised to see her usually cheerful, bubbly face turn into an intense, fierce yet fired up face. It didn't help her new scary expression as she had a pink aura around her. Let's do our best in the sports festival. The newly intense girl said. Uraraka, what happened to your face? Izuku asked, shaking in fear while Ida adjusts his glasses upon seeing Uraraka's new aura. Seriously, what's up? You're normally like the most laid-back girl ever. Mina asked. Minda blushes while standing next to Tsuyu. He was about to say something when Sue slapped him with her tongue. She stopped him, knowing fully well that he was about to say something indecent. I'm gonna do my best. Uraraka suddenly yells with a comedic scary face while her fist was in the air. Everyone followed suit while some of the boys next to them looked at her, strangely. I said, I'm gonna do my best. Uraraka yells again as Shiro, Kirishima, Sato and Takoyami sweat drop from this display. You got it. Kirishima said you okay? Echidna looks like you're losing it. Shiro said now that I think about it. That's something I've been meaning to ask her. Izuku thought, remembering something he wanted to know since the beginning of the school year. Lunchtime had come at UA and the group of Izuku, Uraraka, Momo, Tsuyu, Mina, Lucy and Toru were making their way to the cafeteria for some grubs. Izuku remembered the thing Hai needed to know about Uraraka. Hey Uraraka. Izuku called out the rosy-cheeked girl. Yeah, what's up? Uraraka responded. Why did you decide to come to UA? What made you want to become a pro hero? Izuku asked, causing the girl to get nervous. Well, UHHH. Uraraka was trying to find the right words, but so far, nothing. Come on, you can tell us. Lucy said, trying to reassure her friend. You don't have to if you don't feel like it. We won't force you to tell us. Momo said the gravity quirk user started feeling a massive amount of pressure. She decided she had to answer this question. For the money. Uraraka answered, causing the others to look at her. For the money. You want be a hero so you can get rich. Izuku said as the anti-grav girl started to rub her head with her left arm at a surprising pace. If we're cutting to the chase, then yeah. Uraraka said, wow, didn't expect that from you. Lucy said, surprised by her reason. I'm sorry if it sounds greedy. You all have great reasons to become heroes. I hope you don't think less for me now. Uraraka said as she held her hands to her face. Not at all. Your goal is to support your well-being, which is an admirable admission to have. Ida said, yeah, it's just kind of surprising. Izuku said. Uraraka sighed and looked at them. Well, you see, my family owns a construction company, but we haven't gotten any work lately, so we're flat broke. Anyway, this isn't something I usually tell other people to, but Uraraka said as everyone placed their hand on their chin in a thinking pose. Construction, eh? Ida said, oh, if she got a license, she could use her quirk to bring costs down a lot. Izuku said, seeing the solution to her problem. Right, that way they could sell their heavy machines and save. Ida said, which could bring more clients to the company. Suyu said, which means more money for them. Lucy said, I know, right? That's what I've been telling my dad since I was a kid. But Uraraka said as she started to remember and told them the words her father said after he learned her plans to help him and her mom out. I'm gonna become a pro, I'll sign with a good agency and make plenty of money. Then I'll be able to make my parents have an easy life. Uraraka said before clutching her fists in a serious matter. It costed everyone there to be moved from those words. And then, Ida started clapping to her words. That's so noble. Bravo, bravo, bravo. Ida yelled while clapping to do this, just to help your parents. I'm proud of you, Achako. Momo said while wiping a tear away. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Helping your parents is great. Mina said as she, Toru and Lucy rushed to the anti-grav girl and hugged her, which caused Uraraka to blush and giggle while returning the hug. Izuku just smiled at her, feeling like all of them had one great reason to be heroes. Suddenly, all the students heard a man's laughter. Everyone turned to the corner of a hallway and were stunned to see All Might himself rushing towards them. Young Midoriya ... is here. All Might said as he points to the Omnitrix user who was stunned by his predecessor's appearance. WWO, All Might. What are you doing here? Izuku asked. Lunch. The number one hero had a bento box in his hand which was covered by a blue cloth with white bunny ears on it. Wanna eat with me? All Might asked. That's so adorable. Uraraka yelled, almost laughing. What do you say? All Might asked. Izuku looked back to his friends and got a nod of approval from them. Go Izuku, we'll see you after lunch, okay? Momo said with a smile which the boy returned before jogging to him. Mentor, I wonder what's up. Izuku thought back at the group. They were in the cafeteria, waiting in line so they could get their own food. I wonder what All Might wants to talk to Izuku about. Uraraka said, wondering what the two could possibly talk about. Maybe to say thank you for saving everyone at the USJ and stopping the villains. Ada said maybe, or maybe he wants to talk to Midoriya on how their quirks are similar in terms of power. Toru said, yeah, remember what I said in the bus to the USJ. Sue said as the group indeed remember the conversation she and Izuku had while riding the bus that day. Yeah, so lucky. Uraraka said, Lucy and Mina knew that the Omnitrix wasn't the reason of the meeting, but they were curious as to why All Might has taken a liking to Izuku. Excuse me. The group turn around and see Kanoko behind them as she looks shy and holding a green bento box. Oh, hey Komori. How are you? Ribbit Suyu asked, remembering who this girl was. I am fine. TT thanks for asking Asui. Who? WWW where's Izuku? Kanoko asked the group, clearly seeing that the green-haired boy wasn't in the cafeteria. Oh, he's having lunch with All Might. He probably won't be back until after lunch. Lucy said as the mushroom quirk user felt sand from her words. She really wanted to see Izuku again, as she hasn't seen him since the USJ incident. Kanoko said, feeling sad. You could eat with us, and maybe you can see him before class starts again. Lucy said, clearly seeing what was happening here, and she wasn't the only one. I'd LLL like that. If you don't mind. Kanoko said, not at all, we'd be happy to have you sit with us for lunch. Ida said as the shy girl went with them. She felt eyes glazing at her, but she was nervous as it is to look who was looking at her, unaware that 5 girls were looking at the poor girl like she was fresh meat. As the group processed to their food, one individual was listening onto their conversation and picked up on a few interesting details. Izuku Midoriya and All Might. What do they have in common? With Izuku was walking to the teacher's lounge with All Might. So, All Might, what's up? Izuku asked the pro. We need to talk about a few things. About the sports festival, OFA, and who'll train you. All Might said as Izuku nodded before he picked up on what he said. Wait, train me? Who's going to train me? Izuku asked as they reached the door. Them. All Might said as he opens the door and Izuku see Nezu in the room and drinking tea. Zia, wearing new clothes and was playing with the black blob from before. Asai, who had an altered female version of the UA uniform, and 2 people he was surprised to see here of all places. His mom in a formal wear in Tetrax, who was wearing a shirt, black pants, with his gun on it and a black tie to complete the look. Hey kid. Tetrax said, casually, hi sweetie, and Ko greeted her son who only had one thing to say, ehhh.